The very nature of this work, a manhwa, means that some of its content might diverge significantly from the original novel. Confused by the sudden shift, Han Soo-kong struggles to comprehend his surroundings, realizing that an impossible 15 years have somehow passed. He then questions an unseen presence, asking what they are doing there, only to be met with a casual response about looking for manhwa to buy, a phone displaying a character on its screen. A wave of self-reproach washes over him as he curses his own foolishness, then sternly instructs the unseen entity to listen closely, revealing his past as a hero on Earth. He recounts his former life as an ordinary college student who loved comics and anime, questioning why such a fate befell him, just like that other idiot. His gaze sharpens, challenging the unseen presence, asking if they also believe this situation is fundamentally wrong. A moment of silence passes, Han Soo-kong now clad in dark, battle-ready attire, his expression unreadable. He acknowledges the previous rambling about being alive, musing that it must have been a tough life. With renewed resolve, he declares it's time to kill the Demon King and finish this once and for all. A fantasy world, filled with those who wield incredible powers, unfolds rapidly before him. It's a story that begins with him as the chosen hero, the strongest among them, a tale he once believed would lead to a happy ending. He had imagined a normal life, a peaceful conclusion, but he was wrong. His purpose was clear, to save mankind from the Demon King, a destiny he now faces head-on. Standing at the foot of a colossal staircase, Han Soo-kong gazes up at the towering figure awaiting him, his resolve hardening with every step. The Demon King's voice booms, echoing through the vast chamber, finally acknowledging his arrival. Han Soo-kong, the chosen hero, stares back, confirming the identity of his ultimate foe. You're the Demon King. With glowing crimson eyes, the Demon King confirms his title. That's right. I'm the Prince of all demons. The Demon King's voice booms, promising death to all, just as it came to everyone else. He proudly proclaims his identity. I am the Demon King Petinar. Han Soo-kong, however, corrects him, stating that he wasn't the one who chose his title, but was chosen as the Apostle of Justice, having arrived in this world 15 years ago. His eyes glow with a fierce red light, a testament to his journey, his train ticket to Earth. Petinar considers this, realizing that some guys didn't even try to hide their intentions. He recalls their words about saving humanity, before abruptly pausing. Han Soo-kong, with a frustrated expression, interrupts the Demon King, asking if he could pose a question before their fight. Petinar looks surprised by the unexpected request. Han Soo-kong then demands to know why he is always summoned to these worlds, reiterating his 15-year presence. He continues to walk away, declaring himself a hero chosen as the Apostle of Justice, though he admits the title wasn't his choice. He adds that his companions died again, prompting Petinar, his crimson eyes glowing, to question if he's suggesting he simply ran out of luck. Han Soo-kong insists that wasn't the case from the very beginning, stating he wouldn't have been able to reach this place otherwise. He explains that Petinar lost many subordinates and companions in the last 10 years, and every time he lost someone, he only grew stronger. I want to say that you're my biggest benefactor, he concludes, but the Demon King dismisses his words, stating that such arguments are meaningless. Petinar adds that they didn't know, then asks if he understands what he's trying to convey, warning him to be silent if he doesn't. Words are clearly not getting through to him, and the question he has harbored for 10 years will not be solved until the very end. Petinar then states that it doesn't matter anymore, to which Han Soo-kong responds, certainly. He finishes his thought, affirming that he will escape from this fantasy world. He unleashes a torrent of purple energy, declaring his intent to return to Earth as a cultivated being. The raw power tearing through the air, as a massive burst erupts upwards, shattering the very structure around him. He needs no fake, cheap tricks to achieve his goal. The debris settles, revealing the aftermath of his power, and he realizes that Petinar's words about his strength were no lie. Meanwhile, the Demon King snarls, his crimson eyes glowing with frustration, uttering a sharp, "TSK. He's." The other heroes watch, their faces etched with concern, as a voice observes that even for powerful beings, the end of life is a tragic occasion. But the protagonist simply looks down, his resolve unwavering, and dismisses the sentiment with a firm, no. He reflects on the outcome, acknowledging it as the culmination of his own meticulous planning, seeing himself as a hero, chosen as the Apostle of Justice. While Petinar, watching the unfolding chaos, mutters in disbelief, recognizing him as that guy and regretting his initial assessment. A monstrous claw thumps against the ground. As Han Soo-kong stands ready, facing the colossal creature, he challenges the very fabric of this world, asking if this confrontation is truly acceptable, declaring his readiness to face his demise, and questioning if there isn't a line that shouldn't be crossed. The monster's claw strikes, eliciting a sharp gasp from him. With a defiant roar aimed at the god of this fantasy world, he asserts that he has already fulfilled his promise by killing the Demon King. He demands to be sent back immediately, his frustration evident with everyone involved, the summoners, the Demon King, and even the world's deity. He vows to make them regret the day they ever called him a hero, asserting that he is nothing more than anyone else. He is a hero, chosen as the Apostle of Justice, though he certainly wasn't the one who decided on that title. As he looks up, a mysterious, glowing figure addresses him, remarking on his torment. The ethereal, purple glowing silhouette asks who he is. He stares back in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend the situation. The figure continues, her form becoming slightly more defined, as she speaks of past struggles. She admits there were times she lost her dreams and hopes, and wanted to give up. Suddenly, a vision flashes before him, showing the Elf King, Sword Princess, Mercenary King, Sage, and Lenouvel, all looking distressed, as the voice mentions a report card. Completely taken aback, he can only utter a confused sound. The mysterious voice insists he check his report card immediately, as a glowing, smartphone-like device appears in his hand, displaying the ominous message. A system interface materializes, displaying a report card for Kang Han-soo, detailing his combat power as S and achievements as A+, but his character score is a chilling F, accompanied by a stark remark. Why did you kill your perfectly sane comrades? The words echo in his mind, as Han-soo Kang stares, his expression a mix of shock and disbelief. A vision of the Sword Princess, lifeless and still, appears, marked with the grim word, dead. She is followed by the Elf King and the Sage, both bearing the same tragic fate, their forms also labeled dead. Finally, the Mercenary King's image flickers into existence, his demise confirmed with the stark declaration, dead. The answer hangs heavy in the air, yes. He struggles to articulate the truth, a dark memory surfacing. Before defeating the Demon King Petinar, his comrades realized they were no match for him, so, in a chaotic flashback, Han-soo Kang, wreathed in dark energy, is seen battling his former allies, their desperate attacks proving futile against his overwhelming power. He confesses, his voice cold and resolute, that he ambushed and killed them all. He clenches his fist, a surge of anger rising within him as the system's judgment echoes in his mind, reminding him of the 2 years he spent enduring such treatment. He remembers the faces of his former comrades, the Sword Princess, the Elf King, the Sage, and the Mercenary King, all of whom he had to eliminate because they were too weak to face the Demon King. In every way, they were useless, and their weakness was a liability. He even recalls the archaeologist, Lenouvel, who had once drawn a sword against him, a futile gesture that only solidified his conviction. The system's judgment of revenge for his actions is met with his unwavering resolve, as he declares that it has failed to understand him. He remembers the Demon King Petinar's words, a chilling echo of a twisted philosophy, that with great power comes great responsibility, but also the right to wield that power as one sees fit. The system's claim that he killed his comrades for the sake of world order and peace is met with his furious disbelief, as he shouts, demanding a retest of its absurd judgment. Even if the system calls him a villain, he will not be swayed, channeling a potent purple energy that swirls around his hands, ready to unleash his power. He declares that the comrades were merely tools, and that he alone possesses the power to save the world, the purple aura intensifying around him as he prepares his attack. A system message appears, indicating his target, all the facility. He strides through the desolate, shadowy landscape, a powerful purple aura radiating from him, as the system's voice echoes, reminding him that even the teaching staff are playing with his success. A cold, detached voice announces that a professional instructor has been dispatched, their judgment now designated as absolute truth. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a stark, brightly lit chamber, where he stands amidst several robed figures, the words RE Test Day 1, looming overhead. A wave of shock washes over his face, his eyes wide with disbelief, as the familiar purple energy still crackles around him. A moment of silence hangs heavy in the air. A deep longing echoes within him, a desire to abandon his studies and escape into a vibrant fantasy world. He dreams of rescuing princesses and earning royal rewards, a stark contrast to his recent past. Just months ago, he would obsess over every branch of knowledge, or perhaps, he muses, he simply wanted to become a hero and save the world. A memory of a teacher's voice echoes, questioning if he's abandoning his world for mere money, suggesting it would be better to become a true hero, selfless and without weapons. He recalls his frustration with the fantasy world's rules, wondering why it's so difficult to master simple circle magic and wipe out enemies in one shot. Back then, he believed the fantasy world's hero was the ultimate ideal, and the teacher's voice, now clearer, directly asks, Kang Han-soo, what about you? His eyes glow faintly as he ponders the question, searching for something he truly desires to do in that fantastical realm. He stares silently at his phone, lost in thought. The faint glow in his eyes intensifies as he whispers of his dream, a dream that began 10 years ago. His last conversation with his teacher still echoed in his mind, and then, just like that, he was summoned. As he fell through the shimmering portal, his phone tumbled from his grasp, clattering to the ground. He found himself seated on an ornate throne, a wave of purple energy washing over him. Beneath him, a complex magic circle pulsed with light, and he realized it was the same place, exactly as he remembered it from 10 years ago. His eyes widened in shock, knowing there was no mistaking it. This was a dimension transfer. The truth hit him with a jolt. This was the hero kidnapping magic circle. A hand reached out, grabbing his wrist, as a wave of distress washed over him. His mind reeled. as if he had returned to a time when he had said nothing important at all, the only thing remaining from his memories being his highness. He glares, a fierce resolve hardening his features as he growls, "You failed. Don't mess with me." His eyes widen in a sudden, furious realization as he exclaims, "It's been 10 years. No less than 10 years. A memory flashes, showing a group of figures, including a younger version of himself, standing together, and he reflects that in that time, a baby could have grown up, gone to college, and even seen their own elementary school graduation, or a middle schooler could have graduated from university. His younger self's face contorts in a grimace, enduring the frustration and humiliation from his damn comrades. Back in the present, his expression shifts to surprise as a voice warmly greets him. "Welcome, Hieronym." His gaze falls upon the outstretched hand of the summoner, and he exclaims, "Lenouvel?" Another memory surfaces, recalling his very first summoning, and it was this girl, Lenouvel, who had spoken to him first. In that past moment, Lenouvel had asked if he had come to his senses, to which he had defiantly replied, "No." Now, in the present, her voice carries a hint of disappointment. Is that so, Hieronym?" He remembers that it was the archaeologist and summoner who had brought him to this place. Lenouvel's voice rings out, attempting to soothe the newly summoned hero, acknowledging his confusion, and urging him to regain his senses quickly, as he has arrived in Fantasia, a dimension entirely different from the one he was born in. With a gentle smile and a soft glow emanating from her hand, Lenouvel appears ready to guide him. Beyond them, the grand architecture of this new world stands tall. But the hero, now clad in a modern suit, simply summarizes the situation with a weary expression, his patience already wearing thin. Lenouvel, undeterred, quickly lists the key points: the demon king Petinar, the calamity, and his summoning, asking if he understands the gravity of it all. She beams, declaring the situation wonderful, while he retorts that there's no way it wouldn't be. His mind flashes back to the faces of his former comrades, the demon king, the elf king, the sword princess, the mercenary king, and the sage, recalling the 10 years of hell he endured because he dared to say no to Petinar, realizing he'd forgotten to introduce himself. Meanwhile, Lenouvel, still smiling brightly, finally introduces herself, a decade having passed since the initial incident. Lenouvel, whose name means truth in the ancient language, turns to face him, and even after 10 years, she still looks stunning. The younger version of him, a mere kid in puberty 10 years ago, was completely mesmerized by her appearance. But now, he tells her not to smile so brightly, finding it irritating, to which she simply responds with a questioning, "Yes?" He continues, warning her not to pretend to be cute, and questions why she's asking someone who was living well and got kidnapped. His eyes glowing with a faint red light, he demands to know if she finds this situation funny, then asks if she feels like bursting out laughing at his look of dismay, leaving her speechless. He concludes his tirade, stating that it's a waste that the meaning of her name doesn't suit her behavior. Lenouvel, now looking genuinely apologetic, stammers out in, I'm sorry," and he notes that she finally has a better expression for having a conversation. Suddenly, an imposing armored figure appears, announcing that His Majesty awaits him. He looks down with a dismissive sneer, his patience clearly wearing thin. Lenouvel can only manage a stunned gasp, taken aback by his attitude. He considers her words for a moment, a thought crossing his mind about the sheer rarity of true heroes. Before stating the obvious, only he possesses the power to defeat the Demon King, a fact Lenouvel readily confirms. He emphasizes that without him, the world is doomed, prompting Lenouvel to desperately ask if he finally understands the gravity of the situation. A smirk plays on his lips as he dictates terms, suggesting that if the Demon King truly wishes to meet him, he should come himself. Then dismissively tells them to hurry up, challenging them to defeat the Demon King themselves if they have so much free time. The Elf King, now stepping forward, questions his expensive time, deciding to relay the message to his king first. Han Su Kang's expression shifts to one of utter shock, his brilliant remark seemingly falling flat. As the previous encounter concludes, a voice echoes, reminding the hero of his unique position, insisting that others wouldn't dare refuse his presence, and urging him to take his leave. He looks on, a flicker of surprise crossing his face, as if processing a sudden realization. Those who elevate themselves are often the ones who never truly arrive at their destination, finding help through good deeds and assisting others. Suddenly, the very fabric of reality around him shimmers and distorts, as a new figure, a woman with dark skin and a flowing red dress, materializes before him with a soft thud. His eyes widen in disbelief, the spatial anomaly clearly unsettling him, wondering if he had ever encountered such a girl during his previous summons, as the distortion was far more significant than a simple appearance. Staring at the enigmatic figure, he can only manage a single word, before demanding to know her identity. The woman, wearing an ornate white mask, calmly introduces herself as the special instructor. A faint smile plays on her lips beneath the mask, her expression serene and confident. She explains her presence, stating she was dispatched due to his unique personality, and promises to do her utmost to assist him. While his instruction qualifications were being filed, a moral professor had attended her work in the fantasy world, a fact that left Han Su Kang utterly bewildered. He could only utter, "Oh my God," as the reality of a moral professor's involvement in the fantasy world settled upon him. The special instructor, observing his shock, calmly explained that it was understandable to be surprised by someone who had exceeded the test, then asked if he was unaware of the existence of special instructors. Han Sukong retorted that even when others had exceeded the test, they mostly left him feeling bored, and now, the time he thought could be immortal was upon him. He then questioned, "So you're saying that I'm the one that exceeded the test?" The special instructor affirmed, explaining that a special instructor had been sent to this world specifically to observe his actions. She continued, stating that it was already decided, and he had no choice but to accept her as his instructor. Still reeling, Han Sukong could only ask, "But why?" The special instructor's response was direct. She had killed the Demon King as a hero herself, and it had been a perfect conquest, leaving nothing behind. That, it seemed, was the problem. As the special instructor's words hang in the air, Han Sukong's eyes widen in utter disbelief, his expression a mixture of shock and confusion. The Demon King, Petinar, asserts that his opponent should have understood the inevitable outcome from the very beginning. However, Han Sukong counters that Petinar simply won too early. Meanwhile, a masked woman with flowing pink hair reflects on a common adage, that failure is often considered the mother of success. Han Sukong continues his thought, acknowledging that since Petinar didn't fail, he didn't have to learn that lesson, concluding with a sudden realization. He then turns to the masked woman, seeking confirmation, to which she simply agrees. Like water that flows to all places without resistance, the path of least resistance is often the most effective. With a surge of purple energy radiating from his form and his eyes glowing with fierce resolve, Han Sukong declares his intent to make Petinar fail, asserting that he alone will be the one to save him, as the true test of his theory is about to begin. He recoils in disbelief, a single word escaping his lips. "What?" he exclaims as Petinar calmly states. "I'm not going to make you fail." Han Sukong, however, is resolute in his own conviction, thinking, "I'm going to make you fail." He recalls a past plea, a voice urging, "Since we don't know if there are any side effects, please tell us immediately if something happens to your body." But the hero knows the truth, his internal monologue continuing. "The problem is that even if I tell her that, my worries won't disappear." Meanwhile, Petinar questions the masked woman. Is a group of professors who raise heroes like students locked up in a classroom all day, or a cage? He continues, suggesting, "Wouldn't it be better to throw ordinary people into this world and make them heroes?" Han Sukong reflects on his own situation. "I can't tell the purpose of the experiment, but it's clear that they don't hold any goodwill towards me. They are the people who sent me, who know everything that happened in the past." He concludes, a strategic decision made, "So for now, I'll cooperate." He continues to weigh his options, knowing he must cooperate for now, until he can find a clear alternative. Lenouvel looks up at him, a question in her eyes. After all, it is he who is most important in the Demon King's fate, and with a sigh, he allows himself to be pulled along, a small sound of annoyance escaping him. First and foremost, this is a battle against the king to seize the initiative. As they walk, he reminds himself that he is not a citizen of this country, and Lenouvel adds that she is not obligated to obey her kidnappers. As a human, he will be fighting for his rights. The stakes are clear. If this world collapses, he cannot return to Earth. Arriving before the throne, a guard warns the hero Nim to be careful with his words in front of his majesty. The king, clad in ornate golden armor, observes them, a silent question hanging in the air. He can only think it, but the thought somehow leaks out, a defiant challenge to the Demon King. Even as he stands before the imposing figure, he declares himself the one and only hero capable of defeating the Demon King, then questions what his opponent will do if he is wrong. A guttural growl escapes the Demon King's lips, a chilling "ooh," hero, echoing through the space. His voice, deep and resonant, acknowledges the hero's good spirit. Then, a hand, glowing with ominous red energy, reaches out, promising to hit you like you wish. With a powerful surge of crimson aura, Petinar unleashes his attack. The blow connects with brutal force, sending him flying backward. He crashes to the ground, his mind reeling, wondering why this powerful foe appeared here and realizing that with this innocent body, he cannot face such a bastard. A blonde woman, witnessing the scene, cries out in distress, "Mr. Alex." A stern, armored knight glares down, his voice booming with a challenge, asking if his opponent is truly determined to end their own life. This imposing figure is identified as Palace Knight Captain Alex, who dismisses the confrontation as merely a courage test, a cruel game to him. With a heavy thud, the captain stands tall, his gaze fixed on the one he deems beneath him. But the young man facing him, a student in glasses, harbors a deep resentment, his thoughts turning to the savages who kidnap and brutalize innocent people. Captain Alex, scoffing at the idea of hero treatment, casually lifts the student by his collar, mocking his perceived weakness. The student, however, recalls his past as a chosen hero, a mere toy in the grand scheme, but asserts that this current situation feels profoundly different. As his eyes begin to glow with a fierce red light, he declares that his very existence is a testament to self-defense. Before the knight can react, the student retaliates with a surge of red energy, sending Captain Alex crashing to the ground. His eyes still burning with an intense crimson glow, the student stands resolute, his determination unwavering. His eyes blaze crimson, a surge of raw power emanating from him as he unleashes his attack. Yet, a frustrated sigh escapes him, as his current body struggles to fully channel the immense power he wields. He remembers the terror of his past as a hero, a guttural cry escaping him as the red energy intensifies around his glowing eyes. Despite the struggle, a deep-seated confidence remains. He is capable of inflicting wounds. The impact of his power contorts Alex's face, veins bulging as the knight strains against the unseen force. This confrontation brings him back to the first round of his orientation, a time of exclusive physical training. He stands before the towering armored figure of Alex, a formidable presence. Under Alex's rigorous instruction, he was beaten down, suffering defeat from the very first day. Alex, the very man who was his sword teacher, had shown him no mercy. Lenouvel kneels beside Alex, her voice laced with concern as she questions the hero's actions, wondering if he truly meant to harm him. Meanwhile, in a memory, an assassin with a sinister grin declares his identity, boasting of his skill and the strength of his steel body. Back in the present, Han Su-kang, inhabiting Alex's body, clenches his jaw, a silent exclamation of frustration escaping him as he recalls the past. In the flashback, Alex, his face contorted in anger, demands that the hero kneel and apologize, his voice booming with authority. Han Su-kang, observing the memory, dismisses Alex's words as a lie, watching his former teacher fall to the ground, defeated, never acknowledging his opponent until his death. A chibi version of Alex, still in the flashback, playfully taunts the hero about his courage, telling him not to mess around. Returning to his present thoughts, Han Su-kang ponders if his current state is truly so dire, his expression thoughtful. Lenouvel continues to tend to the injured Alex, her concern evident as she wonders if the hero's actions were a divine revelation, a sign that his stress had finally reached its breaking point. Han Su-kang, looking at his own hands, dismisses the idea, asserting that his current weakness doesn't mean he's become weaker overall, just that his host body is limiting him. Clenching his fist, Han Su-kang's frustration boils over, thinking to himself that all his 10 years of effort might be for nothing, regardless of whether he was a teaching staff or something else. His past self, the hero, glares with fierce determination, the memory of his pride and the sheer absurdity of his current predicament fueling his anger. Suddenly, a voice echoes through the castle grounds, announcing to the unseen monarch that the hero requests an audience. Yet, the hero's own thoughts betray the announcement, as he internally denies ever having made such a request. A heavy door slowly grinds open, revealing a grand throne room where an old king sits, surrounded by his court. Han Su-kang steps onto the long red carpet, his gaze fixed on the figure at the end of the hall. The king, with his flowing white beard and golden crown, appears to be a picture of serene authority. But Han Su-kang finds him rather annoying, despite his surprisingly pleasant face for an old man. He remembers a time when this king, now a mere dumpling wearing a crown, had bravely gone to war against the Demon King, a stark contrast to his current demeanor. Around them, many of the court members wear expressions of clear annoyance, their displeasure evident. A guard then addresses Han Su-kang directly, reminding him of the king's presence. He recalls the initial encounter, thinking it hadn't gone well, but he had treated the king respectfully in the first round. After all, he knew the story. Meanwhile, the king's own thoughts drift to his predicament, wondering what he needed to do to get rid of the Demon King. A palace guard, with dark skin and sharp eyes, interrupts Han Su-kang's musings, politely requesting that the hero lower himself. A soft tch escapes him, a subtle sign of his annoyance. Internally, he makes a decision. This is it. Today's theme is modesty. Despite his outward calm, a powerful, surging force begins to gather within him. A silent declaration that he will become an ocean and drown them all. Han Su-kang, arms crossed, offers a polite, almost dismissive, "I thank you for your hospitality, your majesty." Meanwhile, the king, surrounded by his court, seems to find his etiquette more excellent than his own, a fact Han Su-kang notes, reflecting on his 10 years of experience in the fantasy world. He internally grumbles that he didn't learn such manners because he liked them, but because he had to comply with the etiquette and culture of this world. The king, oblivious to the hero's true feelings, simply shrugs with a benevolent smile. Lenouvel, standing beside the monarch, bows gracefully, declaring herself honored by his majesty. The king then turns his attention to the hero, the word hero, hanging in the air. He asks if Han Su-kang can demonstrate his abilities, a request the hero acknowledges internally. A status window appears, revealing his current state. A human, level 1, with a hero job, 0% experience, and only 1 skill. Interpretation/contextualization. His status listed as normal. Han Su-kang thinks to himself that the interpretation skill is the only normal one he possesses, but there's something else. Alex watches, his expression a mix of concern and confusion, as Han Su-kang, with a subtle shift in his demeanor, begins to speak, his words carrying a strange blend of fortitude and arrogance. Internally, he vows to rid himself of the system's orange text notifications, his eyes briefly flaring with a fierce, almost demonic red glow, a stark contrast to his outwardly humble facade. A small gasp escapes Alex, his mouth slightly agape as he processes the hero's unexpected declaration. Han Su-kong continues, feigning distress and wiping away a bead of sweat, lamenting his supposed lack of skills with a trembling, almost pitiful expression. He internally bemoans the difficulty of his situation, feeling utterly useless in this body and questioning if he can even be called a hero. Alex stares, his eyes wide with disbelief, unable to comprehend the hero's self-deprecating words. Even the king, Petinar, is visibly stunned, his mouth hanging open in shock at a revelation of 500%, a figure that clearly defies his expectations. A murmur ripples through the unseen onlookers, while Alex remains lost in his own confusion, trying to make sense of the hero's performance. Han Su-kong, however, internally muses that his current situation isn't so bad, because while he may lack conventional skills, he possesses an innate talent that others simply cannot match. If he were to shed his current guise, he would be a hero, a transformation as routine as going to work. A soft sigh escapes him, as he recalls a time when a new legend was being forged from an old one, and he was merely a part-timer, not the hero everyone claimed him to be. Yet, the title was thrust upon him, the chosen hero. He remembers the dire pronouncements, the crisis engulfing the country as the Demon King invaded their territory, a memory that still makes him flinch. The path was clear: defeat the Demon King and raise his skill, a task he once viewed with a mix of dread and determination. The ultimate goal was to defeat the Demon King Petinar, a name that echoed with immense power. But he didn't want to be the one to do it, a mere part-timer, he thought. Why him? Even without the Demon King, this country's problems were far from simple, a complex web of issues that weighed heavily on his mind. He is a hero, chosen as the apostle of justice. Though he wasn't the one who decided on his title, he muses, exhaling deeply, I'm an ocean. Han Su-kong, now dressed in a sharp suit, faces an unseen figure, demanding to know how much support they intend to offer him. His words are met with a furious, red-faced retort, as the figure insists they have already provided their greatest aid to save their country and its people. But Han Su-kang's mind drifts to a past confrontation, a memory of himself in his hero's mantle, surrounded by crackling blue energy as he questions the intentions of a monstrous foe. The memory culminates in a stark declaration: he will refuse. His face etched with weariness, he tells them to find another hero. A shocked gasp escapes an unseen woman, her wide, green eyes reflecting utter disbelief at his words. Back in the present, Han Su-kong dismisses the entire situation with a wave of his hand, declaring the country's crisis to be none of his concern. The king's voice booms, asserting that their attitude towards the hero is wrong. His hands clench, emphasizing that in this situation, they should be begging, not ordering him. Han Su-kong, however, merely smirks, looking at the king with an almost mocking gaze. The king's expression darkens, as Han Su-kong declares he is not a citizen of this country. But the king's face contorts in a furious snarl. Han Su-kong remains unfazed, a dismissive hand gesture accompanying his words, while a nearby courtier recoils in fear. A sharp, dismissive sound escapes him, as he asserts that he is not a hero. Both the king and Alex stare in stunned disbelief at his blatant disrespect. He challenges them, his voice dripping with disdain. Kill me, if you can. Alex, the knight, can only think, crazy. Alex's mind races, considering the implications of such defiance, thinking, if the king dies, the prince can replace him. His gaze falls to the ornate floor, the thought continuing. If the prince is lost, the princess. The grim possibilities unfold in his mind. If there's no one left, then that believes. He clenches his fists, the desperate conclusion forming. Replace him. Alex's expression hardens, a chilling realization dawning on him. If it's like that. Meanwhile, Han Su-kang's neck tenses, a silent testament to his unwavering resolve. His eyes burn with a fierce, unyielding determination. The king, Petinar, stares back, his face contorted in utter disbelief. You cut the Demon King's throat. Considering that repeating any task for just 1 hour could equate to 5 hours of work, Han Su-kong addresses the small armored figure before him, asking if it truly wonders where his modesty has gone, for there is no reason to treat these savages with any respect. He thinks to himself, frustrated, that it's as if someone drags a dog to a hunting field and expects it to hunt by itself, feeling that they want to blame him, trapped in their own grayscale world. As he walks, his gaze fixed downward, he reflects on how his city became empty because no one helped him, and how over time, he realized he was the only one who could clear the place, acknowledging that sometimes it's good to be alone, but sometimes it's not. With a fierce resolve, he questions how he can be a hero with such a miscalculation, asserting that whatever these guys do, they can never kill him. And even if there is no hope, if his soul is shattered, if his body collapses, he will still be here, never giving up. His intense declaration causes the small armored figure to look up at him with concern, warning him that such a statement is dangerous. A powerful, unseen entity declares its purpose, stating, I summoned you in order to protect this country. Lenouvel, looking up with a surprised expression, hears the continuation of the decree. From general, merchant, and hero, and commanded Lenouvel to call you into the world. Han Su-kang's face twists in a grimace of annoyance and anger. As the Red King, a towering figure with glowing red eyes, roars his absolute claim. You are the possession of this kingdom. The air crackles with raw magical energy. And Lenouvel, Alex, and the small armored companion listen intently as the Red King continues to speak, questioning. The owner of this kingdom who fought. But I'm a hero now, right? Han Su-kang's eyes widen in shock and disbelief as he hears the final, crushing command. Announce it to the whole world. The small armored companion looks up, a single exclamation mark hovering above its head as the Red King's voice echoes. Let's see what will happen to this kingdom. The Red King gazes down with an ominous expression, his declaration hanging heavy in the air, while the armored companion watches, seemingly helpless. As the Red King's declaration hangs heavy in the air, Lenouvel and an attendant look down, their expressions a mix of concern and apprehension. His hand pointing with absolute authority, the Red King proclaims his intent to conquer and claim the hero for himself. Han Su-kang, still reeling from the audacity, retorts that imprisonment is futile, for he is stronger than any faker. The Red King's shadowy form looms, his voice echoing with a chilling truth. The hero is humanity's last hope, and without him, the kingdom's fate is sealed. A maniacal laugh erupts from the Red King, his crimson eyes glowing with dark amusement. Around them, the armored guards stand silent, their presence a stark reminder of the power at play. Lenouvel watches with growing alarm, as Han Su-kang looks up, a confused huh, escaping him, before she cries out his title in desperation. The Red King's voice cuts through the tension, demanding to know what support the hero desires. In a sudden, unexpected shift, Han Su-kang's face breaks into a wide, confident smile. Han Su-kang, now inhabiting Alex's body, stands before a grand, red-carpeted door, reflecting on the previous occupant's foolishness despite his strength and equipment, noting the military's exploding mana. And with a confident smile, he gestures forward, declaring his intention to take this. Looking up, he questions if anyone else is present, then winks, making an okay gesture as his thoughts turn to the money. Coins rain down onto his armored companion, clattering loudly. He muses internally that a role-playing game already cleared was bound to be boring. While his companion looks up at the clear blue sky, he concludes that they should simply use the cheat key and walk on the flowery road. A grand castle stands under a clear sky, its banners fluttering gently in the breeze. Inside, a young man, now inhabiting Alex's body, muses aloud, his companion and a red-haired woman listening intently. He hadn't expected to be reborn within a single day, a fact that elicits a surprised huh from the woman. He continues, explaining that the boy who offers financial support will inevitably make demands, but in return, their bag will be filled with gold. He questions if it isn't a common saying that a bad omen is better than a good one, concluding that therefore, even this situation is a win. The red-haired woman advises him that he must endure a little, to which he internally laments, wishing he had known this would happen before he died, so he could have prepared, but the curse of students was simply too much. The woman exclaims, "Student," as he continues his thought, explaining that the power of the soil will feed the seeds, allowing them to grow for him. He then reveals that he, Kang Han-su, is the hero candidate, noting that there are already quite a lot of students who have graduated. The woman reacts with a shocked expression, as he concludes his cynical observation about the heroes who have returned to the earth. He imagines them living happily, while helping neighbors in need, a sarcastic image of idyllic heroism. He pushes himself, a determined thought echoing in his mind. Try harder. As purple energy crackles around him, he screams internally, declaring himself a millionaire, not the chosen hero of this world. His mind conjures an image of a small tree growing on a tiny earth, as he refuses to let anyone mock his efforts, insisting he's using practice to train himself. The sheer scale of it all feels absurd, and lying on a bed, he dismisses the entire concept of an educational story about dimensional shifts involving only one person as too stupid for his sense of reality to follow. Suddenly, from below, a soft voice breaks through his thoughts, asking if something is troubling him. He looks down, her blonde hair cascading around her, meeting the wide, surprised eyes of Lenouvel, who kneels before him. Her revealing attire accentuates her form, a detail not lost on him. He is still processing the situation, internally expressing his annoyance at the perceived rudeness of the world around him, while a small, frightened figure clings to him, and another weeps nearby. If this were his past life, a hero would have already stepped in to help, he muses, recalling how even a single troublesome professor was enough to defeat him back then. His thoughts shift to his current predicament, as he turns to Lenouvel, asking if she is truly certain he is the only hero summoned to this world. She confirms it, explaining that Professor Morale is now too busy with a new curriculum, training new heroes and traveling to defeat the Demon King. But in this world, he is the only hero, a fact that weighs heavily on him. The concept of parallel worlds echoes in his mind, a blue glow briefly appearing in his eyes as he processes the implications. He wonders if the heroes from his Earth, the strategy world, are as talented as his own students, like characters in a freely playable offline role-playing game. The situation only grows more absurd in his eyes, a purple aura of frustration flaring around him as he clutches his head. He decides to delay any immediate action, resolving to find a way to return to Earth in the shortest possible time. He considers the power of repetition, believing that an hour of focused effort could equate to 5 hours of ordinary work, wondering if there is any rule that could prevent him from achieving the same. A soft thud sounds as he closes his eyes, deep in thought. Opening them again, he instructs Lenouvel to follow him, who, without hesitation, asks where he intends to go. A dark, knowing smile spreads across his face, his eyes glowing faintly as he acknowledges the challenges and assistance awaiting him, confident that he has learned his lessons without faltering. The Demon King, seated on his throne, laid out his terms for financial support, stating that before he would open the royal treasury, there was one crucial condition. Lenouvel would be the one to manage all the money given to the hero. Alex, observing the situation, wondered if he should simply turn a blind eye to the arrangement, admitting to himself that he would have done the same thing. Later, amidst the bustling city streets, Lenouvel's excitement was palpable, as she eagerly asked if it was all right to purchase a magic orb, something she had always wanted. Alex, meanwhile, could only sigh internally, resigning himself to the fact that Lenouvel was indeed the chosen person to oversee the funds. He glanced at a paper showing a balance of 100,000 gold, as Lenouvel joyfully celebrated, clutching a bag of money and exclaiming her thanks. He muses that since this money isn't truly his, it feels different, observing that this place is indeed the kingdom's bustling center of trade. Among the myriad goods available, the items bearing the word magic are undeniably the most expensive. It's a phenomenon much like the high-tech products on Earth, which commanded exorbitant prices simply for being cutting-edge. Suddenly, Lenouvel beams with pride, holding up a newly acquired item and exclaiming to the hero that she bought it. She gazes at the glowing, multicolored orb in her hands, a soft gasp escaping her lips as she admires her new treasure. Meanwhile, the hero's expression shifts to one of utter dismay, a silent oh of exasperation echoing his thoughts. As Lenouvel begins to walk away, she instructs herself, "Lenouvel, if you're done with everything, you should return to me quickly," to which the hero responds with a resigned, "Yes, Hieronym." He reflects on his past, remembering how in the first round, he boldly roamed around in his school uniform, drawing useless attention. Now, with a determined stride, he runs forward, vowing to himself that he won't repeat the same mistake again and again. Amidst the bustling marketplace, a vibrant pink dress catches the eye, displayed prominently in a shop window, a silent testament to the world's allure. Lenouvel, her eyes wide with delight, points excitedly at something, while Han Su Kong stands beside her, a familiar look of weary resignation on his face. "Whoa, Hieronym," she exclaims, her voice full of wonder. She turns, her gaze fixed on another enticing item, a soft, appreciative sound escaping her lips. Turning back to him, Lenouvel dismisses his unspoken concerns, assuring him there's no need for flattery, as she knows she's merely a commoner. He simply endures, his thoughts drifting to the true purpose of their outing, to ensure her comfort during this extravagant shopping excursion. A shop assistant giggles softly as Lenouvel holds up another item, asking for his opinion, but he remains unresponsive, lost in his own calculations. His exasperation grows, confirming his earlier suspicions. These items are so exclusive, even a bribe wouldn't secure them for common folk. He desperately wishes for a way to earn money without drawing attention to himself during these shopping trips. Lenouvel, oblivious to his internal turmoil, questions his lack of interest in the various clothes, accessories, and other goods, wondering aloud where he intends to go. A sly, almost sinister smile spreads across his face as he finally reveals his true destination, the black market. Lenouvel, still processing his words, wonders who exactly they would be trying to please in this situation. As a narration box reveals her shock at the idea of the righteous Hieronym facing legal action, to which Han Su Kong simply states, "Lenouvel." He then adds that her magic orb is also illegal, prompting her to retort, "Since you purchased this object out of self-reliance." Han Su Kong, with a sly grin, reminds her, "But I'm the one who allowed it." He continues, explaining that their actions make them nothing more than accomplices. "I'm saying that we're nothing more than accomplices." Lenouvel's face contorts in a worried expression, the weight of his words settling upon her. Yet, with a forced smile, she tries to rationalize it, believing that if it helps earn money, one should be happy. If it helps to earn money, one should be happy. Han Su Kong, seeing her naive acceptance, instructs her to follow him quietly if she understands, prompting Lenouvel to ask, "Yes, but how will you find the black market?" She admits that she has only ever heard of the black market, never seen it for real, as it's rumored to open only once every few years. He dismisses her concerns, stating that if a summoned newbie hero were to appear, she would be questioning her own identity, despite being known as the chosen hero. He urges her to consider his perspective, wondering aloud what would happen if he were a villain. He continues, explaining that if he could defeat the Demon King, he would gain an immense experience bonus, far more than any ancient fairy or dragon could offer. The true measure of a hero who has conquered the Demon King, he asserts, isn't merely reflected in their abilities. A sudden realization dawns on Lenouvel, and she acknowledges his point. He curtly tells her to follow him, and she eagerly complies, determined to learn the black market's location. He then reveals their destination, a pub he used to frequent, where they might uncover the information they seek. Together, they set off, heading towards the establishment. He steps into the bustling pub, a familiar chaos greeting him. A brawl erupts in one corner, patrons shouting and slamming each other down. Amidst the din, a bald bartender calmly takes orders, while a server navigates the crowded tables. He surveys the scene, a faint smile playing on his lips. This place hasn't changed a bit, and he finds comfort in its familiar chaos. Behind the bar, a man with dark hair and a beard meticulously wipes a glass, his movements practiced and precise. Sitting at a table with Lenouvel, Han Su-kang's eyes widen in recognition, a knowing smile spreading across his face as he greets the bartender. The man behind the bar is a former assassin who opened this pub after retiring, a good friend and teacher who had guided Han Su-kang during his wanderings in the fantasy world, and he now looks up, a dagger-throwing chibi figure appearing beside him in a flash of memory. Now clad in a wizard's hat and cloak, Han Su-kang stands at the bar, his companion Lenouvel just behind him, as he addresses the bartender, asking what he might order. The former assassin looks down, a moment of contemplation passing over his face, while Han Su-kang recalls his past experiences, where repeating a task for just 1 hour in a dungeon was as effective as 5 hours of regular work. Snapping back to the present, the bartender, seemingly surprised by the hero's presence, inquires if a specific, high-quality liquor named Tony has arrived today. Han Su-kang assures him he will accommodate any request if it aligns with his own desires, to which the former assassin simply replies, "Good. Your luck has luck," a cryptic acknowledgement of the hero's fortunate timing. With a flourish, the former assassin presents a bottle, announcing the arrival of a rare, 27-year-old stout called Black Dragon. As he expertly pours the dark liquid, he suggests that its flavor truly comes alive when paired with grilled sheep meat. Han Su-kang's eyes narrow, his expression turning serious, as he reveals the true significance of the name. Black Dragon is the exact location of the black market. The former assassin looks taken aback, knowing that depending on the circumstances, the black market can be even more dangerous, but Han Su-kang presses on, proposing a deal. The liquor will be his if he can help find the cause of the Demon King's castle. Considering the proposition, the former assassin looks at Han Su-kang, then at the drink, and asks, "How is the liquor quality?" He assures his friend that the information will be worth it, mentioning grilled mutton as a key item, explaining that while illegal in the kingdom, it's the main commodity of the black market. The true, chilling meaning of grilled mutton is then revealed. It refers to slaves. The former assassin, his expression grim, simply confirms the order for two. Han Su-kang's confident smile suggests he anticipated this reaction and is ready for the next step. Han Su-kang considers the power of repetition, musing that if he were to repeat any task for just 1 hour, it would yield the equivalent of 5 hours of work. A grumble escapes him, as the scene shifts to an ornate building under a bright sky. Inside, Lenouvel urgently calls out to him, demanding to know why he's in such a rush. Lenouvel retorts, reminding him that he had complained the meal was too greasy, and that their delay was further extended by his additional dish. Elsewhere, the former assassin, now a bartender, politely thanks the hero, while Han Su-kang seems to misidentify him as Tony. Han Su-kang then clarifies to Alex that this man, the original bartender, is the cool guy who taught him the law of the jungle. Han Su-kang's unique ability, repetition, allows him to multiply the effect of any action he performs for an hour, making it equivalent to 5 hours of work. He explains to Lenouvel and Alex that when he first arrived in this world, he was only granted 9 abilities, while everyone else received more. His repetition skill, though seemingly simple, allows him to perform the same action 5 times over, meaning an hour of common work becomes 5 hours of progress, leading some to question if it truly counts as a hero's ability. Despite the many heroes, only one from the king possesses an S-class experience bonus, and only one hero has an ability like his, which is fortunate, as it remains effective even on his second round. Lenouvel, observing him intently, asks if he can also perceive an ability, to which he simply replies that it is obvious. Her status window reveals her as a human summoner at level 200, with her current status listed as interested, though she cannot even sense the power of the Demon King. Despite this limitation, she is still considered one of the highly rated individuals. Han Su-kang observes Lenouvel, who appears confused, and muses that even her potential alone is daunting. Considering his first round and the future of this young woman, he wonders why she remains silent. With a solid thud, a foot lands firmly, followed by a clenched fist, signaling a decisive arrival. Indeed, the hero has returned, standing tall alongside Lenouvel, their presence radiating a powerful aura. As if on cue, Lenouvel holds a softly glowing, light blue orb, its energy pulsing gently in her grasp. Her eyes widen in surprise, a gasp escaping her lips as she takes in the unfolding situation. Without hesitation, he and Lenouvel surge forward, moving with a unified, urgent purpose. The orb in her hand glows brighter, joined by another, floating nearby, both radiating a soft, ethereal light. Her foot touches down with a light thud, the glowing orb still firmly clutched in her hand as she maintains her momentum. He moves with impossible speed, a blur of motion leaving streaks of light in his wake. From a distance, Alex watches, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and disbelief at the sudden, powerful display. A sudden, Sharp impact sends Han Su-kang recoiling, a cry of pain escaping him as he clutches his stomach where a small, glowing orb has struck. The force of the blow sends him tumbling backward, leaving him sprawled on the ground. Nearby, the glowing mana disc floats serenely, its importance in this sudden event becoming clear. Lenouvel stands over him, the orb now safely in her hand, her expression concerned as she warns him that if the impact isn't treated properly, chronic pain is a given. He groans, imagining the consequences, knowing his daily life would only get harder with numbness in his legs. Lenouvel observes him, a slight smile playing on her lips, remarking on his surprising resolve. Still on the ground, Han Su-kang summons his status window, revealing his current, disheartening state. A human, level 0, unemployed, with only the skill to view status windows. Lenouvel, holding the glowing orb, explains that while her physical strength is enough to summon him, the orb's effectiveness is limited to using it as a tool to throw. His eyes glowing with frustration, Han Su-kang laments the zero-level difference between himself and a mere bat, recalling a time when he used to ride around with friends on a bad bike, a stark contrast to his current predicament. Reflecting on his past, Han Su-kang considers how he now possesses a different advantage than before, a determination to never give up, unlike those who falter when money is at stake. Suddenly, a dark-skinned figure with fierce red markings screams, his voice raw with fury, demanding not to be looked down upon. Han Su-kang closes his eyes, letting out a soft sigh, as if bracing himself for the impending confrontation. The attacker's rage is fueled by the accumulated experience of a decade. He lunges forward, a wave of glowing blue energy erupting from his hands, aiming directly at Han Su-kang. But as the attack connects, the dark-skinned man recoils, clutching his face, his eyes glowing red as a strange, itching sensation overwhelms him. Before the attacker can recover, Han Su-kang's own eyes blaze with white light, delivering a precise, powerful counterstrike that sends his opponent reeling. A pained gasp escapes the dark-skinned man as he clutches his lower back, the precise impact having targeted the vulnerable spot between his 6th and 7th lumbar vertebrae. The attacker collapses to the ground, defeated, as Han Su-kang observes that without years of combat experience, such a precise strike would be debilitating, but even injured, this opponent will still be able to fight against him. He lets out a soft humph, gazing out from a high balcony. The situation is then explained to the guards, as he and Lenouvel stand together, observing the scene. Even so, he knows that rumors would inevitably spread throughout the kingdom within days, making it far more difficult to move if they tried to hide it completely. A slight smirk plays on his lips, acknowledging that he, the hero, seems quite experienced with killing. Lenouvel, however, cannot bear it, imploring him not to treat people like murderers. He reaches out, his hand gently touching her face, eliciting a surprised gasp and an apology from her. It has become a habit, he muses, to treat any opponent like an enemy without trouble. But then he turns to Lenouvel, asking if she knows the average age of a great man. He considers the masked figure, recalling how even a farmer, if armed, seems to gain additional levels of threat. Yet, the level of the scoundrel who dared to attack him was a surprising 8, and looking at Bekrant's skill set, it was clear he was no mere former hunter or soldier. He acknowledges the information, understanding that Lenouvel has recognized the crime committed. Lenouvel, her expression worried, exclaims that he, the hero Nim, has uprooted the possibility of another victim's recurrence, to which he responds with a surprised, "What?" She continues, reminding him that the heart protecting the weak is what makes a hero, and that was the compliment she had given him. Then, noticing something, Lenouvel asks if his level has gone up, prompting him to consider it and check, especially since the special skills booster is 9 times effective. He pulls up his status window, revealing his race as Arch-Human, level 4, with the job of hero, and skills including improved item crafting, improved item repair, and weapon mastery, all at S rank, with his status listed as normal and good. Lenouvel explains that in this place, people cannot directly interact with certain entities, describing them as ghosts who only appear when they manifest their power, often increasing it by stealing from others. Considering this, Han Su-kang wonders aloud if reaching level 4 would allow him to contend with the top athletes of Earth. He muses that it truly feels like a fantasy setting, especially since the thief he encountered had stolen and possessed such a high level. With a soft tap, a surge of energy passes between their hands, and the experience gained from this interaction feels remarkably good. Closing his eyes, a confident smile spreads across his face as he declares, he has a great feeling from this first hunt. The masked thief, Bekrant, reacts with a bewildered, "What the hell is this?" while Han Su-kang, in a burst of pure joy, leaps into the air with a resounding yes. Han Su-kang then makes a hasty retreat, calling back, "Don't you dare follow me," leaving a stunned Bekrant to simply utter, "Ho." A sudden, sharp sound echoes through the air, drawing the attention of Han Su-kang and Lenouvel, who both look up in surprise. A faint, metallic scraping sound accompanies the moment, as Han Su-kang's hand instinctively clenches. His gaze sharpens, a flicker of intense focus crossing his features. A stern-faced man in a dark suit appears, his voice deep as he asks, "Are you Tony's customer?" Han Su-kang immediately bristles, his own voice rising in protest, "Not his customer. I'm an archmage." Unfazed by the declaration, The man simply turns, gesturing for them to follow him. This was the realm of dark commerce, operating in the shadows. As they follow the stern-faced man deeper into the building, Han Sukong and Lenouvel find themselves in a sleek, modern hallway, a stark contrast to their usual adventuring grounds. He continues to lead them through the labyrinthine corridors. Finally, he stops before a nondescript door. Beyond it, a long staircase descends into darkness. They arrive in a circular chamber, its floor etched with intricate glowing patterns. As the man explains the nature of their hosts, Lenouvel expresses her surprise at the scale of the operation. With a final instruction, Han Sukong dons the new gear. As the magical energy surged around her, Lenouvel instinctively raised her hands, a golden horned mask now obscuring her face, her new attire shimmering with an ethereal glow. Earlier, Alex had presented them with the specialized garments, explaining that they simply needed to wear them. Han Sukong, now in a dark cloak and white mask, had acknowledged the instruction, standing beside Lenouvel, who wore a similar mask and a blue cloak. Now, within the glowing confines of the transfer circle, a low hum vibrated through the air as the magic intensified around the masked duo. With a sudden, blinding flash, the world around them dissolved into pure light. For a moment, there was only an echoing void, a silent, disorienting expanse before their senses slowly returned. They found themselves in utter darkness, the air thick with an unknown presence, as unseen eyes glowed from the shadows, a voice warning them to be careful not to get caught, before another voice addressed them as customer. Standing beside Han Sukong and Lenouvel, now in his own ornate dark mask and cloak, Alex explained that the transfer was designed to avoid unnecessary provocation in their new surroundings. He continued, his voice muffled by the mask, revealing that this black market was located on the western outskirts of the capital. The market dealt in all manner of illicit goods, even places where demons were summoned, sites believed by certain cultists, which were sometimes traded here, under the watchful gaze of a massive, masked figure seated on a throne. As they delve deeper into the black market, Alex explains that this is a place he has visited several times before, expressing his honor at being invited to this clandestine market. He continues, detailing that the auctions will begin soon, the air thick with anticipation. A formal guide, holding a glowing purple orb, steps forward to address them, stating that due to the limited time, he will return to his reserved seat after a quick tour of the black market. He explains the market's financial protocols, where one can exchange money directly, but warns that all payments must be made in advance, using either gold coins or precious jewels. Alex then interjects, emphasizing the market's strict liability policy. Any losses resulting from personal negligence will not be the market's responsibility. He turns to Lenouvel, asking if she understood the guide's explanation. Nearby, a small, rabbit-like merchant, overhearing the conversation, indignantly protests, insisting they are not just an extra before being cut off by a muffled sound. Meanwhile, Lenouvel is reminded to keep her money safe, as the black market operates on a ruthless principle. The only friendship between merchants is profit. The guide, observing the rabbit merchant's outburst, sternly questions their behavior, asking what they are trying to achieve by acting out in such a place, before politely instructing Alex and his companions to follow him. As they begin to move, Alex issues a final, grave warning to his companions, advising them never to cause trouble here. A powerful, red-robed figure issues a chilling warning, their words echoing with the ominous glow of a magic circle. As the air crackles with potent energy, the magic circle pulsing with an intense crimson light. It is a stark reminder to those who believe themselves safe to look beyond the surface, lest they be devoured alive. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light illuminates a grand stage, signaling the start of the main event, as the auctioneer stands poised at the podium, ready to commence the proceedings. Among the assembled, 3 prominent figures observe, each hoping for a profitable time. With a flourish, the auctioneer declares, "Well then, we will start the auction now." He proudly presents the first item, a veteran warrior, captured from the demon territories. Though on the verge of death after a fierce battle with a powerful demon, the warrior was fortunately found and treated, now ready for sale. The auctioneer presents the first item, a veteran warrior, scarred and bound, who offered himself as a slave to repay his debts. As the gavel hovers, the auctioneer announces the warrior's status, revealing him to be a level 11 human, a warrior, battle mage, with a job slave and a highly ranked skill that he had lost. The auctioneer continues, stating that there wouldn't be a single person present who wouldn't want to acquire someone with such a valuable skill, even if it was currently lost. With a resounding thud, the gavel strikes, signaling the start of the bidding. A voice from the crowd remarks that it seems everyone has plenty of money to spend. From the audience, the rabbit merchant, wearing a mask, turns to the masked figure beside them, declaring that they can see Hero Nim's plan unfolding. The rabbit merchant then points a finger, reminding the hero that they have a contract with the ancient merchant. The masked hero simply stares forward, a silent hum, escaping them as the auction continues. He reflects on how a past situation felt like a game's playthrough, and how, while trying to eliminate certain enemies, he inadvertently acquired a troublesome companion. He muses on her bothersome habit of disliking humans, a thought accompanied by a grumbling sound. He recalls her expressing concern for someone who was cold, yet also noting their strength, before dismissing the idea that such a person could ever be a hero. The real auction is now underway, and he considers the strategy of opening channels from the very beginning, understanding that some goods can only be acquired early on. The next item is revealed, a skeletal knight, described as having the most important role in the entire arc, a knight who lost its memory at birth. The rabbit merchant addresses the hero, explaining that the lady in question did not come for a free run, and it is not their job to save the nobles. Han Su-kong hesitates, unsure if he should voice his thoughts, contemplating what would happen if that girl were present at this very auction. He imagines her interrupting the proceedings by force, without his permission, and insisting on freeing all the slaves. The hero grinds his teeth, frustrated by the mere thought of all the trouble he would have to clean up after her, a sound of deep annoyance escaping him. The auctioneer's voice rings out, announcing the next highly anticipated item. As the curtain rises, revealing only the bare feet and shackled ankles of what appears to be a human figure, a collective gasp ripples through the crowd. The sheer audacity of the reveal elicits a murmur of awe and disbelief, with many whispering, "Amazing." Among them, Han Su-kang's eyes widen in genuine surprise, a realization dawning on him as he mutters, "It came up." A gaunt, muscular man, bound by heavy chains, stands before him, his body scarred and his spirit seemingly broken. His eyes, once full of life, now hold only a vacant stare. Observing the figure, Han Su-kong thinks to himself, "Those empty eyes," and he's quivering from recognition. But, as his appraisal skill activates, a brilliant blue light emanates from his eyes. He can clearly see the warrior's true worth. A translucent status window appears, revealing the man's details, a human, 28 years old, a mercenary with skills in spearmanship, tenacity, surviving, camping, and cooking, currently hungry and weakened. Han Su-kong muses, "It's the guy's luck to have all the other skills. He's probably a born mercenary." Han Su-kong considers himself the type to bore easily, unable to commit to the same task for long periods. Observing the chained veteran warrior, he muses that persuading a suicidal slave to work is usually a hassle, making their value seem normal. But he is different, he thinks, recognizing this warrior as the perfect material for his unique methods. With a decisive tone, Han Su-kong instructs the rabbit merchant to bid for Lenouvel, prompting an eager affirmation from the merchant. The auctioneer's voice counts down the final seconds, the glowing orbs above marking the passage of time. The rabbit merchant, looking surprised, announces the successful purchase of the suicidal slave for a low price, congratulating the customer in the wolf mask. Alex, standing nearby, gasps in disbelief upon learning the warrior's level is 286, exclaiming that he rivals even himself. Such a remark would undoubtedly bring a grin to the face of the future Sword King. The veteran warrior's formidable level is a simple consequence of his relentless journey, having wandered countless lands and slain innumerable foes. Though such a feat is far from easy, the guide's voice concludes the contract, signaling the end of the appraisal. Within the shadowy confines of the black market, various figures conduct their clandestine business. A sign for black market contracts hangs prominently, marking the illicit exchange. As Han Su-kong prepares to depart, Lenouvel calls out, asking if he's truly leaving them to return alone, but he simply instructs them to continue their shopping, promising to be back. A sharp, metallic clang echoes, as a hammer strikes with finality, the sound reverberating as Han Su-kong admits to feeling a wave of nausea. He then informs his lord that the purchase is complete, a revelation that visibly shocks Alex, who had never considered the hero would resort to buying slaves from the black market, a place where anything can be acquired. The rabbit merchant muses on the extraordinary results of his trade, noting that repeating any task for just an hour would equate to 5 hours of normal work. As Han Su-kang's eyes flash with a sharp, blue glow. Meanwhile, Lenouvel stands elsewhere, her dress flowing around her. Her thoughts echoing with disbelief as she recalls his earlier promises. He had vowed to gather his companions and return to the continent, and even to become a professor teaching ancient ruins. A small, serpentine creature coils around her ankle, as she considers, above all else, the glowing particles swirling around her feet. Back in the black market, the rabbit merchant, with a look of wide-eyed shock, continues to press his sale, insisting that a customer seeking a slave from the old generation has found a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lenouvel's thoughts drift to the concept of an elf, the superior race and the very heart of all human beings. Her gaze sharpens as she concludes, it was indeed a mistake to treat this world like a mere fantasy without acknowledging the elves. Han Su-kong, his face obscured by a mask, meticulously handles a tool, his mind set on a singular objective. He cannot afford to fail in his current endeavor. He muses to himself, knowing that he must secure an unmarried noble elf, and as he observes the scene, he finds the others around him utterly deluded. The concept of elves being noble is widely accepted, largely due to their weak fertility, which is the trade-off for their exceptionally long lifespans. Their birth rate is so incredibly low, one might think they were actively trying to prevent it, and now, before them, stands a bound elf, her long, light hair cascading over her shoulders as she remains captive. The rabbit merchant explains that she ended up fleeing to the black market of the forest, where she was referred to as mere prey. Turning to Han Su-kong, the merchant exclaims that this particular elf is quite unusual. He then questions Han Su-kong, wondering why he seems so composed, especially after expressing disgust earlier. Behind his mask, Han Su-kong considers the elf, concluding that she likely felt the same disgust, given her evident skill as an excellent magician. His internal assessment solidifies. This elf is undeniably special. He observes a glowing purple system window detailing the bound elf status, a level 651 elf, an archer with high proficiency in archery, agility, light, and magic, but currently afflicted with multiple curses, sealed skills, poisoned, exhausted, and anesthetized. Considering the overwhelming debuffs, he muses that there truly is no other option. If he doesn't acquire her now, it would be his loss. The elf's physical appearance holds no sway over his decision. He continues to analyze the system window, noting her level 651 and the extensive list of negative statuses, concluding that an option that makes others uncomfortable is often the best choice. The curses, including mana drain, skill seal, physical weakness, mental confusion, and pain inducement, are so severe they resemble the conditions found in a general hospital, and he deduces that the initial curse must have been the work of a demon. This state, where she is physically alive but mentally absent, makes him wonder about the true forces behind her capture. The rabbit merchant confirms his suspicions, explaining that these debilitating curses were undoubtedly inflicted upon her by the dark commerce to ensure she couldn't resist. With a sly grin, the merchant announces another bid from the gentleman, noting the elf's already high price, and asks if there's truly no other option for him. As he observes the beautiful, unmarried noble elf, he understands that finding another like her would be impossible, a thought he knows others share. Considering the merchant's words, Han Su-kong understands that because they are unaware of the elf's true power level, they will not exceed a reasonable price for her. Meanwhile, the rabbit merchant, attempting to gauge his interest, inquires if there are any higher bids. Suddenly, a faint, ominous countdown echoes through the air, reaching 2. A low groan escapes Han Su-kong as he senses a disturbance, his gaze drawn upwards. The rabbit merchant, equally startled, looks on with wide, fearful eyes. With a deafening roar, the very entrance to their location is violently obliterated. Outside, the ground glows with an unnatural, cracking energy as Alex observes the chaos, questioning why the guards remain idle amidst such a phenomenon. Back inside, Han Su-kong, his expression grim, identifies the event as a clear sign of an invasion. The rabbit merchant, trembling with fear, cries out that the tunnel is collapsing, fearing they will be helplessly crushed. A small, green elemental, glowing with an eerie light, attempts to escape, its form blurring as it moves. But a massive force erupts from the ground, creating a gaping hole and sending debris flying as an earth elemental makes its destructive presence known. The smaller elemental lets out a soft gasp, its glowing eyes fixed on the chaos. Soon, more of the green, blob-like elementals appear, floating ominously with their vibrant, glowing auras. Indeed, these earth elementals are merely the vanguard of a larger invasion, not to be underestimated, and Han Su-kong can only stare in disbelief, wondering what this sudden assault could be. The truth quickly becomes clear. The invaders are elves, a force now breaching the underground dungeon. Alex, ever the protector, steps forward with a determined expression, shouting orders to block the incoming threat and protect the guards. Meanwhile, one of the invading elves reveals their cunning, explaining that thanks to a stupid noble who drew too much attention, they could easily break through. With a flash of steel and a determined glint in their eyes, 3 armed elves stand ready, poised to strike. Han Su-kong moves like a blur, a dark silhouette amidst the chaos, striking down multiple foes with brutal efficiency. His attacks send them flying, their cries echoing as they plummet from the heights, while a voice from below urges their capture. With a surge of power, his eyes ignite with a brilliant blue glow as he calls upon the very elements. A blinding blue aura erupts around him, sending shockwaves of energy through the surrounding enemies. One foe, with fiery red hair, is violently thrown backward, his body twisting mid-air from the sheer force. The hero then focuses his power, delivering a devastating blue energy strike that sends an armored opponent recoiling with a pained cry. A masked figure, their voice hushed, reveals that someone from the royal family has been spotted in a shady market. This is Elf Queen Sylvia, currently a princess, but destined for the throne once the Elf King dies in a coup d'état, a tragic event that would force her to inherit the crown. She had once quit adventuring, but was expected to inherit the throne. In other words, she is the future Elf Queen and a previous member of his party, seen here with a younger elf. Her decision to quit adventuring was made in order to save a few of her brethren, a noble sacrifice for her people. However, she has yet to join his current party, meaning her level remains low. Despite her current limitations, Sylvia unleashes a powerful, glowing attack, her battle cry echoing through the air. But before her attack can fully connect, an unseen force strikes her, sending her reeling back with a pained gasp as a shadowy figure emerges. The Elemental S was particularly insidious, a true devil among its kind. Through the bustling black market, a guide gestures, leading the wolf-masked customer deeper into the labyrinthine alleys, his voice a low murmur. He remarks on the market's callous nature, where they prioritize illicit gains over human lives in such dire situations, a sentiment he delivers with a touch of sarcasm. Observing Sylvia, Han Sukong wonders if they should intervene and assist in her rescue, a quiet thought passing through him. A fierce resolve burns in her eyes, a silent crackle of energy surrounding her. He realizes her true intention. She aims to aid the elves and deliver a harsh lesson to the black market. Sylvia turns, instructing him to head to the evacuation shelter and wait there, a command that elicits a confused query from him. His eyes glow with frustration as he scoffs at the idea of assisting them, demanding to know if she's being foolish. Meanwhile, the rabbit merchant looks up at a captured mercenary, pondering their next move and whether they should simply let him perish. Amidst the chaos of the black market, a masked Han Sukong stands before the rabbit merchant, who laments the commander's unbelievable actions, stating that such a life is no way to live. The ground around them is littered with debris, a stark reminder of the danger, as they realize they are the only customers who haven't yet managed to escape. Many others have already been swept up in the turmoil and perished, but the rabbit merchant, with a determined grip, declares his intention to handle things himself. Nearby, Sylvia, the elf queen, issues a command to Han Sukong, ordering him to wait in the evacuation shelter with their few remaining elves. A heavy thumping sound echoes, reflecting Han Sukong's internal frustration, his masked face betraying his displeasure at the order. Elsewhere, Alex looks on with a startled expression, exclaiming in surprise at the arrival of a customer. Sylvia, undeterred by Han Sukong's reaction, presses him further, demanding an answer to her question. That elf is your companion, right? That's right. Han Sukong, after a moment, confirms the truth, acknowledging that since she has been with him all this time, she is indeed his companion. Despite his confirmation, a soft humph escapes him, his masked face still conveying a sense of defiance and lingering dissatisfaction. He considers his unique abilities, realizing that if he were to repeat any action for just 1 hour, it would be equivalent to 5 hours of standard work. As he processes this, Alex addresses him, stating, "You are quite capable," though he suspects Alex's true intention is to shift burdens onto him, prompting his own modest reply, "You praise me too much." With a knowing smirk, Alex declares, "I shall wholeheartedly attend to my other duties," before turning to leave. A frustrated sigh escapes him, the sound echoing his annoyance at Alex's thinly veiled manipulation. As Alex and Sylvia walk away, he observes Alex's retreating form, thinking, he looks like a dignified entertainer on stage, but is a dangerous man. The rhythmic footsteps of Alex and Sylvia fade into the distance as he muses, "I am beginning to see the outcome of this situation." A chilling premonition surfaces, revealing that the future elf queen will be captured here. The vision continues, showing her reduced to a slave, and a dark thought crosses his mind. Once his past with the elf queen is known, he will be punished for the rebellion. He also considers the black market's practices, noting that part of the auction's earnings will go to the families of deceased guards, a development he can imagine being good, but with an unspoken caveat. Han Sukong greets the elf, who responds with a questioning tone, while he internally prepares to speak plainly. A flicker of surprise crosses her features, her eye widening slightly. He continues, predicting her surrender, and she seems to understand the grim implication. With a sigh, she confirms his assessment, her voice tinged with resignation. The vision shifts, showing Sylvia being captured by armored figures during the battle between heroes and the Demon King, a conflict she never even joined. Overcome by grief, she will betray her own people, surrendering and living only for herself, a cruel gift from the story god. The weight of this future presses down on her, her expression etched with profound sorrow. As Han Sukong holds her hand, he recognizes an expression of self-sacrifice in her gaze. A sharp glint of resolve hardens his own features. The vision continued, showing a tender embrace between Sylvia and another elf, a moment of peace amidst the coming storm. Before a sudden, jarring interruption tore them apart. Her eyes widened in disbelief and terror. As tears welled up, her face contorting in anguish. Han Sukong watched, a grim realization settling in, understanding that this elf's heart was being passed down to him, a burden he would soon carry. And the vision returned to Sylvia, her face a silent scream of despair. He reached out, a desperate plea escaping his lips as the vision began to dissolve into a swirling void, calling out her name. But her voice, though distant, echoed his thoughts. She would suffer the burden of her lonely self no longer, her ring glowing with a final, resolute light. She wished for him not to be sad, but to be happy, a final image of her smiling with a child, a poignant farewell, her last words a blessing for his future. He feels a gentle touch as Sylvia, her voice soft with emotion, offers her thanks. He simply replies, "Don't mention it." But then, a sudden surge of energy causes Sylvia to cry out, "Master!" His own eye glows with an intense light as he thinks he could enjoy this moment too, because of her. Sylvia recoils, a vibrant aura flaring around her as if struck by an unseen force. Her face contorted in distress. He catches her as she falls, the weight of the moment settling upon him, realizing he had easily handled the curse of the devil, especially after killing a level 852 person. His own status remains unchanged, a human at level 1, with no hero experience and a normal status, interpreted as a mud. He perceives a system notification, displaying D, Fortitude E, a cryptic message that makes him sigh, realizing the true nature of this system. A masked figure, enveloped in a crimson glow, recalls the moment he leveled up significantly by defeating a powerful elf. His armored form, draped in a regal purple cape, a testament to his rapid ascent. He acknowledges that such progress would typically demand years of effort through conventional methods, but he has found a way to gain power without relying on inherent talent or noble lineage. Standing over his defeated enemies, he believes that by simply eliminating stronger opponents, anyone can achieve immense power, thus creating a world where everyone has the potential to become mighty, an open opportunity for all. He envisions a beautiful fantasy world, overflowing with dreams and hopes, his glowing red eyes fixed on the future as he declares this vision can only be realized if he emerges victorious. Even as the hero, who had fought more monsters than anyone, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of injustice at the experience distribution. Still, he knew there was plenty of experience left to be claimed, and with a surge of blue energy, he prepared to seize it. He gazed down at a shimmering blue portal, a gateway to new challenges and potential gains. From its depths, a small, glowing hand reached out, signaling the arrival of something unexpected. A small, white-furred creature with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth burst forth, clutching a tiny sword. With a sharp chuck sound, it tightened its grip, ready to strike. The creature lunged, its voice shrill as it demanded, "How dare you speak to master?" He mused that this was not the kind of master he would prefer, noting how perfect such a creature would be for low-levelers who couldn't even throw a punch. As the blade neared his neck, he calmly reflected on his current power, his level now at 165, making things he couldn't even dream of at level 4 entirely feasible. He reflects on the sacrifice of the Elf Queen's master, vowing that it will not be in vain. His eyes glow with fierce resolve, for he will never allow the elf princess to be reduced to a slave. A frustrated sigh escapes him, eager for the moment his dream will finally come true. With a powerful surge, he plunges downward, a red cloak billowing around him as he descends. Below, Sylvia and another elf warrior look up, bows and swords drawn, ready for whatever approaches. They hold their ground, poised for battle. But before an arrow can find its mark, he lands with a sharp crack, shattering the projectile beneath his foot. A powerful aura radiates from him as he stands, the air around him swirling. Even with such power, he laments that his body still struggles to keep pace with his thoughts. He considers his current strength, wondering if it truly measures up to his former capabilities. His eyes blaze with an inner light, a testament to the power simmering beneath his calm exterior. Meanwhile, the elf princess Sylvia stands ready, her status indicating a formidable presence, though her current state remains a mystery. Suddenly, a sharp impact sends blood spraying, a stark reminder that even in his current state, he is vulnerable, and the attack was far more potent than he anticipated. But before his opponents can press their advantage, he erupts in a burst of dark energy, closing the distance with blinding speed. The dagger, his preferred weapon, was not charged up front, allowing him to maintain a close distance, and he had no intention of fighting humans, only gracefully deflecting arrows from afar. Now, a bloody dagger gleams in his hand, poised for a decisive strike. With a furious cry, he plunges the blade into the elf warrior, a swift and brutal counterattack. The warrior recoils in shock and pain, uttering a desperate curse as the attack lands. The impact sends him careening, a guttural cry torn from his throat as the unseen force slams into his body. He tumbles through the air, his momentum carrying him backward from the sheer power of the blow. Then, a masked figure appears before him, its voice a chilling greeting as he stares back in stunned disbelief. His eye widens, reflecting the sudden, sharp pain and the unexpected presence of his attacker. But before the masked warrior can press the advantage, Han Su-kong explodes forward, a blur of motion as he launches his own counterattack. His dagger finds its mark, burying itself deep into the elf warrior's shoulder. With a swift, brutal motion, he rips the blade free. The elf warrior cries out, recoiling from the fresh wound as blood begins to seep through their armor. From a vantage point above, Princess Sylvia watches the injured warrior, her mind racing to understand the nature of the attack she just witnessed. A searing blast of fire slams into Han Su-kong, sending him recoiling with a pained cry. Despite the impact, he quickly recovers, grabbing the masked elf warrior and demanding, "So you're treating my waist like a steak?" Ignoring his words, the elf warrior's body glows with a fierce red aura as she prepares another attack, commanding her power to converge. The fiery energy around her intensifies, swirling violently as she unleashes her full might. Considering the mortality of the situation and the friends he'd made, Han Su-kong deftly turns the elf warrior's own attack against her, creating a massive explosion with a technique he calls the elf body shield of friendship. From a distance, Princess Sylvia watches the devastating counterattack unfold, her eyes wide with utter disbelief. The elf warrior, battered and disoriented from the explosion, scrambles away, her footsteps echoing with frantic urgency. But a voice cuts through the chaos, asking if she intends to fight again. Han Su-kong stands over her, sword drawn, a look of surprise crossing his face as he realizes this elf is still alive. He raises his blade, the sound of impact echoing as he moves. But instead of striking, he silences her desperate cry, a thought crossing his mind. He couldn't possibly be serious about killing her. He allows her to scream, a chilling thought accompanying the act. Her beautiful scream would be permitted to last a little longer. Han Su-kong lifts her by the neck, his expression firm as he declares he cannot allow her to die. Addressing her as my friend, he expresses concern that she cannot perish from something as trivial as blood loss. A grunt of effort escapes him as he begins to stabilize her condition. As he tends to her wounds, the hero's thoughts drift, considering the value of his actions. If she were to die a natural death, all the precious experience he was about to gain would simply vanish. He muses, a masked version of himself appearing in his mind's eye, that it would be akin to losing 5 hours of dedicated work. Meanwhile, the elf warrior, her eyes now burning with a furious red glow, lets out a guttural scream, her voice echoing with a single, desperate command. Kill this human. A group of elves, their faces etched with fury, declare their absolute unforgiveness. As if to punctuate their rage, a surge of raw magical energy erupts, glowing with ominous purple and fiery orange hues. Observing the display from behind a mask, Han Su-kong acknowledges the depth of their conviction, understanding that elves, with their long lifespans, often conceal their true emotions, growing up almost as a single, extended family. This unique social structure, he muses, can be both a profound strength and a critical weakness. He knows that the deaths of their loved ones can drive them to lose control, and then, a thought crosses his mind. He isn't the only one present. As the guards scramble to secure the exit, one barks orders to his comrades, demanding they block the exit and provide cover for the wolf-masked customer, urging them to support his flank. But before they can fully react, a surge of raw power erupts from the masked figure, a guttural cry escaping him as he unleashes a devastating, fiery attack, shattering their defenses with impossible force. The guards can only watch in disbelief, realizing it's impossible to block his assault. The impact sends a shockwave through the area. But just as quickly, the masked figure is thrown backward, recoiling from an unseen counterattack. Meanwhile, though pushed into a corner, the elves fight with undiminished ferocity, one of them crying out about the elementals. From a distance, Sylvia observes the chaos, a concerned expression on her face as it looks like she is on the verge of breaking down, muttering, "Today will be my." She then challenges the unseen combatants, urging them to reveal their true selves further, adding that it's not the time to be fighting cowboys. As the battle rages, a hand is caught in the fray, blood splattering across the ground, a testament to the brutal struggle. Still, Han Su-kong presses on, mounted on his beast, his wolf mask a grim visage as he charges through the melee. Yet, a sudden impact forces him to recoil, a pained grunt escaping him as he's thrown back. He regains his footing, his gaze hardening, ready to compensate for the setback with sheer experience. His determination unwavering. Meanwhile, a hand glows with vibrant green energy, as Sylvia prepares to unleash her own power. From the shadows, a dark-armored figure emerges, observing the chaos, his glowing red eyes fixed on the elf queen. He questions her presence, his voice a low growl, asking if she is a demon, before adding that he'd rather not put it that way. Below them, the battlefield remains a maelstrom of conflict, as countless figures clash in the fading light. Standing amidst a desolate, ruined landscape, Sylvia, now an arch-elf of immense power, reflects on the past, knowing she is the sole survivor of a tragic event, yet distinctly different from her former self. Meanwhile, a sinister voice echoes, acknowledging that his own interference has irrevocably altered the timeline. The consequences of such a shift are dire, as black magic, once nearly eradicated, now threatens to resurface. Observing the devastation, Han Su-kong, now an arch-human, can perceive the sheer number of lives lost and the profound changes wrought upon the world, simply by sensing the altered power levels around him. The antagonist notes with satisfaction that while Sylvia ascended to new heights, he too gained significant power from the timeline's alteration. With a grim determination, the Dark Mage boss declares that only one option remains. As the gravity of the situation settles, Han Su-kang's eyes narrow, understanding that he cannot afford to fail this critical moment. The Dark Mage boss, his eyes glowing with malevolent red light, stands amidst a crumbling landscape, declaring that his opponent will die here. With a surge of dark power, he summons earth elementals, causing the very ground to fracture and crack. The cavern begins to give way, collapsing around them. As the destruction escalates, an elf warrior desperately shouts for everyone to escape to the surface, while another elf expresses a grim understanding of the situation. The Dark Mage boss then appears, now wearing a sinister, horned mask, his presence radiating pure malice. Sylvia, witnessing his horrific plan unfold, confronts him, her voice filled with disbelief and rage as she realizes he intends to desecrate the elf corpses. He calmly explains his gruesome intent, revealing that elven corpses can be traded at a high price. He continues, detailing how their blood, purity, and bones are valuable catalysts. He concludes, comparing the dismantling of elves to a butcher carving meat, a chilling knife in his hand. A young elf warrior recoils in horror, her mind reeling from the dark mage boss's gruesome declaration, unable to comprehend such depravity. She questions his motives, wondering if he truly intends to turn their sacred land into a graveyard for everyone. But the dark mage boss simply dismisses her, finding her distress amusing. He continues his taunts, accusing her of being the one who led her comrades into a death trap, like ants into a nest. His masked face looms, a chilling smile spreading across it as he asks if his assessment isn't true, his words dripping with malicious satisfaction. Suddenly, Sylvia's voice cuts through the air, her eyes glowing with fierce determination as she screams that this is all his fault, declaring that if he hadn't interfered, things would never have turned out this way. The elf warrior, however, remains trapped in despair, her thoughts consumed by the horrifying reality of their situation, muttering about the impossibility of escape. She continues to lament, realizing that the dark mage boss has been observing them for a long time, and has been planning this horrific outcome. Meanwhile, in a stark, gray chamber, Han Su-kong stands alone, his back to the viewer, gazing intently at a massive, featureless wall. Elsewhere, two individuals, a bald man and a blonde woman, stare wide-eyed at something unseen, their expressions a mixture of shock and disbelief as one whispers, "I had stopped." The elf warrior, Imaris, her bow drawn, confronts Sylvia, asking why she won't accept her request. Her voice rising in anguish, she demands to know why Sylvia is protecting the demon. As the warrior falters, Sylvia holds her close, a look of deep concern etched upon her face. From above, the dark mage boss sneers, mocking them for a bitch who uses her friends to murder someone under the guise of friendship. He continues his taunt, claiming they regard the hero as far more important. The unbearable truth dawns on the elf warrior, her eye widening in horror as glowing particles seem to dance before her. Sylvia, holding the now slumped warrior, defiantly asks if he truly expects them to protect humans, knowing they cannot survive without the hero, not even King Petinar. The dark mage boss's grin widens, his red eyes glowing with malevolent power as dark energy swirls around him. With a brutal display of his contempt, his foot descends, crushing a small creature beneath his heel. An ominous voice echoes, a chilling promise to Sylvia, "Meet a third time, Sylvia." Meanwhile, the hero stands amidst the aftermath of a brutal clash, his boots planted firmly on the blood-soaked ground. If one were to repeat any task for a full hour, it would effectively be the equivalent of 5 hours of work. After the fierce battle concluded, it ended just like this. Indeed, it was a truly privileged end for her. A low grumble escapes him, his expression one of deep displeasure. As if the very thought of such a privileged end is an insult to his sensibilities. It is said that a strange phenomenon only gives birth to daughters known as witches, creatures often described as bothersome and selfish. And if one were to ask the elders why this is the case, the answer would simply be that the god responsible is an idiot, a truly idiotic father. This explanation, as simple as it is, leaves one with a look of utter confusion, as if trying to comprehend such a profound statement. Meanwhile, Han Su-kong, surrounded by a faint purple glow, contemplates the path ahead, muttering that his graduation seems destined to be difficult. The sheer unfairness of it all elicits a shocked cry from the purple-haired figure, who can only exclaim in disbelief. In another setting, Professor Sylvia, regal in her red robes, listens as a blonde-haired figure complains about aggressive elves attacking first, while a rabbit-eared student addresses Han Su. Han Su-kong, still lost in thought, questions the purpose of pajamas in bringing peace and prosperity to the world, wondering if he would have served the world better by simply defeating it. Professor Sylvia, meanwhile, reflects on the idiot god, who can't even manage his own child, as a glowing inscription reveals that pajamas and the hero, Han Su-kong, have been chosen by the god of magic. The rabbit-eared student, still addressing Han Su, urges him not to look so troubled and asks him what he truly sees. A woman expresses her lack of experience, while Han Su-kong grumbles, clearly annoyed by the situation. Then, a small, round creature, the professor, questions the very concept of experience, as Han Su-kong dismisses something as not what I'm looking for. A stern-faced man echoes the sentiment of lacking experience, and the professor advises against holding contempt for one's comrades. The professor then speaks of paradoxical sizes, a dwarf as big as a giant, and a giant as small as a dwarf, as Han Su-kong listens intently. With a glowing gesture, the professor declares Han Su-kang's knowledge too shallow to be a true hero. He then assigns him his homework. As a purple-haired woman looks on, the professor encourages him to rebuild with a smile, even if others may scoff. The professor acknowledges the difficulty of the assignment. Later, exhausted and sitting on his bed, Han Su-kong acknowledges the professor's instructions, thanking them for the homework. Still in bed, Han Su-kong reflects on the professor's previous assignment, a task he feels Sylvia should have handled differently, leaving him with a lingering sense of worry. Suddenly, a familiar voice cuts through his thoughts, asking him to elaborate on his concerns. Looking up, he finds Sylvia floating casually above him, prompting him to question her presence, to which she cheerfully replies that she is merely assisting him. His annoyance growing, Han Su-kong reminds her that he had left her to manage the black market affairs, emphasizing that her task of returning the elf corpses should have been straightforward. Sylvia, now looking flustered, quickly clarifies that she came because Professor Pajamas had instructed her to, correcting herself after almost revealing the professor's true identity. The conversation shifts to the elf corpses, which are valuable as magic materials, and Sylvia's previous assertion that she couldn't leave them on the black market. With a glint in her eye, Sylvia reveals her true, pragmatic motive. She simply wants to prevent the corpses from being butchered and sold at exorbitant prices, asserting that the dead shouldn't be treated with such reverence. Sylvia presses him further, confirming that he had indeed taken care of the remains of the black market elves he had killed in battle. It had been a considerable effort, moving the numerous elf corpses from the 11th floor all the way to the royal palace. Also, he could purchase the elf corpses at a low price. He had paid the black market officials to deliver the bodies to the palace, but Sylvia wanted to know how he had negotiated with the elf princess. Han Su-kong explained that the elves were very sensitive about the kingdom's dignity, but he had already negotiated with the kingdom, then asked what she was getting at. Because he had given all the elf corpses from the black market away, it would now be difficult to find a way to acquire more. Just because he was the hero who would save the world didn't mean the citizens would give out free meals, a chef reminded him, offering his wares. If he had no travel funds, he would end up starved to death, even if he was the second prince. He recalls how everyone had mistakenly assessed his true power during the third summoning, believing him to be merely a level 4. This misperception was so profound that even the Elf King couldn't fathom his own daughter attacking the hero and being killed in the process, a narrative that suited him perfectly. He explains to Sylvia that there were no witnesses to the Imperial Guards being wiped out, and he made sure to inform Lanwell that it was a mutual defeat, a strategic move to control the narrative. Meanwhile, a man with a furious grin hears a rumor circulating that the hero's profession had been changed to Undertaker. His expression hardens, clearly displeased by the news. As expected, Han Su-kong finds himself unable to counter these spreading rumors, a fact that Lanwell seems to relish. He dismisses it as a minor problem, assuring himself that he doesn't need to respond to such childish provocations, even as he reaches for a dropped piece of food. But Lanwell, grabbing him by the collar, demands to know why he's there, to which Han Su-kong simply replies, "None. I was just passing by." He considers the efficiency of his abilities, knowing that if he were to repeat any action for just 1 hour, it would be equivalent to 5 hours of work. Meanwhile, Lanwell, his face contorted in a menacing grin, declares his anticipation for what is to come, his words dripping with dark intent. Han Su-kong meets his gaze with a cool, almost bored smirk, echoing the sentiment with a casual confidence. Before Lanwell can even react, he moves with blinding speed, a glowing impact radiating from his hand as he launches a swift, decisive strike. The blow connects with a sharp thud, sending Lanwell recoiling from the unexpected force, his menacing expression replaced by shock. His status reveals him to be a human swordsman at level 191, possessing skills like swordsmanship, stamina A, and iron wall, with his current state listed as expectant, a testament to his formidable capabilities. Elsewhere, a mysterious masked figure, wreathed in a soft purple glow, appears against a cosmic backdrop, her presence ethereal and enigmatic. She offers a cryptic piece of advice, suggesting one should try to build harmony with a smile, but warns that their opposite might not be to their liking. Lanwell, his expression grim, declares his new, ominous purpose. "I've changed my job," he states, to Undertaker. Meanwhile, a young man with a confident smile appears. His eyes closed in amusement as he retorts, "To build your coffin, Alex." The taunt ignites a furious rage within Lanwell, his teeth gritting and veins bulging as his eyes glow a menacing red, a primal roar threatening to escape his lips. If he could repeat any action for just 1 hour, it would be equivalent to 5 hours of work, a thought that brings a slight frown to his face. Meanwhile, a different kind of power is being forged, for the Sword King Alex is not merely strong, he is a born tank, an unyielding bulwark. Contrary to popular belief, sheer strength alone doesn't make a great swordsman. A truly weak swordsman is utterly useless, but Alex possesses more than just brute force. As someone whose duty is to protect his allies, he must be capable of slaying enemies for extended periods, a task he performs with brutal efficiency against glowing red foes. He must also be able to return smoothly from battle, possessing immense endurance and resilience, standing tall over the vanquished. The reason Alex will be known as the Sword King in the future is clear, as his eyes burn with fierce determination. Because not only does he protect his allies like an impenetrable wall, but he also undertakes solo missions with ease. But he will soon realize the true hierarchy of power. For the highest-ranking Sword King is, in fact, the hero. With glowing red eyes and dark markings etched across his face, a transformed Han Su-kong recalls a past encounter, where a shadowy figure once suggested he could even become the Demon King with the power he possessed. He merely shrugs, a small, pink-haired girl beside him giggling softly, as he muses, "Who knows?" Reflecting on that time, he admits he was too inexperienced, acknowledging that the Demon King was surprisingly adept with words, a battle of wits he would have completely lost. He had suffered a complete defeat if it were a battle of silver tongues. Despite that, the hero knows this is a victory for him, a stark contrast to his past belief that lies and deception were only for the weak, a conviction he once held firmly. The memory shifts to 2 angry demons, one purple-haired and one red-haired. arguing about an apology and preparing for the Demon King's night, their voices echoing his past. Back in the present, Han Su-kong looks away, his expression thoughtful, admitting, "I'm not so sure." He then considers the concept of efficiency, knowing that repeating anything for just 1 hour would be equivalent to 5 hours of work, and now, he has a crucial decision to make. He knew he had to maintain the facade of a lower rank. And deep within the ancient ruins, he could truly hide his power and level up without drawing unwanted attention. His past self would have erupted in fury at the slightest provocation, but he had learned to endure. He had endured much, especially from her, and he was planning to advance his level very soon. His patience had piled up like a mountain of corpses, a testament to his newfound control. Suddenly, a voice broke through his thoughts, asking what had happened to their new comrade. He observed her subtly guarded attitude, wondering if the black market had overcharged her too much. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit chamber, sacks and barrels were stacked high, hinting at hidden stores or forgotten passages. With a gesture of concern, she repeated her question about their new comrade. Her expression was earnest as she clarified, referring to that mercenary. He was originally meant to be nothing more than an experience orb, but the professor, wary of his own weak elf comrades, had other plans for him. Instead, he would be used as a mere luggage carrier, a means to uncover the ancient civilization's heritage. Han Su-kong had once ventured out alone to explore Fantasia, but this time, he wouldn't waste his precious time searching for a suitable location. A quiet determination settled over him, knowing it was enough to simply go to the destinations that held what he needed. Meanwhile, the professor wondered if the Sword King recognized him as his heir, especially after hearing that the Sword King, not the professor, was the true heir of the hero, which had greatly motivated him. He exclaimed to his companions that the Sword King was recovering his power so rapidly, it was even frightening the palace chief. Han Su-kong, however, remained calm, reflecting on the tremendous effects of levels and how his new style was vastly different from before. Why would he do things the old way when he could achieve 5 hours of work in just one? He considered the concept of intensity, observing his own stats, defense, attack, speed, magic, and luck, and how the overall effect was truly tremendous. With legendary weapons, artifacts, and strengthening, one could indeed achieve 5 hours of work in one, leaving no one behind. The professor, still reeling from the news, mused at the Sword King, who was recovering his power so fast, bore a striking resemblance to the old Sword King. The stark reality of Han Su-kang's return to the past had solidified his convictions, reminding him that the training staff or the masterminds behind them could, at any moment, reset his levels and skills entirely. He considered the hero's S-tier experience boost he once received, realizing it was nothing more than a figment of imagination, a mere illusion of cosmetic skill profiles. Standing resolute, he knew that magic, sorcery, martial arts, elementals, engraving, and blessings were simply not his path. For him, science was the only truth, the only power. From this point forward, it was his responsibility to drastically reduce his experience gains and his dependency on them. Han Su-kong considers his current possessions, knowing they would be confiscated upon his return to Earth, rendering them meaningless. This sentiment extends even to the hero-exclusive Holy Sword. He muses that it's unlikely every hero returning from defeating the Demon King would be entrusted with something as potent as a portable nuclear weapon. A thoughtful expression settles on his face. Meanwhile, a bald, bearded shopkeeper with glasses observes something with keen interest. Another shopkeeper, a woman with red hair, also watches intently. In a bustling market, Han Su-kong expresses his disappointment with the available shops, finding them less useful than he'd hoped, as a small girl looks up, inquiring if he's preparing for an adventure. He flashes a peace sign, casually admitting he forgot to mention something, dismissing it as not a big deal that can wait. The girl, however, asserts that preparations for their adventure must begin today, with their departure scheduled as soon as the elves' delegation's papers arrive. He resolves not to travel by foot, believing the most efficient and comfortable way to journey is by utilizing resources, even if it costs a bit more. After all, he has plenty of money at his disposal. He considers the potential complications, a villager leaving safety, or a group of adventurers refusing to be held back. Money, he concludes, can buy both time and safety, a lesson he learned well from his very first run. The journey ahead is long, and they will need permission from His Majesty the King. He is certain the king will approve, knowing exactly what the Dumpling King desires. The king will obediently grant permission, as long as Han Su-kong promises to return soon after his business is concluded. However, it remains uncertain if Alex will be acting as a surveillant during their journey. The child asks if their destination is the ruins, to which he firmly replies, no. He considers their next move, knowing they are about to encounter a truly formidable being. This being, his spiritual teacher, is none other than Tony, the pub bartender, a man whose wisdom he deeply respects. And the very existence he seeks out as his physical power mentor, a guide to unlocking his full potential. He recalls meeting him by chance in the pub, but now, the opportunity to train under him for this current journey is finally within reach. A memory surfaces, a younger Sylvia asking Elder Dongmin if it's even permissible to compare someone to a filthy human, finding the thought itself deeply rude. She wonders why. Of all people, the hero Nimshi knows would admire someone like him. Elder Dongman, walking through desolate ruins, responds with a sneer, declaring that he looks down on humans because they absolutely deserve it. His face contorted in anger, he demands to know how anyone could possibly live amongst such filth and still preach equality. As Sylvia looks on, surprised, Elder Dongman offers to explain everything, provided they prepare for the arduous journey ahead. As he walks, a royal messenger rushes towards Han Su-kong, calling out that the Majesty is looking for him. A slight surprise crosses his face as the messenger continues, informing him that a delegation from the elven country of Elfheim has just arrived. Meanwhile, Elder Dongman appears, his eyes glowing with an intense red light, a powerful crimson aura radiating from his form. Not even a full day had passed since the hero's arrival, yet people from other worlds were already appearing, perhaps because their precious hero was now gone. A golden, three-pronged crown-like object floats in the air, as if a thought echoes through the void. Princess Pajama's man. Han Su-kong looks up in surprise, then a smirk plays on his lips. It's good for me since I don't have to wait any longer, he muses. Later, seated at a table, he instructs an unseen figure. Tell His Majesty that he may seal the deal however he wants. I'm here to rescue the princess. Meanwhile, a delegation has requested to meet the hero. Far away, Princess Sylvia, trapped within a glowing cage, pleads with the guard. Tell them that I refuse. The guard replies, that will be difficult. Back with Han Su-kong, his eyes widen in surprise as he hears about the delegation. The delegation, accompanied by Elphium's first prince, makes their grand entrance, their footsteps echoing softly as they stride down a long red carpet, flanked by hooded figures. Han Su-kong, his form shrouded in shadow, reaffirms his commitment to self-improvement, vowing to grow stronger while others rest, knowing he has no other choice but to continue his path. Meanwhile, under the fading light of dusk, a formidable castle stands, its towers piercing the twilight sky. Inside, a grand hall awaits, illuminated by the soft glow of numerous chandeliers. Through its ornate doors, Elphium's first prince makes his entrance, escorting Princess Sylvia, her expression unreadable. As the prince glances towards her, Sylvia offers a quiet, almost reluctant, "Ah, no." His gaze remains fixed on her, a silent acknowledgement that the prince himself would accompany the delegation, comprised of royal elves and arch-elves, a decision that weighs heavily on him. Theoretically, elves are one of the strongest races, living forever in this world, immune to disease once they level up, and only truly vulnerable if they are murdered. Even against the most powerful creatures, few possess the strength to truly kill these royal beings. His level will rise quickly, and while some might see their life level decrease from using special powers, the Elfheim first prince knows his will naturally never diminish. Therefore, reaching the top level of life means living forever and growing stronger indefinitely, with skills and magic depending on rank. But for arch-elves, like himself, those powers are always at their command. Standing within a grand, glowing archway, the prince's status is clear. He is indeed an arch-elf, a being of immense potential and inherent power. A being of immense power, a monster of a different kind, is born into the world. Such is the nature of an arch-elf, a complete antithesis to their ordinary kin, whose level is capped at an astonishing 999, granting them the ability to wield even the most time-consuming magic with ease. This inherent luck also bestows upon them an invisible level of power, rendering them untouchable even by the wild elves. Meanwhile, in a different locale, Han Su-kong stands with another man, both observing something intently. Back in the ethereal void, the Elfheim first prince stands, his form radiating a soft, otherworldly glow. His eyes burn with a fierce, red light as he recalls a past confrontation, muttering that the demon King Fidonar was weaker than he had anticipated. Later, standing in a grand hall with two other figures, the prince reflects that based on the danger he had experienced, the handsome man he now faces is far more perilous. He muses that this might be because the previous opponent was someone he didn't have to fight to the death for the Demon King, implying a deeper, more personal threat from this new individual. An honorary ceremony for the hero and the elves is underway, and a distinguished figure steps forward, introducing himself as Nasus. Speaking to the hero, Nasus reveals his new title as Prince Regent of the Elves, while Han Su-kong internally muses that he hadn't truly known Nasus during their first encounter, but finds him to be a remarkably likable individual. His thoughts drift to a memory of Sylvia, a stark reminder that not all elves were as violent as she had been, a menacing image of her flashing through his mind. Returning to the present, Nasus beams with a bright, almost glowing smile, expressing his pleasure at finally meeting the hero. Han Su-kong, in turn, offers a silent prayer for their shared future, his earnest hope echoing in his mind. With a firm handshake, the two leaders solidify their bond, as the surrounding crowd erupts in cheers for the harmony between humans and elves. Nasus then reflects on his new position, finding satisfaction in being Prince Regent, even with the guidance of a middle-aged knight, and mentions he is currently practicing lessons from his visual teacher. A wide, almost mischievous grin spreads across his face as he raises a drink, a shadowy figure of the dark mage boss lurking in the background, a ghost of past conflicts. The newly appointed Prince Regent, Nasus, stands with a glowing orb in his hand, a mirror image of the hero, Han Su-kang, who holds a similar radiant sphere. As they settle into a more formal setting, Nasus expresses his pleasure at their meeting, a sentiment Han Su-kang readily reciprocates, acknowledging the elf as the Prince Regent. For Nasus, the concept of eternal life is a profound one, a blessing and a curse intertwined, for one can easily lose track of time's passage when it stretches endlessly before them. Han Su-kang lets out a surprised exclamation, while Nasus offers a compliment, noting the hero's considerable qualities. The Prince Regent admits he enjoyed witnessing a more uninhibited side of the hero, who attributes his own boisterousness to excitement and perhaps a bit too much drink, to which Nasus simply replies that it is fine. Han Su-kang considers this exchange, a thoughtful expression settling on his face. He finds himself liking Nasus even more, seeing no fault in his level, appearance, abilities, philosophy, or manners, a truly impeccable individual. Meanwhile, Nasus reflects on the hero, perceiving him as a true gentleman, embodying the qualities of a modern man. He muses that the sincerity reflected in one's eyes is undoubtedly the most valuable currency. He reflects on the ancient history of his people, recalling how one figure met their end by clinging to something deemed utterly useless. For millennia, the bloodline of elves has remained sacred, a race that has endured for thousands of years, never truly interacting with the continent of Fantasia, even now regarding their lineage as inviolable. He ponders the beauty of Sylvia, a figure who transcended even the elves' own standards, yet she rarely left her research lab, a place that defined her existence. Despite her unparalleled beauty, Sylvia was the one who disregarded elven tradition, convinced that being born an elf was a disgrace. And if a human was born, she would flirt with them, her playful demeanor masking a deeper, unsettling curiosity. She was a witch who experimented on humans, a fact he finds both disturbing and, in a strange way, interesting. No wonder it was so difficult to find her, and he wonders if he could acquire a drop item to bring her to his lab. He had warned Sylvia several times not to look down on humans, but she had always merely laughed at his words. He had always expected this day would come, but it still brings him a profound sadness to live through it, his mind registering a max-level status. As the Elfheim First Prince, Nasus, contemplates the fate of Sylvia, he acknowledges the profound impact of her choices, even as he feels a sense of satisfaction in his own foresight. It makes sense, he muses, considering the current Elf King's prolonged illness, which has left the throne to him, the first Prince of Elfheim. Despite the irregular circumstances of his ascension, he is widely regarded as an excellent forest elf. Turning his attention to the hero before him, Nasus expresses a deep concern, fearing that Sylvia's demise will inevitably shape the future. With a plea for assistance, he reaches out to Han Su-kang, imploring the hero to lend his strength to the cause of Elfheim. He then questions if Han Su-kang is also unaware of the unfolding events, to which the hero simply responds with a resolute, "Bring it," confirming his readiness to face whatever comes. A flicker of surprise crosses Han Su-kang's face as he processes the gravity of the situation. Presenting a magnificent, emerald-hued blade, Nasus reveals it to be Endymion, his personal chest sword. He explains that Endymion is one of the 3 holy swords of their kingdom, and requests that Han Su-kang return it once he has obtained the holy tree. Under the luminous glow of a full moon, Han Su-kang stands, now holding the sacred blade, ready to embark on his new quest. A soft gasp escapes Sylvia as she gazes upon the radiant glow of the holy sword, Endymion, now held by the hero. Yet, as the prince awaits his answer, Han Su-kang quietly affirms, "I won't forget your sincerity." Then, with a sudden, firm resolve, he declares, "I'm sorry, but I have no intentions of returning the Endymion." A knowing smirk plays on the Elfheim First Prince's lips as he responds, "I really won't forget." Among Elphium's 5 most precious treasures, the elemental sword Endymion shimmered with an ethereal glow. A weapon so significant that its very existence was tied to the fate of the kingdom, and one that he had helped Sylvia defeat to obtain in the first place. Even as the Prince Regent, he had never been able to wield such an excellent sword, yet now, a chance had appeared for the kingdom to reclaim its glory. He couldn't believe he had lost it so easily. He knew that the hero was capable of being different, of achieving what others could not. A pang of guilt struck the hero for not simply handing over the sword, but he couldn't help but follow his own path. His decision didn't mean he would break their faith and friendship, even though Prince Nasus had specifically asked for Endymion back after the holy sword was obtained. However, he had no intention of obtaining the holy sword, nor of killing the Demon King. A sudden, brilliant flash ignites the darkness. As he envisions himself, bathed in a crimson aura, declaring that this power is more than enough to cleave the Demon King in 2. Meanwhile, Sylvia observes a new item, noting that the hero is believed to like it very much, a sentiment Nasus readily echoes. The object in question is a sword, its hilt resting on a cushion, with a voice explaining that its sheath is crafted from the scales of a blue dragon, eliciting an impressed gasp. Sylvia then muses on her own preferences, stating that she prefers a weapon of the sword type, finding them more provocative. However, after a moment of consideration, she admits that this particular purple isn't bad either, and she can take her time to adjust to its unique taste. Nasus, now holding the glowing purple blade, beams with satisfaction, feeling a strong connection and proclaiming that they have become a good team with Endymion. Still admiring the elemental sword, the Elfheim First Prince remarks, Hero Nim has great strength, by the way. He continues, a confident smile gracing his features. Being a level 4, I've been always a bit strong. Han Su Kong, however, seems lost in thought, his expression darkening slightly as he considers the sword. It would be hard to hold Endymion. The prince, oblivious to Han Su Kang's internal struggle, simply laughs. His mirth echoing as he adds, as expected from Hero Nim. Both men share a moment of lightheartedness. But Han Su Kang's thoughts quickly turn inward, a grim realization dawning on him. This bastard roughly noticed my level. He looks down at Sylvia, who lies unconscious, and the full weight of his secret settles upon him. He might have guessed that the human who killed his younger sister Sylvia was the hero. The Elfheim First Prince gazes out over his kingdom, a question forming in his mind. Had the hero truly handed over the kingdom's treasure as a test? If so, he muses, the hero was a truly terrifying individual. How could he have known that the prince would become vulnerable precisely when he achieved his earthly desires? Meanwhile, Han Su Kong stands before the Elfheim First Prince, the deal seemingly concluded. Days later, a convoy of vehicles travels along a winding road, carrying the hero away from the Elven Kingdom. A satisfied sigh escapes Han Su Kong as he reflects. It truly was a satisfying deal. He had started with nothing, yet 3 days later, he was rich. His status window confirms his gains, a large sum of travel funds, and his level now stands at 204, a high-ranker swordsman with mastery over the elemental sword. His hand rests on the hilt of the elemental sword Endymion, a testament to his newfound power. He considers his new status, now both a porter and an archaeologist, believing he can finally ascend to the gold grade, though a dissenting thought immediately counters this ambition. Meanwhile, a furious, red-skinned demon with sharp horns roars, declaring that save me is something one only says after they've already fallen. Back in his opulent throne room, the Elfheim First Prince muses, convinced that the hero must have his own reasons for his recent actions. Han Su Kong, however, is focused on his own path, stating, he has no desire to be a slave forever, and thus, he has postponed his return for another 100 days. Later, addressing a blonde-haired woman, he suggests, Lenouvel, let's go to the Magus Tower. A chibi version of Lenouvel looks surprised, asking if he's truly planning to use the spatial transfer magic circle. He ponders, a chibi version of himself appearing thoughtful, wondering if it wouldn't be better to simply go while having an adventure. He dismisses the need for further guidance, simply instructing the small, red-skinned creature to show him the way, a faint buzzing sound accompanying his words. With the preparations now complete, a mechanical device hums softly. He observes a tall, muscular man, who stands with a backpack and an adventurer's gear. The man's presence is imposing, his frame filling the space. After tending to him, providing food and care, the man's previously gaunt face now appears healthier and more robust. Now, he muses, the man can serve as a porter, and so he asks directly, what's your name? The muscular man reflects that after being enslaved, he had cast aside his former identity. With a submissive bow, he replies, call me whatever you please, master. Han Su Kong considers this, a thoughtful expression on his face. He sighs, contemplating the burden of having a slave, even if it's a powerful one. Lenouvel, holding a small, intricate device, addresses the muscular man, declaring that since he'll be assisting with long-distance travel, she'll simply call him Porter. She thanks him, and the newly named Porter suggests they head to the Magus. Their destination, a grand, ornate tower, rises majestically into the clear sky. As they arrive, Lenouvel announces their presence, while Han Su Kong gazes up at the imposing structure. The tower, a hub of activity, is likened to an airport with countless flights. This is the Tower of Magus, the official residence of the Magus, where powerful magical energies visibly swirl around its upper reaches. Han Su Kong questions why it's called a tower, given its immense size, learning that it was built by the first founder. Meanwhile, Sylvia explains that being a Magus requires immense mana and time for material creation, making the tower a necessary dwelling for those who practice the art. As he gazes up at the imposing structure, Han Su Kong considers the inherent conflict between magicians and urban life, a problem as fundamental as oil and water. The ancient magi understood that magic could easily explode, making concentration difficult, obscuring the stars, and requiring constant vigilance against mana fluctuations. So they devised ingenious ways to coexist within city limits. Their solution involved a unique architectural approach. Initially, they considered a short tower design, but building too close to the ground proved dangerous for powerful magic. Thus, the ultimate solution emerged, a tower built far from the ground, a magnificent floating structure in the sky, welcoming all who approach. As they arrive, a mage in purple robes bows deeply, offering a formal welcome to the Magus Tower. Observing the scene, Han Su Kong realizes the immense power and dedication required, understanding why only a true sage can ascend to the rank of Archmage. The mage then requests an item to verify their identities, and a hand extends, presenting an identification seal and a permit, along with a handwritten letter from the king. Acknowledging the royal correspondence, She assumes their visit is directly related to the letter's contents. Han Su-kong finds himself contemplating the nature of efficiency, musing that if he were to repeat any task for just 1 hour, it would equate to 5 hours of work. A soft, contemplative sound escapes him as the thought settles in his mind. Meanwhile, the old mage, who had been guiding them, stands before a glowing magic circle, a faint call echoing through the chamber. Turning to face Han Su-kong, Sylvia, and Lenouvel, he responds with a slight hesitation, asking if he needs to send them again. Han Su-kong urges him to concentrate, reminding him of his previous distraction, to which the mage apologizes, admitting he was lost in thought by the unknown magic. Internally, the mage grumbles, believing this particular magician should be considered a criminal. He then tries to console himself with the thought of post-work chicken and beer, while Han Su-kong, seemingly oblivious to the mage's inner turmoil, expresses surprise at the preparations. The mage reassures himself that it's not a problem as long as the magic activates the synthesis magic circle, as Han Su-kong wonders about those within the magic tower, and with a series of powerful magical incantations, the entire group, Han Su-kong, Sylvia, Lenouvel, Porter, and the Elfheim First Prince, steps into the brilliantly glowing portal, disappearing into its depths. As the magic circle pulsed with light, Han Su-kong and his companions, Lenouvel, Sylvia, Porter, and the Elfheim First Prince, were enveloped in its glow, the old mage watching their departure. Suddenly, the transfer was complete, and a woman in mage robes welcomed them to their new location, while a man in dark attire proudly declared that he had reduced a year-long journey to a single second. With a menacing grin, the man with sharp, purple hair and glowing eyes reveled in the thought of being free from all the inevitable nuisances of such a long journey. His hand clenched, a silent testament to his profound satisfaction, as he affirmed, he truly liked it. Suddenly, the very ground beneath them begins to tremble violently, as massive stone structures of the temple tear apart and collapse into a cloud of dust and debris. Amidst the chaos, a young woman cries out, warning that the temple is collapsing around them. She frantically urges everyone to run, to put all their power into reaching the entrance. As debris rains down around them, Lenouvel, running alongside Han Su-kong, questions the logic of entering a collapsing temple, declaring that as an archaeologist, she cannot simply pass a place like that. Her eyes wide with concern, she warns him that it's dangerous. Han Su-kong lets out a cry of alarm as the destruction intensifies around them. The very foundations of the temple began to give way, a deafening crash echoing through the ancient stone as massive cracks spiderwebbed across the walls. With a deep, rumbling groan, larger sections of the ceiling and walls crumbled, sending torrents of debris cascading down. The entire chamber was plunged into an oppressive darkness, swallowed by the dust and the crushing weight of the collapsing structure. As the dust began to settle, Han Su-kang's eyes widened in horror, his voice barely a whisper as he called out, "Lenouvel?" His plea quickly turned into a desperate shout, his face contorted with anguish as he screamed, "Lenouvel, there's no hope." Meanwhile, a determined woman with fiery red hair pulled Lenouvel through the crumbling passageway, her voice urgent as she warned, "If we don't hurry, we'll all be buried alive." Back in the debris-strewn chamber, Han Su-kong slumped to the ground, his body heavy with exhaustion or injury, as a faint voice urged him, "Go, Hieronym." Overwhelmed by the disaster, he stared blankly ahead, his hand reaching out as if to grasp at a fading hope, whispering, "This must be my end." Elsewhere, the determined red-haired woman looked on with fierce resolve, her eyes burning with an unspoken plea. "Please, defeat the Demon King and save this world." A moment of eerie quiet descends. Suddenly, amidst the violent collapse of the temple, debris raining down around him, a red-haired man, his eyes wide with urgency, is caught in the maelstrom, as someone cries out, urging him to hurry. He pushes forward, his leg visible as he navigates the treacherous ground. His foot lands with a decisive thud on the crumbling stone. He sprints through the destruction, pulling Lenouvel along, who struggles to keep pace. Elsewhere, a blue-haired man grimaces, a dark satisfaction playing on his lips as he mutters about the situation. His eyes glow with a sinister purple light as he grins maniacally, declaring his agreement with the unfolding chaos. Meanwhile, Lenouvel, still being dragged, thinks to herself, lamenting that the main character had pulled her into this mess, when she had hoped the Demon King would simply die on his own. A close-up reveals a bloodied leg, belonging to the blue-haired man, suggesting he too has suffered an injury, yet he proclaims that this turn of events has saved him effort. Han Su-kong processes a system message, which explains that repeating any action for 1 hour would equate to 5 hours of work, a concept that leaves him looking utterly exasperated. Later, under the night sky, a campfire crackles softly, casting dancing shadows across the surrounding trees. From the warmth of the flames, the red-haired hero calls out, her voice firm, demanding dinner be prepared. An elderly man, with a stern expression, points a finger, instructing the blue-haired man to handle the chores himself, before adding that he must also secure the camp and prepare dinner. The blue-haired man, his eyes glowing with frustration, can barely contain his outrage, questioning why the hero is burdened with such menial tasks. The old man's finger remains pointed, his voice unwavering as he explains that the blue-haired man is the one who slacks off the most. causing the blue-haired man's hand to clench into a trembling fist. His face contorted in pure rage as the old man finishes. "It is you." Later, the blue-haired man sits dejectedly by the campfire, muttering to himself about how everyone else was equally bad at chores, even Lenouvel, as he reflects on his current predicament. Still reeling from the indignity of his forced labor, Han Sukong lets out a frustrated cry, lamenting his fate as a mere slave and questioning why he ever bothered. Nearby, Lenouvel glances down at him, a soft, questioning sound escaping her lips. She then calmly explains her position, asserting that as a princess and a hero, she has no reason to engage in mundane household chores. Her words, combined with his own exhaustion, feel like a physical blow, and he experiences a metaphorical fall, his mind feeling as though it's detaching, all his strength draining away. As he continues to descend into this abstract void, a resigned "ah, damn" escapes him, followed by the thought that he wouldn't have chosen this path if he had known the outcome. Overwhelmed by the weight of his circumstances, tears stream down his face. Now a translucent, ghost-like figure floating in the darkness, he reflects on his past, wishing he had saved Lenouvel and brought her with him, no matter the cost. Yet, even in this state of profound despair, a flicker of determination ignites within him, a quiet resolve to pull himself back together. His ethereal form, now a distant speck, drifts onward, carrying the silent promise of his renewed will. From the oppressive darkness, a soft voice calls out to him, a familiar plea echoing through the void. As his eyes flutter open, he sees Lenouvel leaning over him, her expression etched with concern, asking if he is all right. Disoriented, Han Sukong looks around the unfamiliar surroundings, wondering where he could possibly be. A moment of clarity washes over him, and he realizes it was all just a dream. He feels a profound sense of relief, almost as if an angel has descended upon him, bringing comfort in this moment of awakening. He now understands their location, the waiting room of the Demon Lord's tower, where the hero is currently in the midst of an escape. A small smile touches his lips as he thinks, it seems everything is working out fine. Meanwhile, Lenouvel is making her way to the other side, her purpose unclear. She looks back at him, a gentle smile on her face, expressing her gladness that he is safe. Still focused on his companion, he hears her call out to him. He clenches his jaw, knowing he must endure this situation, because if he were to harm her, he would never find Porter again. He vows not to repeat the mistakes he made with Lenouvel in the first round, a grim determination settling over him. As they arrive, a question crosses his mind. Could this alien country truly possess such advanced technology? Lenouvel, noticing his surprise, simply asks why he's so taken aback. He admits he thought she was merely a mage, to which she calmly confirms, "I am a mage." Yet, she can't shake the feeling that this entire journey doesn't quite feel like a proper adventure. Han Sukong, exasperated, demands to know why she's still unsatisfied, when they're already moving so easily with magic. Lenouvel, however, insists that moving around without understanding anything isn't easy at all. He then reveals his true reason for keeping her around. She possesses immense magical power and the ability to utilize various modern conveniences. Lenouvel, seemingly agreeing with her own assessment, suggests that she might have a point. But Han Sukong quickly cuts her off, declaring there's no chance of gaining items or skills without hard work, and sternly tells her to be quiet. He knew that if he could just repeat any task for an hour, it would yield the same results as 5 hours of conventional effort, a principle he applied to everything, even as he snapped, "Just shut your mouth and follow me." His companion, however, seemed to think otherwise, internally asserting her superior knowledge of the area, as they approached a sign pointing towards the mercenary guild. He considered the possibilities, musing that a merchant or blacksmith guild might also be nearby, and that he should seize any opportunity to ride a horse or carriage, or even help a merchant's daughter with an infection, all for the sake of efficiency. His mind raced through the optimal path to level up, build reputation, and earn money, but he quickly dismissed the idea of such trivial tasks, declaring, "I don't have time for such a useless part-time job, you know?" He continued to ponder the concept of part-time work, while Lenouvel, exasperated by his single-minded focus, sarcastically retorted, "From this, you can conclude that we're not in a hurry. Help me. I'm being attacked by the orcs. I need a potion of greater healing. That's..." He maintains his resolute stance, declaring that he is not in any rush at all, even as a desperate plea for help echoes in his mind. Lenouvel, exasperated, urges him to listen, reminding him they have no time, while he remains fixated on the distant plea, wondering if they should bother with mining or when surrounded by goblins. He dismisses her concerns, asserting he will simply blow them down, and when she asks if there's another way to send a message, he bluntly tells her to shut up and follow him if she doesn't understand, to which she reluctantly agrees. Under the quiet crescent moon, a small, owl-like creature with glowing eyes seems to respond to his words, uttering a soft no into the night. Han Sukong, his eyes glowing with an intense purple light, questions the very concept of useless adventures, finding no logical sense in the idea. A smug smirk plays on his lips as he asks if she feels better now that he's clarified his position, though he quickly corrects himself, admitting that wasn't quite what he meant. Lenouvel, clearly annoyed by his expression, tells him not to give her that smug look, to which he simply replies with an unconcerned yes. yes, before she trails off, defeated. With a sigh of resignation, she concedes that he is, indeed, reasonable. As their journey continues, Lenouvel, with a hopeful expression, asks, Hieronym, is this our destination? Han Su-kong, his expression firm, replies, if you're seeking achievements, I'll show it to you now. Lenouvel, still concerned, presses on. We are in a hurry. The place we came to by traveling for 2 days is this mountain village. By any chance, could it be that there's a link to the evil conspiracy of the Demon King? As they walk along the path into the village, Han Su-kong dismisses her, shut up. He adds, his gaze fixed ahead, especially in this reverent place. The rustic buildings of the mountain village stand quietly, and Han Su-kong observes that the scenery is exactly as he remembers from his first journey, noting that he arrived 9 years earlier this time. Reaching a wooden door, he knocks firmly, calling out, are you theirs master? From within, a voice responds, I am Professor Heroes. He listens intently as a voice requests his teachings. A young child, looking up at a woman beside them, softly asks about someone named Malong. Meanwhile, a sharp sound draws Han Su-kang's attention, causing him to glance back over his shoulder. He, Porter, and the woman stand before a rustic building, a narration box declaring that a man is living there, suggesting a new encounter is imminent. A wooden door creaks open, revealing the interior. Han Su-kong confronts the woman directly, demanding to know her identity. The child, looking surprised, then asks if he knows their Malong. Han Su-kong, deep in thought, realizes the woman is the daughter of this village's chief. 20 years have passed, a realization that settles heavily as he recalls finding this place, when the girl he now speaks to was but a child. Today, the hero's memories are bright, but the past holds a different story. This was all long ago, 5 years earlier than the child's birth, when the village chief's daughter was still a young woman. All the memories from his childhood are not delusions, but the fact that a great being is living in the village chief's house has not changed. As the village chief's daughter addresses him, asking if he is the hero, he considers the great being she has been talking about, the one she mentioned after refusing all the adventures. Lenouvel, observing a peculiar green creature, questions if it's merely a slime, only to be sharply told to be quiet. He declares he will not accept any cheesy remarks about the creature, for one can only truly perceive the form of the hero's great being with a high rank, a fact recorded in the kingdom's annals. Turning to Lenouvel, he chastises her, stating her eyes seem to be mere decorations, emphasizing that this is no ordinary slime. He then corrects himself, admitting that Lenouvel is right, and the creature, Malong, is indeed cute, possessing a different form than other slimes. He considers it faster to demonstrate directly rather than explain to those he perceives as stupid barbarians. Turning to Lenouvel, he asks if he can hold on to this cute and fluffy thing of hers for a moment, prompting her to correct him. It's Malong. Gently, he reassures the slime, telling it everything will be fine. Malong then settles onto the ground with a soft sound. But almost immediately, the creature bounces up, finding a comfortable spot on his chest, its form jiggling contentedly. As it rests there, a soft, ethereal glow begins to emanate from the slime, surrounded by tiny, sparkling particles. The light intensifies, revealing the full, vibrant essence of Malong. His eyes, now glowing with an inner light, fix on the creature, a profound realization dawning as he declares it the most perfect being he knows. A surge of raw power washes over him, a profound sensation that echoes through his very being. This is it, he realizes, this is the true feeling of immense power. Yet, a thought begins to form, a deeper understanding that the human body is impermanent, a mere vessel for magic, controls, and power. No matter how much one trains, if they cannot truly utilize their own body, then it is all for naught. It is a fragile vessel that cannot fully contain a soul, but it is also capable of becoming more than just a vessel, if one can only find the true power of another. Divine power, magic, controls, they are all the same, he once thought, but he was wrong. It was all in vain. As green, glowing bubbles float around him. He understands that these things are all the same, and the body they chose is a slime, a special body. With his eyes glowing with newfound insight, Han Su-kong realizes it is a special body by itself, inherently powerful. He continues to ponder the profound truth he has uncovered, an existence that grants him a scientific insight far beyond the realm of mere fantasy. This revelation, something that transcends the limits of what humans can even dream of, leaves his companions bewildered, with Lenouvel hesitantly calling out to him. It transcends even the limits of magic itself, he realizes, as he holds Malong, confirming his suspicion. Malong is a truly special body. What was once merely an idea in his head, he has now seen with his own eyes, engraving Malong's unique existence deep into his very soul. Suddenly, an automatic system control activates. His companions recoil in utter shock. His body begins to swell, tearing through his clothes with a sharp rip. Skeletal muscle rapidly develops beneath his skin. He is bulking up, leaving his companions utterly stunned by the sudden, dramatic transformation. His companions stare in utter disbelief at the transformed Han Su-kong, his muscles now bulging with an almost unnatural power. Lenouvel gasps, wondering aloud how he could have achieved such a feat. while Sylvia expresses concern that even Master Malong might be affected by the sheer intensity of his change. Still reeling from the sight, Lenouvel, the archaeologist, begins to ponder the biological implications, asking about protein assimilation and growth hormones. Unaware that the human body's organs are primarily controlled by an automatic system, the autonomic nervous system, which operates beyond conscious will. These vital functions, from the heartbeat and stomach movements to hormone secretion and muscle formation, all execute themselves regardless of one's conscious intent, leading Han Su-kong to wonder if he could somehow seize control of these processes with his own will. For a creature like Malong, however, complete control over its own body is entirely natural, a unique ability that is far too inherent and obvious to ever be taught to others. This singular, special existence, embodied by Malong's very essence, is destined to endure for a long time. Its primary ability, the power of being soft, defines its enduring nature. Having received profound knowledge about the automatic system control, a gift from Malong that allowed him to thoroughly understand self-awareness and even make contact with noble knowledge beyond the creature's will, Han Su-kong felt a surge of emotion, tears welling in his eyes as he was touched by the sheer greatness of humanity and the potential within himself. With this newfound understanding, he cried out in his heart, "Thank you, Master Malong." As a system message confirmed his acquisition of the automatic system control skill and the shattered fist lore, making him feel invincible, a new voice cut through the air. Unha questioned the documents in his possession, wondering if they were from his journey or perhaps a contract with a demon, finding them quite odd. He knew he couldn't allow her to witness the path he was about to take, the hard way he intended to obtain the demon's power. He stands before a figure cloaked in purple, who questions how he could be unaware of the system, especially since he was its creator. The woman, Unha, looks down at him, her red eyes gleaming as she dismisses his understanding, declaring that he and his kind are far too behind the times. She continues, asserting that he has no right to speak of effort, even if he were a god. A moment of silence passes, as Unha seems to reflect on her words. Finally, she concedes, acknowledging his point and offering a sincere apology on behalf of her planning staff, as it is revealed that student Kong Han Su was the first person ever recognized for his combat capabilities. She expresses regret for not knowing about his efforts sooner, confessing it's the first time she's heard of the system being created by a human, and declares she will no longer argue on his behalf. Han Su-kong looks utterly shocked by her words, while a small Malong on his head seems to apologize, though he doesn't understand what the creature is talking about. Still confused, he stands in a simple room, Malong still perched atop his head. A determined expression settles on his face, as he raises a hand, ready for whatever comes next. A single foot taps rhythmically, a testament to the efficiency of his actions. His status window reveals an arch-human, level 201, a hero with significant experience, possessing information reading at level 4, and formidable physical stats, and he reflects that even in an incomplete state of Mazel's teachings, he was still able to defeat the Demon King. With such power, his next objective is clear, to craft an item suitable for level 104. Soaring through the skies, he muses on the pleasant fellowship he once found in this region. A massive, green-scaled dragon with glowing eyes speaks, its voice booming with authority. "I grade you highly in all subjects: knowledge, skill, achievement, potential, and character." It then adds, almost to itself, "If I want to go home, right?" Its immense wing stretches across the sky, a testament to its ancient power. Then, a new voice, filled with fierce determination, declares, "This time, let's graduate Kong Hyun-soo." His sharp, red eyes burn with resolve, his expression unwavering. To properly evaluate a hero, 4 key subjects are considered: their combat capabilities, achievements, reputation, and personality. In the first round, his combat capabilities alone were utterly overwhelming. He had reached a level where he could single-handedly slay the Demon King. His achievements and reputation also posed no significant challenge, as even the small, goblin-like creatures revered him as Hero Nim. But now, facing the second round for the hero's duty, quest, and adventures, he knew he couldn't fail this time if he wanted a fast graduation. He would volunteer for the hero's duty, yet even with his high combat capability and character score, he couldn't kill the Demon King, meaning he might fail due to his achievements and reputation this time. Han Su-kong stared down into the chasm, a deep concern etched on his face. As he spoke, Porter, standing nearby, looked on with a worried expression, uttering, "Hiranim, this Lingo." Meanwhile, Sylvia and Unha, equally surprised, questioned the situation, with Unha asking, "What's wrong with you, Professor?" "Only the Professor can summon the Demon King." "Ah, what do you mean, no?" He considers the hero's duty, quest, and adventure system, designed to evaluate a hero's capabilities, even though he has already completed it once before. A system notification flashes, indicating that repeating any task for an hour would yield the same results as 5 hours of work. Turning to his companions, he declares his intention to undertake the mission, prompting Professor Sylvia to exclaim that graduating for the sake of the village, even if it's a slight fabrication, would be the best way to complete a hero's mission, finding the prospect amazing. She continues, expressing pride that hero Kong Hyun-soo is taking his duty so seriously, and that she can carry his spear. Later, in a dark, cavernous space, Lenouvel confesses to him that she had worried the summoning had gone wrong. He lets out a small sigh, then asks rhetorically if there is any time to clean up the small fries. As they stand before a menacing cave entrance, its depths glowing with an eerie blue light, he reminds Lenouvel that there is a cost-to-benefit ratio for achievements. He adds that there is a perfect target around here. From within the cave's depths, a monstrous voice cries out in terror, "No!" As the group ventured deeper into the cave, a sudden realization struck Han Su-kong, his eyes widening in surprise at the sight before him. Meanwhile, the companions exchanged worried glances, having discovered a young dragon within the very cave where Master Malong resided. The creature, a small blue dragon, let out a low growl, its presence filling the cavern with a primal energy. Malong, ever the idealist, reminded them of their core principles, declaring that a true hero delivers hope, not death. Facing the young dragon, Lenouvel questioned Han Su-kang's intentions, asking if he truly intended to abandon the creature to the villagers, warning of the severe consequences such an act would bring. Sylvia, her expression fierce, vehemently opposed the idea, arguing that abandoning it would lead to a senseless slaughter for the sake of humans. Han Su-kong, his gaze hardening, admitted his deep-seated aversion to dragons, but the title of Hero Nim seemed to weigh on him, reminding him of his duty. The other companions, including Porter, Un-ha, and Malong, echoed the sentiment, agreeing that leaving the dragon alone was simply not the way of a hero. With the weight of their words and his own principles settling upon him, Han Su-kong finally conceded, accepting the difficult path ahead. A grim, shadowy visage of Han Su-kong appears, his eyes glowing with a fierce red light, as if reflecting on a past challenge. He recalls a principle of efficiency, where an hour of focused repetition could equate to 5 hours of work, wondering what he should truly expect from those who stand against him. He remembers the handful of dragons he had encountered throughout his journey, all of them belonging to the formidable Dragon King's faction. But this time, something was different. These miscellaneous dragons, he muses, were merely commoners, not the powerful foes he was accustomed to. He recalls the long-standing belief that one must defeat the Dragon King to truly open their mouths, a task that had consumed his attention for a decade. He had only ever paid attention to checking off that singular, monumental goal. Now, however, he was determined that nothing would disturb his graduation from this arduous path. Han Su-kong, the Dragon Slayer, takes a deep, resolute breath, his expression firm. He observes the gentle, young dragon, noting its low skill level, likely due to its lack of intense hunting. Yet, he remembers the experience gained from the dragon's heart, and concludes that this would be a normal hunt, one that no one could criticize. He knew that if he repeated anything for just 1 hour, it would be the same as doing 5 hours of work, a thought that lingered as the night settled over the rugged mountains. Inside his tent, Han Su-kong sighed, reflecting on the constant demands. He couldn't help but think, no, if she complains, she has no conscience. His gaze hardened slightly as he considered the troublesome nature of his companions. He pictured them, Lenouvel, Sylvia, Porter, and even Malong, gathered around a campfire, their voices echoing with familiar complaints. Yeah, my spear is for Hero Nim. Experience, they say. You can't always get what you want. The memory faded, and he was back in his tent, watching his sleeping form. If I wait until morning to leave, the others will notice. He winced, anticipating the inevitable protests. No, the lecturing will be too much. For the third time. A sly smile crept onto his face as he realized his best course of action. I've already gone through this twice, so I know. So it would be better if I leave for a moment. Deep within the forest, a soft rustling sound breaks the silence. As a large, green hand with 3 thick fingers grips a tree trunk, its owner letting out a low grunt. Emerging from the undergrowth, a hulking figure with tusks and powerful limbs reveals itself, letting out another guttural cry. It is an orc. Observing the creature, Han Su-kong muses that if he were to translate its name delicately into Korean, it would likely be Pig Goblin, the shape of its nose reminding him of pigs. Despite the crude name, he acknowledges their impressive physique, as they are truly muscular, like bodybuilders. The orc lets out another cry, and as expected, he finds himself unable to understand their language, even with his interpretation skill. Peeking from behind a thick tree trunk, Han Su-kong watches, a faint glow emanating from the orb in his hand, his presence completely unnoticed. He knows their lifespan is short, and they cannot utilize an interpretation language that would be understandable with his skill, making them little more than farming monsters in a game, with no true existence beyond that. As the companions discuss the good quality of their hero and how they will help out, Han Su-kong remains focused on the task at hand. From his hidden vantage point, he silently urges them to stay out of it, his gaze fixed on the approaching threat. Through the dense foliage, a group of hulking orcs stomps through the forest, their heavy footsteps echoing through the quiet woods. One of the creatures lets out a guttural cry, its tusks gleaming as it surveys its surroundings. A shimmering, golden barrier of energy flares into existence, emanating from Han Su-kong as he prepares for combat. With his current level at 204, he feels confident he can raise it even further by engaging these creatures. A companion offers their assistance, but Han Su-kong has a larger plan in mind. After clearing out the orc colony nearby, he intends to hunt a dragon. Amidst the chaos, two monstrous orcs tear at each other, one sinking its teeth deep into the other's flesh with a guttural cry. Meanwhile, a system message flashes, reminding Han Sukong that repeating any action for an hour yields the same experience as 5 hours of work, and he wonders if this accelerated growth is due to his unique repeating skills, his eyes glowing with a fierce red light. Regardless of the reason, he knows this method is efficient, and with a determined stance, he grips his sword, ready to unleash his power, his red aura flaring around him. A monstrous orc lets out a guttural roar, its jaws wide in a terrifying display. Suddenly, a flurry of impacts echoes through the air, a rapid succession of powerful blows. One of the creatures is sent hurtling through the air, a mere blur against the chaotic backdrop. Han Sukong moves with blinding speed, his form a crimson streak as he delivers another devastating strike, his eyes burning with an infernal glow. An orc's face contorts in agony, its features blurring from the sheer force of the impact. A swift, clean cut slices through the air, leaving a shimmering white trail in its wake. A flash of blue energy erupts from the blade, Han Sukong moving with impossible speed, leaving only a streak of light in his wake. One orc is violently thrown, its body twisting midair from the sheer force of his assault. Another recoiling with a guttural cry as a devastating blow connects. The remaining orcs react with startled grunts and confused shouts. One of them collapsing to the ground as another realizes the grim truth. So there were scouts. Han Sukong looks down, his expression resolute, thinking, every little helps. I'll take all the experience I can get. It's a good thing that Professor Moral's well, like. A desperate cry echoes through the cavern, a voice calling out for the hero, as a vibrant purple aura flares in the distance. Lenouvel, Han Sukong, and Malong look up in alarm, the blonde mage insisting that he will return, despite the dire circumstances. A moment later, Han Sukong's expression shifts to one of surprise, red glowing eyes appearing behind him, as if a sudden realization dawns on him about the danger if the enemy's attention turns to his companions. Meanwhile, deep within a rocky chamber, a large, green-skinned creature grumbles, declaring its inability to continue working in this location. Another of the monstrous figures lets out a guttural roar, its red eyes burning with aggression. Suddenly, multiple green-skinned creatures descend upon Malong, the small blob-like companion crying out as they strike. As the chaos erupted around him, Han Sukong merely offered a confident smirk. A flurry of arrows then tore through the air, aimed directly at him. But with practiced ease, he deflected each one with his bare hands. The green-skinned creatures, enraged by his defiance, continued their assault, screaming as they charged. He knew he could easily block these low-level attacks, his body a testament to his growing power. Arrows shattered against his bare skin, his muscles rippling with every impact. This incredible durability was all thanks to Master Malong's teachings, which had hardened his very skin. A system window flashed, revealing his current status, Level 203, Job, Hero, with all his core skills at A+ grade, and a new Madness status. He noted that by using his body to defend against the goblins, his grade was rapidly increasing. Suddenly, a powerful impact echoed, and the goblin-like creatures recoiled in terror as a massive shadow loomed over them. He had known many who prided themselves on fighting with grace, avoiding every blow. But as the goblins were sent flying with a resounding crash, he knew such gawky bodies were nothing more than a good source of experience. With a sharp crack, his powerful kick connected. No matter how skilled one was at dodging or martial arts, in the real world, a blind arrow would always find its mark. Suddenly, a different scene flashed into existence. As Eunha found herself in a desperate situation, a system warning echoing in her mind. You'll never survive. A blind arrow will find you. Not enough mana. A monstrous blue creature also let out a pained growl, its own system message confirming the same critical mana shortage. Back in the forest, the battle was over, as Han Sukong stood victorious over the fallen goblins, one of their kind scrambling away in terror. With a surge of golden magical energy, Lenouvel finishes off the last of the creatures, a frustrated sigh escaping her as she declares herself done with the rest. Meanwhile, Han Sukong, his own aura faintly shimmering, reminds himself that despite appearances, his level surpasses that of a mere hero, and as their assistant, he must act. Turning to him, Lenouvel asks how many orcs he needs her to immobilize for him to remain still, to which he dryly responds that it sounds like the magic he just heard. She clarifies that they need to leave one alive to gather the rest of its gang, prompting him to question how she intends to find all the orcs by simply searching the entire forest. A small figure is seen in the distance, letting out a cry, as Lenouvel casually mentions she has already prepared a disguise, which Han Sukong dismisses, telling her to leave it. He then clarifies that to disguise oneself, one truly needs it. With red markings now adorning his face, he explains that orcs have a sensitive nose, and also mentions the dragon. Deep within the forest, the guttural cries of orcs echo, their crude forms moving through the undergrowth. More of the monstrous figures emerge, their presence a growing threat. A close-up reveals the fierce, primal intensity in their eyes, a chilling sight for any who would dare approach. Among them, one particular orc stands out, its movements perhaps a little too deliberate, its internal thoughts betraying its true identity as Malong, who has successfully infiltrated the tribe. The disguise is perfect, allowing him to blend seamlessly with the other orc fighters, a summoned entity of considerable power. The orcs, with their enhanced sense of smell, remain oblivious to the deception, their primitive minds unable to detect the intruder. Meanwhile, from a hidden vantage point, Han Su Kong, Lenouvel, and Ma Long in his true form observe the vast orc camp, which could number up to 5,000 individuals. He begins to detail his infiltration strategy, explaining how their small group of 5 will proceed, with him going in first and the others following after a 30-minute delay. As he points to a map, outlining his 30-minute route to the main camp, Lenouvel interjects, her voice laced with concern, suggesting they abandon the dangerous mission altogether. She looks at him with worry, but Han Su Kong dismisses her concerns, assuring her they will escape through the gates, as no one truly blocks with their lives. His eyes glow with a menacing red light, a purple aura flaring around him, as he adds that otherwise, she'll have no way to escape, excitedly asking if she isn't thrilled about getting reinforcements. Lenouvel, taken aback by his intensity, warns him that if he has another useless thought, she'll. But he simply turns and walks away, asking what she means, then suggesting they strengthen their friendship instead. Meanwhile, deep within the orc camp, Ma Long is held aloft by a massive green hand, letting out a terrified QWAU. The vast, dimly lit camp teems with countless orcs, their forms indistinct in the gloom, as Ma Long's cries echo through the night. Back at their vantage point, Lenouvel stares in horror at the scene, whispering about the orcs. Ma Long, still clutched by an orc, confesses to feeling a horrific sensation every time it sees them, a little bit like crying. Lenouvel closes her eyes, a silent gasp escaping her lips, overwhelmed by the grim reality of their situation. Despite her profound worry, a soft, purple glow emanates from her hand, a silent declaration of resolve. As the energy crackles around her, Lenouvel's eyes burn with a fierce, determined light. She is the helper who once insisted on becoming the hero of the legendary hero, and now, her power surges. A guttural scream escapes her lips, as a vibrant purple aura engulfs her entire form, radiating immense magical force. In response to the overwhelming surge, a monstrous roar erupts, its jagged teeth bared in defiance. With unwavering resolve, she channels her power, vowing to rectify her master's disgrace right here, right now. A colossal explosion of purple and yellow energy erupts, engulfing everything in its path. The chaotic magical residue lingers, a testament to the raw power unleashed. From the distant orc camp, a lone figure looks up, silhouetted against the fading light of the magical blast. As the ground beneath them pulsed with arcane energy, a blinding magical explosion erupted, painting the sky with vibrant purple and green light. From a distant vantage point, Han Su Kong watched the orc stronghold, recalling the monsters fed to them and their proximity to the mountain, while within his fortress, the orc chieftain mused on the nature of the bait. He continued his silent assessment, remembering the orcs who guarded the mountain, serving their demon king, Lenouvel, and the other heroes. A chilling smile touched his lips, finding their defenses almost too simple to overcome. Meanwhile, the orc chieftain, the mightiest of his kind, remained seated on his imposing throne. Han Su Kang's fist tightened, solidifying his plan to eliminate the orcs and dismantle their base, thereby forcing them to align with Lenouvel. Elsewhere, Lenouvel stared in wide-eyed astonishment, exclaiming over the pretty candy and its incredible nature. She then gazed up at the heavens, a sudden, unsettling thought crossing her mind about becoming a barbecue if she couldn't return to her own world. He finds himself confronted by a glowing, hexagonal mark, its ethereal particles shimmering as a desperate plea echoes from within. "Help me. Oh, human, I'll reward you as much as you like, so please help me." The mark continues its lament, revealing itself as a source of torment that has plagued it for a decade. A sigh escapes him as he considers the situation, a bad feeling settling in that things are about to become incredibly annoying. A system message flashes, reminding him that if a person repeats the same action for 1 hour, it would be equivalent to 5 hours of work, while a desperate cry for help echoes in the distance. Hanging precariously upside down, Lenouvel's wide, panicked eyes stare out, her blonde hair cascading towards the ground. His eyes glowing with a faint red light, Han Su Kong clenches his jaw, thinking to himself that he'll just get rid of the source of all this trouble and compensation. Below Lenouvel, a smaller, dark-haired figure in red glasses also hangs, giggling mischievously and declaring their intention to go home. A voice retorts, "You're right, go home. On your own." With a heavy sigh, a foot steps forward, as Han Su Kong reluctantly begins to move, wishing he wasn't involved in the first place. He only gets paid for the work he puts in, not the risk he takes, and facing the towering orc chieftain is definitely something he doesn't want to do. He muses that his current power level feels significantly lower than he remembers it being, wondering if this disparity is a consequence of his arrival in this new world. He recalls the moment he was expelled from the academy, becoming the lowest-ranked novice in this unfamiliar realm, a memory that still stings. A triumphant declaration echoes, "Thank you for the food." The narrative shifts to a powerful artifact, a gift received from the elf prince. This is no ordinary blade. It's an elemental sword, imbued with enchantment. A question arises. Isn't it a sword that absorbs the power of the spirit you kill? The answer is a firm no. Malong observes, a small question mark hanging above its head. The true nature of the weapon is revealed as the voice of the elemental spirit itself. A swirling green energy pulses within a wide-open eye, hinting at a sudden surge of power or a magical disturbance. Suddenly, a small, blob-like creature dashes away, clutching a large bag, as a voice cries out, "It's a thief." The creature continues its escape, the shouts echoing that a human is stealing the elf's treasure. The royal treasure has been robbed. Wielding the elemental sword, its blade glowing with a soft blue light, Han Sukong wonders aloud, is she crazy? His eyes widen in shock as he processes the implications of the theft, realizing that the elemental sword belongs to the elves. Before he can fully react, the ground beneath him gives way, sending him plummeting downwards with a surprised gasp. Huh? He falls into a dark abyss, landing before the towering, monstrous form of the orc chieftain, who lets out a guttural sound, goo-goo. His face contorts in a mix of anger and frustration, realizing that he was too slow because he had slept, and now his entire plan has been messed up. Standing defiantly on a gruesome pile of skulls, the glowing elemental sword held ready, he prepares to face the formidable foe. He watches the monstrous figure before him, a quiet, escaping his lips as he takes in the scene. With a thunderous roar, the orc chieftain swings its massive, crude weapon, the air crackling with raw power. Despite the terrifying display, he notes that the chieftain's skill levels are low, and its stats are poor, posing no significant threat. Dismissing the foe, he mutters, "Unker, a mere fellow," his gaze unwavering. Then, with a surge of blue energy around his blade, he charges, commanding, "Stay still and accept my experience." From a safe distance, Malong reacts with a surprised coo, wondering aloud, "What did you say you had?" The orc chieftain's eye glows a fierce red, as it prepares for the incoming strike, knowing it will be less powerful if the blow doesn't land. Han Sukong closes the distance, his elemental sword now blazing with an intense, blinding blue light, ready to cleave through his opponent. As the glowing blade descends, the orc chieftain's red eye widens in sudden realization, a desperate cry escaping its lips. "It's a trap. You." As the trap sprung, a cry of alarm escaped the orc chieftain, who found himself ensnared and vulnerable. His foot recoiled from an unseen impact, a desperate, futile struggle against the inevitable. Looking up, the chieftain's eyes widened in pure terror, his mouth agape as the true nature of the attack became clear. Then, Han Sukang's elemental sword, blazing with intense heat, slashed down, engulfing the chieftain in a searing explosion of power. The fiery energy expanded rapidly, consuming everything in its path. From a safe distance, Malong watched the devastating display, uttering a surprised sound as the power flared. The elemental force continued its work, reducing the chieftain's form to nothing but raw energy. His body disintegrated into glowing fragments, a testament to the overwhelming power unleashed. Finally, the elemental energy dissipated, leaving only shimmering particles where the orc chieftain had stood. A large, green-skinned chief lies prone, seemingly incapacitated, as Lenouvel approaches cautiously, a soft, questioning sound escaping her lips. Suddenly, a monstrous, dark-skinned entity with glowing red eyes lets out a guttural roar. Lenouvel recoils in shock, her voice catching in her throat as the towering creature looms over them. The monstrous entity then brutally stomps down on the fallen chief, its heavy blows echoing through the cavern. Han Sukong watches the unfolding chaos, muttering to himself about the crazy stone golems and how he failed to notice the immense magical energy emanating from the chief's location. He expresses frustration, wishing he could have handled the situation more discreetly. Nearby, Lenouvel lies unconscious, her body limp on the ground, a faint, pained groan escaping her lips. A system window appears, revealing her name as Lenouvel, an elf, level 1, with her HP and MP depleted, suffering from mental breakdown and unconsciousness. Han Sukong stares at the information, questioning why a level 1 elf would be found in such a dangerous place. As the system reveals Lenouvel's true nature, a vision of her past self, an elegant elf from the black market, flickers into existence. A voice echoes, lamenting a case unsolved in a previous round, but another dismisses it, declaring their disinterest in the story, urging them to be a dart. Han Sukong, startled by the sudden revelation, lets out a sharp gasp. Taking in Lenouvel's current, helpless state, he feels a surge of renewed anger, realizing she would have perished meaninglessly. His gaze then falls upon the gravely injured orc chieftain, lying prone with Malong nearby, a silent command to be a dart echoing in his mind. From the shadows, a monstrous, towering figure with glowing red eyes begins to emerge. Han Sukang's expression hardens, a stark contrast to the impression of the heroes from his first round. The shadowy entity advances with an ominous woo-woo sound, its presence a clear and immediate threat to the fallen chieftain and Malong. Its massive, clawed hand extends, the sound of its approach echoing with a rhythmic da-da-da-da. From the oppressive darkness, the shadowy monster lunges forward, its form coalescing to reveal razor-sharp teeth and eyes that burn with an infernal red glow, letting out a guttural sound. But before it can fully engage, a brilliant blue blade pierces its back with a sickening crunch, eliciting a pained shriek from the creature. Despite the wound, the monster twists around, its red eyes now fixed on its attacker, a chilling grin spreading across its sharp-toothed maw as it declares, "Peekaboo, give me your experience too, you punk." A monstrous orc-like creature tumbles through the air, letting out a guttural cry as it falls. Meanwhile, Han Su Kong, blade flashing, continues his relentless assault against a horde of similar monstrous figures. Standing atop a desolate peak under the glow of a full moon, he reflects on the immense experience gained from defeating 1,000 orcs, which has caused him to level up an astonishing 157 times, his race now arch-human, and his level soaring past 13, with a staggering 150 million experience points accumulated, causing his power to surge wildly. He had initially planned to eliminate them one by one, quietly. But now, facing the remaining monstrous threats, he reconsiders his approach. With a determined glint in his eyes and his sword glowing, he decides it's a waste of time to hold back. Raising his weapon, he issues a direct challenge. "Come at me at once." As the challenge hangs in the air, the orc chieftain looms forward, its massive form casting a menacing shadow, ready to meet the defiance. A guttural roar erupts from its maw, a primal sound echoing its intent to crush the upstart. But before the sound can fully dissipate, Han Su Kong appears in a flash of crimson, a confident he, escaping his lips as a powerful red aura flares around him. He moves with impossible speed, a trail of afterimages marking his path, his laughter growing more intense as he closes the distance. Then, with a deafening impact, his attack slams into the chieftain, sending shockwaves of red energy through the air. Han Su Kong becomes a shadowy, red-tinged whirlwind, delivering a relentless barrage of blows that overwhelm the massive orc. The orc chieftain lets out a pained, drawn-out shriek, its face contorted in agony as the attacks land. Pulling back from the devastating assault, Han Su Kang's face is illuminated by his own power, a triumphant hee-hee, escaping his lips. Floating through a dark, star-dusted void, a grotesque, gray, blob-like monster with a wide, toothy maw drifts aimlessly. Suddenly, a figure streaks through the same space, surrounded by a vibrant green aura, moving with incredible speed past other similar creatures. One of the monsters lets out a guttural sound, a low goo escaping its fanged mouth as the hero passes. He finds himself on a circular platform, facing 3 hulking, orc-like figures, and a thought crosses his mind. He feels as if he has returned to the very first round of challenges, as the average level of these enemies seems only a tenth of what he has faced before. With a heavy, resonant sound echoing around him, he looks up, a determined glint in his eyes, ready to unleash his power. Then, with a surge of power, a golden energy blast erupts from his position, streaking forward with immense force. The blast impacts its target with blinding force, and detonates in a colossal explosion, engulfing the area in a fiery, destructive wave. He considers the efficiency of his training, realizing that if he repeats any action for just 1 hour, it would be equivalent to 5 hours of work. A satisfied chuckle escapes him, as a faint red aura begins to emanate from his form. He continues to effortlessly shatter the stable, shadowy figures with bursts of blue energy, confident that no matter how many he faces, he can recover instantly using Malong's skills. Surrounded by a vibrant blue glow, he realizes he's not just surviving these encounters, but rapidly increasing his shield skills, with his endurance, avoiding, and immunity stats all soaring to a rank. Suddenly, a desperate cry echoes through the void, a plea for help reaching him from afar. Elsewhere, Lenouvel struggles against a swarm of shadowy monsters, her mana depleted, while Malong cowers beside her, both overwhelmed and unable to hold on any longer. The urgent cry repeats, fueling his resolve, as he grips his glowing sword, his expression hardening with fierce determination as he faces the encroaching horde. The orc chieftain, a hulking red brute, bellows a guttural war cry, savagely attacking the vulnerable Lenouvel and the surrounding shadowy figures. Having arrived at the scene, Han Su Kong stands before Malong, who observes the lingering energy of their recent foes, remarking on their unexpected strength. Indeed, the monstrous, shadowy figures had fallen from above, their forms dissipating into the dark abyss. Nearby, a small, green-skinned creature, one of the rescued, bows its head in profound gratitude, offering a heartfelt thank you to the hero who saved them. As the creature continues its praise, calling him Hero Nim, Han Su Kong looks up, a thoughtful expression on his face, his mind drifting to a different title, Porter. Another voice questions how he could claim such a humble name as Thief, but he quickly corrects them, asserting that it was his own command, not a reflection of his true nature. The green creature, still overwhelmed with emotion, marvels at his generosity, confessing it never imagined he possessed such a big heart. For today, he had saved them from their endless cycle of slavery, and from that moment on, their lives belonged to him. Han Su Kong remained silent, absorbing the weight of their words, his gaze still fixed upwards in quiet contemplation. Meanwhile, Lenouvel rests, Malong perched on her head, lamenting that he got me, while a deeper thought emerges, the unexpected utility of his words. He stands firm, his thoughts echoing a defiant declaration. I am not a mere porter, I am a hero. Yet, a more practical desire stirs within him, a longing to delve into another dungeon. A concerned voice breaks his reverie, asking if their hero is truly all right. One of the green-skinned creatures, a leader among them, offers a solution, suggesting that if they are returned to the village, their hero could finally rest. He acknowledges their exhaustion, knowing that while he wishes to eliminate the remaining orcs deep in the forest, their current state would render their help ineffective. The green-skinned leader, Nagus, insists on serving him, asking how he could possibly miss such a perfect opportunity, and instructs him to seek him out upon reaching the village. Nagus then passionately declares that they must learn to fight, as their village has been attacked by orcs, affirming his resolve with a resounding yes. Later, in a moment of quiet contemplation, Malong's voice echoes in his mind, reminding him of his earlier words. You said that your words didn't have notice, didn't you? A faint smile touches his lips as Malong's voice continues, announcing his arrival. My admirable hero Nim, you have arrived. Malong optimistically states that there are no problems so far, but he quickly corrects him, revealing, no, unfortunately there is. As his thoughts drift, a memory surfaces, a blonde woman's voice echoing in his mind, questioning his past actions. Haven't you taken away the poor elf's life, without hesitation? The vision shifts, showing her falling through a dark void, her words continuing. So long as there is hope. They say life is a journey towards death. Her face, now in sharp focus, delivers a powerful counterargument, but it doesn't mean giving up so easily. You are mistaken. Back in the present, Malong's voice cuts through his introspection, a blunt assessment of his character. I cannot believe that you are not the hero of this world. The difference between you and the hero is like the difference between heaven and earth. The small creature continues, offering a path forward. I don't know why you're so stubborn about it. If you don't ask for happiness, you'll never get it. Obtain your happiness. The thought lingers, a quiet suggestion, that he might discover a happiness he never knew existed. Han Su Kong listens, a look of contemplation on his face, the words resonating deeply within him. He considers the concept of forging new bonds. A wry thought crosses his mind. That's hard. Still pondering his path to happiness, he decides to put off deeper thoughts until after he's eaten. Deep within a cavern, glowing with an ethereal blue light, a massive dragon slumbers. Meanwhile, Han Su Kong, his glowing sword at the ready, believes that finding true happiness is within his grasp. The enormous, scaly beast continues its deep slumber, its heavy breathing echoing through the dark. Suddenly, a single, massive eye snaps open, glowing with an ominous red light. Unaware of the awakening, Han Su Kong declares that he has found his destination. He stands ready, his glowing blade poised, as the colossal dragon stirs, its shadowy form crackling with energy. This was the very den where the young dragon once resided. And as he stepped further inside, Han Su Kong found himself in a vast, echoing chamber. His gaze swept across the immense space, a tiny figure against the cavern's overwhelming scale. Then, from the deepest shadows, a colossal, shadowy form began to coalesce, its presence crackling with raw, untamed power. Glowing purple eyes pierced the darkness, revealing the terrifying visage of a true chaos dragon. This king-ranked legend possessed skills of devastating power, including its breath, roar, and scales, a creature of immense, ancient might. However, despite the overwhelming display of power, Han Su Kang's resolve remained unshaken. The owner of this den had not changed yet. Han Su Kong plummets through the air, a rush of wind accompanying his descent. His mind races, recalling the torment of his first life, a madness he attributes to the entity before him, and a grunt of pain escapes him. Below, the monstrous shadowy figure lets out a guttural roar, its form wreathed in a malevolent red aura. Han Su Kong lands with a heavy impact, the ground cracking beneath him as he faces the terrifying creature. He acknowledges the logical truth of his situation, yet his instincts betray him, making him forget the danger, and he curses, shit. His expression hardens, a fierce resolve burning in his eyes. Dark, swirling energy begins to coalesce around him, crackling with raw power. The shadowy monster screams, its maw wide open, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. A powerful silhouette stands ready, a sword held high, emanating a vibrant purple glow. A concerned voice breaks through the silence, asking if the hero is all right. In a memory, a muscular figure named Alex urges his small, blob-like companion to finish a quest or training. As the hero lies injured on the ground, unable to stand due to his wounds and depleted mana, while another figure searches for healers, finding no one. His eyes widen in distress, realizing that 4 days after his death in his first life, he couldn't even recall what he did during that quest and training, leaving him with 3 days of amnesia. Sitting up, his small companion beside him, he laments his lack of knowledge about what happened during that lost period of time. It was during that time he encountered a black dragon, the terrifying entity known as the ghost dragon Nagus. He recalls the ranking system, a structure said to be one of the 5 great disasters. Yet, according to the natives of Fantasia, it is indeed one of those 5 great calamities. He wasn't the one fighting the orc chieftain at the time, though. It had been a long time since he left that place. So he had only heard terrible rumors about the true nature of these disasters. A low growl rumbles from the massive ghost dragon, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Han Su Kang's gaze shifts, a flicker of recognition or dread crossing his features as the creature's immense form looms. The dragon's maw opens, revealing a chilling thought. Plans. As he plunges into the dark abyss, a desperate voice echoes in his mind, urging him to fall back from the sight. He recalls the system's grim assessment of his past life, how the young one took over after his death, and the impossible challenge ahead, knowing he's about to die, facing a monster he's never even experienced. His descent continues, the darkness rushing past him, a relentless fall into the unknown. Suddenly, his eyes snap open, a gasp escaping him as he sees something emerge from the depths below. A monstrous, shadowy form with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth lunges forward, its roar echoing through the void. Before he can react, the creature's massive, shadowy hand seizes him, his desperate plea to be released lost in the crushing grip. He struggles against the overwhelming force, the monster's words about the owner of this place chilling him to the bone. It wouldn't understand, even if one tried to explain it. Dragons simply lack interpretation skills, and their species inherently possesses violent tendencies. In this world, possessing a multitude of SS-rank skills signifies that one has lived many lives to accumulate such experience. If a dragon, like the one a small creature might encounter on a forest path, possesses a hot temper, it would never release an intruder. A surge of raw power erupts. As the shadowy monster lets out a deafening roar, its maw wide open, spewing forth purple energy. The guttural sound echoes, a menacing growl following its initial cry. As the towering entity asserts its dominance. As the terrifying roar echoes, the shadowy monster fully reveals its form, its massive, dark wings spreading wide. Its imposing silhouette dominates the space, a clear declaration of its formidable power. Watching the unfolding horror, Han Su Kang can only question the impossible. Did it give up? There's no way. But the monster has not given up. It unleashes a torrent of raw, purple energy from its maw, blasting upwards with a deafening roar. The overwhelming force of the attack immediately engulfs Han Su Kang, trapping him within its destructive aura. The massive wave of purple energy continues to expand, consuming everything in its path. It stretches endlessly upwards, a pillar of pure, destructive power. Completely engulfed by the raging energy, Han Su Kang's body contorts under the immense pressure. As the attack subsides, debris rains down from above, a stark testament to the monster's devastating power. As the monster's devastating attack continued to spread, a small, blob-like creature reacted with a startled splash. While nearby, a young woman and the creature looked up in wide-eyed shock at the unfolding chaos. The shadowy monster, its form still partially obscured by distance, loomed menacingly. Its purple energy attack continued to tear through the environment, causing trees and ground alike to crumble into dust. The small creature could only curse at the sight, realizing that a direct hit would have meant instant death. Meanwhile, within his own consciousness, Han Su Kang's system displayed options for physical customizing and recovery management, a shadowy representation of himself standing amidst the prompts. He focused on his body, activating a surge of blood flow, lymphatic system function, and platelet production, accelerating cell regeneration and blocking the searing pain with endorphin control. Thanks to Ma Long's healing, his mind was clear, and with renewed determination, he knew he could continue the fight. He stares at the monstrous entity, its form a swirling vortex of shadow and malice, as a voice echoes the grim reality. This is the breath of a demon, a dragon. It's an impossible monster. A wry smile touches his lips, as he acknowledges the situation with a quiet, "I'm unlucky." The monster's destructive aura spreads across the land, a chilling thought forming in his mind. These creatures aren't a big deal, but I can't let the monster Ma Long is guarding be harmed. The shadowy beast snarls, its voice a guttural rumble, demanding, "Hey, you old fat lizard, are you blind? These humans are terrible." Han Su Kang moves with sudden resolve, his thoughts firm. You can only feel the pain of others, but you can't understand it. You're just a monster who only knows how to destroy and kill. He knows the monster's nature, understanding that since it doesn't have any interpretation skills, it won't understand what I'm saying. But, he muses, it'll get on the nerves of that killer. The shadowy monster unleashes a torrent of raw, purple energy, a destructive force erupting from its maw. The blast impacts the ground with a deafening roar, sending shockwaves across the desolate landscape. The air shatters with a deafening roar as the shadowy monster unleashes another devastating wave of purple energy, tearing through the landscape. Yet, he remains just out of reach, a smirk playing on his lips as he taunts the enraged entity. Kaya! The hero continues his agile evasion, feigning a surprised oopsie, as the destructive blast narrowly misses him, impacting the ground behind. He knows that as long as the poison doesn't strike his head, he can synthesize an antibody, even using the toxic energy for skin regeneration. A faint purple glow emanates from his arm as he successfully processes the venom, a triumphant he, escaping him. He reflects on his success in luring the creature away from Master Ma Long's house, but the chase continues. The relentless pursuit wears on him, and he shouts in frustration, "How long do I have to keep this up?" The shadowy entity responds with another furious burst of power, its guttural cries of "Ku, Cuckoo," echoing its confusion and rage. Still, he presses on, urging the monster forward with a determined move. A small, pink creature lets out a terrified cry as a monstrous claw descends, threatening to crush it. The attack erupts in a blinding flash, a violent burst of purple energy tearing through the air. Yet, from above the chaos, a voice rings out with a chilling laugh, mocking the very notion of danger. Idiots! A hand, glowing with a faint blue aura, gestures dismissively, as he declares, "You shouldn't have been in the way." He utters these words with a surge of adrenaline and dopamine coursing through his veins. His dark eyes now glow with an eerie purple light, a wide, almost manic grin spreading across his face. He sees not a threat, but an opportunity, declaring his intention to turn this crisis into a strategic advantage. A purple, ethereal mist begins to coalesce from the barren ground, rapidly swirling and growing in intensity. As a small, terrified figure flees its ominous presence, the orc chieftain, his tusks prominent, looks up in shock. As the shadowy entity fully manifests, a towering, red-eyed terror looming over a horde of cowering orcs. His expression is one of pure dread. Elsewhere, Han Su-kong plunges downward, a desperate cry escaping his lips as he falls into an unknown abyss. Deep within the abyss, a pair of green-skinned figures look up in surprise, their guttural sounds echoing through the darkness. As he descends, a wide, almost manic grin spreads across his face, a chilling laugh escaping his lips. A system message flashes, confirming his objective. The void around him swirls with dark energy, a small, bird-like silhouette briefly visible in the depths. He lands with a heavy impact, shirtless and bruised, kneeling amidst a cluster of startled orcs. Without a moment's hesitation, he rises and crushes one beneath his foot, his maniacal laughter echoing once more. Another orc recoils in shock and pain, a powerful, unseen force sending it reeling. The air crackles with vibrant purple energy, a testament to the sheer power unleashed. Han Su-kang's power surges, a maelstrom of jagged purple energy erupting from him, spreading outward with a faint hiss, cracking the very ground beneath his feet as a thick, noxious purple smoke billows into the air. The force of the impact causes a bandaged, green-skinned hand to tremble violently, engulfed in the malevolent purple glow. An orc chieftain, a hulking figure with red skin and formidable horns, recoils in shock and pain, its guttural cry of surprise echoing through the abyss as the energy washes over it. Standing amidst the swirling purple haze, Han Su-kang's foot presses down on the ravaged ground, a chilling, maniacal laugh escaping his lips. The narration confirms the devastating power at play, declaring that the Ghost Dragon King was indeed prepared for this encounter. Han Su-kang, shirtless and radiating raw power, raises his arms, the purple energy coiling around him like a living entity, his body a conduit for immense destructive force. With a predatory grin, he vows to savor this meal. The orc chieftain's face, contorted in terror and agony, is consumed entirely by the swirling, malevolent purple energy. In this treacherous abyss, a fundamental rule dictates that whatever damage is inflicted is met with a thunderous explosion of purple and red energy, and the experience for that damage is received by whoever deals the last strike. A sly smirk plays on Han Su-kang's lips as he considers his next move. His plan is simple yet cunning. By skillfully avoiding the dragon's breath attack, everything around it will be poisoned by his SS poison skill, suffering in its stead. Thus, with the chaos unfolding around the massive creature, he ensures he deals the last strike, claiming all the experience for himself. He watches as small, shadowy figures succumb to the spreading poison, a chilling sound echoing through the abyss. The colossal shadowy dragon, its form writhing, continues its destructive rampage, unaware of the manipulation. But as the full extent of the devastation becomes clear, a flicker of surprise crosses his face, a quiet admission that even he hadn't intended such a widespread outcome. A voice confidently declares their ability to form a formidable team, as a colossal purple dragon's breath attack erupts with devastating force, its vibrant energy expanding rapidly and tearing through the landscape. The destructive power continues its vertical descent, culminating in a violent impact that shakes the very ground. A distant, resonant ringing echoes through the air, carrying over the rooftops of a medieval town, as a large bell tolls loudly, signaling an urgent alarm. Inside, Han Su-kang exclaims in disbelief that it's a dragon's breath attack, while Lanuvel cries out in terror, realizing the short dragon King Moose has appeared. As the monstrous dragon's presence looms, desperate cries echo through the air, urging everyone to quickly evacuate or face certain doom, while others frantically search for a safe haven from the Ghost Dragon King. Amidst the growing terror, a single, urgent question cuts through the din, demanding to know the whereabouts of the dragon hunter. The sky above the ancient structures darkens to an ominous purple, a chilling prelude to the destruction about to unfold. Below, two small figures, Han Su-kang and Lanuvel, flee through the streets, as the colossal form of Petinar, the short dragon King Moose, begins to descend from the darkened heavens. The dragon's massive head fills the view, its crimson eyes glowing with malevolent power, a guttural roar escaping its fanged maw as purple energy begins to gather. Its full, terrifying form is revealed, a creature of shadow and raw magical force, its body crackling with the same destructive purple aura. Then, with an explosive burst, the dragon unleashes a devastating torrent of purple energy, engulfing everything in its path. Han Su Kong and Lenouvel are caught directly in the blast, their bodies recoiling violently from the sheer force of the attack, a desperate cry escaping Lenouvel's lips. The purple energy washes over Han Su Kong, his face contorted in a silent scream of agony as the destructive power consumes him. As the purple breath attack engulfs him, Han Su Kong finds himself caught by a monstrous, clawed hand, the impact echoing with a terrifying shriek. Yet, even in this dire moment, he resolves to push his adrenaline to its absolute limit. He sprints through the smoke-filled forest, his mind singularly focused on not losing any precious experience. Ahead, a towering cyclops, a level 693 man-eating species, emerges from the swirling purple haze. Without hesitation, he delivers a swift, powerful blow to the monster. Another creature, a serpentine beast, lunges, only to be met with a similar, decisive strike. He races past a fallen minotaur, reflecting that after a taste of his poison, even these high-level monsters lie on the ground like trash. His status updates, revealing him as an arch-human, with skills in endurance, speed, and 5 senses, his current state described as growing, excited, mad. But the path ahead holds a new, terrifying challenge, as a massive, shadowy dragon-like entity with glowing red eyes roars, CHLO. He recalls a time when he moved with such speed and precision, a true pioneer in his fighting style. And alongside his loyal companion, they formed an unstoppable duo. Together, they journeyed across the vast Phantasa continent, day and night, with no one capable of standing in their way, whether facing fearsome demons, monsters lurking in the deepest forests, or even entire armies of soldiers and knights. All those useless obstacles were simply swept away, like dust before a powerful vacuum cleaner, leaving him with a feeling that was so incredibly refreshing. Having pushed his repetition skill almost to its limit, and knowing he needed more experience from powerful demons, and even the Demon King himself, Han Su Kong stood ready, his sword drawn, the desolate landscape stretching behind him. He turned, a silent challenge in his posture, his gaze fixed on an unseen threat. Every muscle coiled, every fiber prepared, he awaited the inevitable clash. From the shadows, a monstrous claw emerged, herald of a terrifying foe. The Chaos Dragon Ghost Dragon King Nebius let out a deafening roar, its massive, shadowy form materializing fully, wreathed in dark energy. But the battle was swift and decisive, leaving the colossal beast defeated, its body sprawled across the cracked earth. It was the Chaos Dragon Ghost Dragon King Nebius, now just a memory of a threat. A small, satisfied smile played on his lips, another challenge overcome, another step closer to his ultimate goal. From the darkness, the defeated Chaos Dragon Ghost Dragon King Nebius utters a final, cryptic address, its glowing red eyes fixed on an unseen presence as it whispers, "My friend." A vast, formless shadow, swirling with dark purple energy, begins to coalesce, its ominous presence filling the space. Its ethereal mass continues to expand, hinting at an unimaginable scale. Han Su Kong stares up, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and disbelief, as the sheer power of the entity washes over him. A deep, resonant sound echoes through the air, a guttural roar from the emerging horror. From the swirling darkness, a monstrous face emerges, its glowing red eyes burning with malevolent intent, a terrifying visage of pure chaos. This formidable dragon, with its ancient scales and piercing gaze, was the very being that had pursued him relentlessly, even as it became decrepit and rotten with age. It had to be this powerful, this creature who once led the 5 disasters of Fantasia. Later, sitting with Ma Long, the small creature chirps, "We haven't been together long, but it was fun. I leveled up more." Han Su Kong reflects on the words of Professor Morals, acknowledging that a new bond is valuable. But the problem is, this new development will undoubtedly take a toll on his reputation. As he stands before the colossal Chaos Dragon King Nebius, its shadowy form looms over the desolate landscape, a terrifying presence. Purple energy crackles and swirls around its massive body, emitting an ominous, guttural sound. Its skeletal head, wreathed in dark mist, turns slowly, revealing glowing red eyes that pierce the gloom. The sheer scale of the beast is overwhelming, its form a swirling vortex of dark power. Against the ominous, star-dusted sky, its silhouette is a monument to destruction. The dragon's head, still wreathed in purple energy, continues to emanate a chilling, resonant sound. A swirling vortex of purple and pink energy dissipates, leaving behind a lingering sense of unease. Many whispers still circulate about the defeat of the Demon King, Pedinar, and half of the Middle Continent remains in a state of fear, making it uninhabitable. Han Su Kong recalls a past encounter, thinking, Pedinar, indeed, the Demon King. Without moving a muscle, he put humanity into fear. A woman with dark, wavy hair looks at him with a mixture of awe and apprehension, remarking, "Such a scary student. You are a scary student." He responds with a dismissive gesture, while the woman, Professor Muriel, continues, "Since this crisis lasted so long, I couldn't interfere. I waited for the battle to end." The narrative shifts to a darker tone, as a shadowy, draconic form begins to coalesce, and in the end, the piece ended. The immense, glowing form of the Chaos Dragon King Nebius fills the space, its presence radiating raw power. The shadowy entity looms, its form stretching upwards, as a voice questions, "What do you mean by end? It's too early to give up." The focus shifts to a map, highlighting a specific region, revealing, this is the northwestern continent of Fantasia. The middle of the continent, scarred and half destroyed by the Demon King's rampage, stretches across the map, while other lands are already under a dark influence. In a memory, a younger Han Su-Kong stands shirtless beside Lenouvel, who points to a map, her voice filled with hope. "See, there's still hope in my research, right?" she asks, but he dismisses her. "You, too, are a virtual idol, a hopeless." He muses that even a famous horse shouldn't stray from its trail, a thought echoing his own past choices. He cannot deny the information he gained from his first life. He recalls expecting to encounter a young dragon, only to find an ancient, dying one instead, a faint purple aura surrounding him. Thanks to that, he no longer worries about his character, having gained achievements at the cost of his reputation. Suddenly, the Chaos Dragon King Nebius emerges, a monstrous, shadowy form, yet something of him still remains. Its glowing red eye fixes on an unseen presence, a voice echoing, "You know too, right?" He remembers the Dragon King, a creature that shouldn't have survived among humans, fighting until its last breath. The memory shifts, revealing the immense, organic form of the beast. Its dark, scaled body stretches endlessly, a testament to its ancient power. Towering over him, the Ghost Dragon King Nebius reveals its full, terrifying presence, its eyes burning with a malevolent red glow. The ancient beast's voice echoes, mocking his perceived weakness, reminding him that he lacks even the strength to lift his head. But the young hero stands firm, a glowing staff materializing in his hand, a symbol of his own formidable will. A confident smirk plays on his lips as a radiant sword appears, declaring his enjoyment of the confrontation with the Ghost Dragon King, Nebius. The Dragon King's glowing red eyes narrow, a flicker of something ancient and calculating within their depths. Nebius then speaks of Endymion, hinting at a shared history and the true nature of elemental power. As the colossal Ghost Dragon King Nebius looms, its glowing blue eyes fixed on him, a younger Han Su-Kong stands firm, his own glowing blue sword ready to tear through the monstrous form. It was a foe of immense power, one that would not be easily defeated, and this entire, devastating confrontation was only possible because of a deeper, hidden truth. With a fierce cry, he plunges his blade downward, demanding the monstrous entity retreat. This was the Ghost Dragon King Nebius, a battle that had torn half the continent asunder, its immense form trembling with destructive energy. Suddenly, the memory shatters, and Han Su-Kong jolts awake, a bewildered "huh" escaping his lips. His eyes fall upon a strange, purple organic mass nearby, emitting soft, thudding sounds. Reaching out a hand, he observes the glowing purple veins pulsing within the alien growth. The mass begins to expand rapidly, spreading outwards with a soft, bursting sound. It continues to grow, forming sharp, thorny structures, its purple energy intensifying as it takes on a more menacing shape. As the mysterious purple mass continues to expand, a dark, swirling energy emanates from its core, filling the space with an ominous presence. This growing entity, identified as the spirit of the Ghost Dragon King Nebius, unleashes a flood of poison, its power palpable and suffocating. The malevolent energy seems to laugh, a silent, chilling cackle echoing through the air as it spreads. Overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the Ghost Dragon King Nebius's life and enormous power now manifesting before him, Han Su-Kong feels a profound chill, far deeper than any he has ever experienced. As the system displays a strange, mosaicked window detailing Madness SS and Muscle Strength S, he can only stare at the ever-growing purple mass, questioning its very nature. Professor Sylvia and Lenouvel arrive on the scene, their expressions mirroring his shock as Sylvia murmurs in disbelief, and Lenouvel declares the situation impossible. A new system message appears before Han Su-Kong, declaring that a hero candidate handles the impossible, to which he responds with a wry, "Oh, really?" He is confronted with the system's stark declaration. The amorphous purple mass is the spirit and poison of the Chaos Dragon King Nebius, its very nature an impossible challenge, not a monster to be cured by mere mana. He questions the system, wondering how a student like him could possibly know such profound information. As the glowing purple mass pulses, the system reveals a deeper truth. A dragon once sought a young hero to gain experience. He grapples with the implications, realizing the Ghost Dragon King Nebius was the very soul of the Dragon King. And he, by sheer chance, captured it. As his hand glows with an ethereal light, a voice cuts through his thoughts, calling out to him, urging him to wait. Sylvia and Lenouvel have arrived, and the professor demands to know what he is doing, to which he can only stammer a vague response, indicating the obvious. He asserts that he did it himself, then shifts his focus, believing Professor Morales deserves an answer to his question. The system continues its cryptic explanation, stating that this is the world's law, a rule that the Dragon King follows after capturing the Ghost Dragon King. The shadowy form of the Chaos Dragon King Nebius appears, its glowing purple eyes fixed on an unseen point, suggesting that using the ghost dragon's tears might offer a crucial clue, yet it cryptically states it cannot reveal more. Meanwhile, Han Su-kong, cloaked in red, reflects on the unprecedented nature of these events, musing about following a path without knowing the destination. Elsewhere, Sylvia, with a thoughtful expression, questions if research wouldn't be a more prudent approach, while Lanuvel, determined, vows to uncover the methods used. The shadowy entity reappears, its purple aura flaring, issuing a direct command to wait. A small, glowing purple heart-shaped object materializes, prompting a dismissive scoff, followed by an internal debate about whether to open it, despite the system's warning against knowing. The narrative shifts to a carved wooden chest, glowing with an inner light, revealing the lore that Pandora's box exists precisely because it is destined to be opened. Han Su-kang's hand reaches out towards the glowing purple object, rationalizing that if it truly shouldn't be opened, it wouldn't have appeared to him, and that the system's implication of a teacher's involvement absolves him of wrongdoing. Light streams from the opened chest, as the primal instinct to expose forbidden knowledge is identified as the very force that propelled humanity towards progress and civilization. The shadowy Chaos Dragon King Nebius reappears, its eyes glowing with malevolent purple energy, a wide, menacing grin spreading across its face as it declares, "Now, let's." A system message or an internal thought processes the concept of efficiency. Repeating any action for 1 hour would yield the same results as 5 hours of work. A pulsating, dark purple heart, radiating an ominous glow, rests in Han Su-kang's hand. This is no ordinary organ. It is the dragon heart, said to be as vast as a human head, containing the very life essence of the ghost dragon King Nebius and entire mountain ranges within its depths. A chilling realization dawns on him. This is a terrible thing to possess, a dangerous power to wield. Despite the ominous warnings, Han Su-kang takes a bite, the taste a sickening blend of raw liver jelly and something indescribable. As the heart's essence enters his body, a searing pain erupts, his eye glowing with an intense, crackling purple energy. The power surges, expanding outwards from him, a deep, resonant thrum echoing through the air. The purple energy intensifies, forming a star-like pattern, the thrumming growing louder, more insistent. From the depths of this surging power, a monstrous maw emerges, its shadowy form and razor-sharp teeth hinting at the terrifying entity now stirring within. A guttural scream tears from Han Su-kang's throat, his body racked with an agonizing transformation as raw, purple energy erupts around him. His face contorts in pure agony, eyes glowing with the same malevolent purple light that pours from his open mouth. The essence of the ghost dragon King Nebius, the Chaos Dragon, begins to coalesce, forming a monstrous, shadowy maw of pure energy. The ability of the Chaos Dragon, now contained within him, feels as though it is squirming and fighting for dominance inside his very body. His arm glows with an intense purple light, veins bulging as the chaotic energy surges through him. The transformation continues, his bare torso now covered in the same vibrant purple energy, a sensation of his body blending into a chaotic mess overwhelming his senses. He realizes that if he can subdue this Chaos Dragon and make its power his own, he will become stronger and faster than any monster, finding a desperate pleasure in the very process of this terrifying evolution. As the intense magical transformation continued to rack his body, a prolonged yawn escaped him, a surprising reaction to the overwhelming power. Enveloped in swirling purple energy, he felt a strange perplexity, as if a partial anesthesia had taken hold. The realization dawned on him that the sensation was due to an increased endorphin shot, a natural response to the immense power coursing through his veins. Despite the gravity of the situation, with the shadowy maw of the Chaos Dragon still looming, he found himself utterly bored, wondering when the arduous process would finally conclude. His gaze, still reflecting a profound lack of interest, remained fixed on the swirling energies, patiently awaiting the transformation's end. Then, with a sudden whoosh, the chaotic energies dissipated, leaving behind a serene, clear blue. He found himself standing in an open field, bathed in sunlight, looking around with a tentative question. Was it truly finished? Reaching out a hand, a faint crackle of energy sparking from his fingertips, he resolved to test his mysterious new skills, which seemed to manifest as an enhanced sense of muscle and strength. As the system processes his transformation, a new skill manifests, displaying itself as a powerful muscle ability, ranked as S. This new mark on his status window signifies the skill's activation. He dismisses the generic name, focusing instead on the power it represents, and considers opening his full skill ability tab. Within the skill's details, a peculiar phrase catches his eye. Does not forget. He wonders about its meaning. The implication of never forgetting something is unsettling, making him question if it's a bug in the system. Despite the oddity, he feels a surge of power, stretching his newly enhanced body with a satisfied grin, acknowledging the undeniable strength now coursing through him. Meanwhile, a masked figure in a dark, foreboding chamber speaks of a grander scheme, one that will cause even the most revered teachers to panic and retreat. The thought of such chaos brings a chilling satisfaction, a feeling that resonates with a deep, blue energy. This grateful feeling, this ambition, will be treasured as they prepare to return to the place where the Great One resides. Back at the chief's house, a relieved voice calls out, "Hero-nim." Two figures, one with pink hair and another with purple, look on with concern, asking if he was late, and admitting they thought something had gone wrong. Han Su-kong, cloaked in red, responds with a weary, "Yeah," as one of them observes his exhausted state. Turning to a table laden with food, he questions the feast, hoping they hadn't troubled the chief's house where Master Malong resides. The table overflows with rewards, explaining that the elf undertaker brought them, sent by Prince Nasus. Nearby, a small, green, blob-like creature, Master Malong, contentedly holds a piece of bread. Han Su-kong, still looking annoyed, mumbles about them eating with his money. But a wide smile spreads across his face, red particles glowing around him, as he declares that since Master Malong is happy, he won't say anything to the scumbags. The others express their relief, having been worried without news for a week, and ask what he had been doing. Lenouvel looks up, startled, as Han Su-kong questions her, wondering why his companion seems so unaware of his recent activities. She retorts, asking what he means, while he clarifies that the hero-nim didn't follow his schedule. Lenouvel, exasperated, asks how they could possibly know, as Han Su-kong explains that they simply had to keep the story going, even if it meant making things up. A monstrous, shadowy entity with glowing red eyes appears, a visual representation of the disaster they are describing, a cataclysm so immense it made them believe the world was ending. Purple energy crackles around the shadowy form, as Lenouvel continues, explaining that they assumed he had died because they hadn't heard from him, leaving him utterly bewildered. Lenouvel, looking distressed and holding a drink, wonders aloud if he truly doesn't understand the stress she endured. Sylvia, equally concerned, adds that news even reached them from the continent about his fight with the dragon, but the reports indicated that he didn't make it, and only a portion of the continent remained habitable. The shadowy monster's gaping maw fills the frame, as the conversation shifts to the sheer scale of the disaster that occurred before the Demon King's invasion, prompting a sudden realization. Han Su-kang's expression turns serious as he ponders the implications for humanity. He recalls the terrifying accounts of his companions, how the world itself seemed to be ending, with the professor and Lenouvel witnessing the monstrous entity that left no survivors. Even if there were people who witnessed the situation, they would have seen the Chaos Dragon as nothing more than a small, distant, and even if they had seen him, there weren't many who knew the true face of the first summoned hero. Due to the disaster and chaos, the person who was black too, because he made a mistake and couldn't turn himself in, had given up halfway, a while ago. He had thought his reputation score would be ruined, but there was still hope. No survivors meant no witnesses, which in turn meant no ruined reputation, a reputation score that hadn't been ruined after all. Despite the recent chaos, there remains a chance to boost his reputation and achievement scores. He thinks, as he addresses Lenouvel and Sylvia, telling them not to be surprised by what he's about to say. He claims to have single-handedly defeated the Ghost Dragon King Nebius. A confident smile spreads across his face, a faint blue aura emanating from his form, as he basks in the imagined glory of his fabricated tale. Lenouvel and Sylvia stare back, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief, uttering a stunned, "What?" When asked if the hero truly defeated Nebius, he simply confirms it, internally admitting that he spun a convincing story for his companions about how he achieved the feat. With a dramatic flourish, he gestures with his hand, proclaiming that the Ghost Dragon King met its end by his very hands. However, a flash of terror crosses his face as the true memory surfaces. The Ghost Dragon King had merely been sleeping peacefully in its nest. The part where it woke up because of him and went wild would be conveniently omitted from his heroic tale, for if they knew that detail, it would surely ruin his carefully crafted reputation. Lenouvel and Sylvia listen intently, their expressions a mix of awe and curiosity as the story unfolds. He recounts a scene of a grand house, a dragon, and the awestruck declaration of onlookers, who proclaimed him a hero for his supposed deeds. With a feigned humble sigh, Han Su-kong responds, I thought you wouldn't believe it." Lenouvel and Sylvia, however, are completely convinced, assuring him of their belief and recalling his extraordinary presence at the auction house. Internally, Han Su-kong celebrates his successful deception, knowing that while these two might believe him, no one else would ever accept the truth, that he was the one who awakened the Ghost Dragon King. He recalls the shadowy form of the beast, a time when he hesitated and refused to commit murder. A sly smirk plays on his lips as he reaffirms his goal, to become a hero of the kingdom and gain more reputation scores, not its villain. The challenge of maintaining this facade feels like a bigger mountain to climb than even the legendary 5 disasters. With his companions still captivated by his tale, the hero's deception continues. As the world around him clamors for a hero, urging him to confront the disasters, a voice questions the protagonist's perceived weakness. He knows that one of the 5 great disasters has plunged this world into chaos, and for the sake of Fantasial's people, he must act. Determined to elevate his own fame and honor, he vows to make them soar, only to be struck by a sudden, unsettling realization. A gasp escapes him as he remembers there's only one day left for his orientation with Mr. Alex. The thought sends a shiver down his spine, and he turns away, lost in thought. A wave of terror washes over him as the image of Alex flashes in his mind, realizing he had completely forgotten about him. He was almost in serious trouble, blinded by his own reputation and fame, that he completely overlooked his previous comrade. A memory surfaces, showing Alex towering over a defeated figure, reminding him that he should never forget his promise to him. A subtle smirk plays across a face, a soft sound of satisfaction escaping. A voice expresses profound gratitude. A figure stands silhouetted, a sword held ready, emanating a faint purple glow. Addressing a small, light-haired girl, Han Sukong encourages her to speak up, declaring himself to be in a good mood and wanting to hear how others would praise his good deeds. Holding a small, glowing orb, the girl reveals her information comes from the black market. The conversation shifts to a book titled The Story of the Elf Queen, then to the image of Sylvia, lying peacefully in a coffin, identified as one of the guardian knights of the Elf Queen and the most beautiful. Confirming the information about a princess being in the black market, Han Sukong prompts the girl to ask how he knew. He dismisses her question, stating he didn't need to investigate much. Though elves are generally considered weak, some can reach levels as high as 1,000, making them a non-combative race, unlike dragons. With the average elf society member hovering around level 100, it's easy to recruit them for guild missions if your quest is around that level. And as Lenouvel explains, there are, as expected, a bunch of very annoying things to deal with. Her eyes sparkling with excitement, she exclaims, "Yes, Hero Nim, this is the beginning of a new, exciting adventure." Cutting her off, Han Sukong bluntly states, "I heard all of it. Shut up." Lenouvel protests that she still has more to tell, but he insists it's better if she keeps the rest to herself. He then muses about the task at hand, inspecting the ruins of the old Dragon King's castle with a high ranker. With a determined expression, he prepares to face whatever comes next. Lenouvel, noticing his intense gaze, asks about his annoying look and how he plans to proceed. He responds with a confident smirk, "I know, right? After all, I've been a hero for 10 years. I am going to do it. I can know the rest by just doing it from the beginning." Han Sukong, ever direct, reminds Lenouvel that she is once again the source of their current troubles, just as she was in the first round. Lenouvel, however, quickly retorts, asserting that she had handled all of his previous issues, before trailing off with a thoughtful then. He dismisses her, leaning back with his hands behind his head, declaring that this wouldn't be the case in the second round, and then casually asks if she even understands the situation. Soon after, their journey begins, with Lenouvel pointing the way through a dense forest. Their carriage will spinning rapidly as they pick up speed. Pulled by two powerful white horses, their hooves thundering across the ground. The horses gallop with fierce determination. But their swift journey is suddenly interrupted as a cloaked figure, wearing a wide-brimmed hat, appears from the side. A gloved hand reaching menacingly into the carriage window. A guttural cry escapes him as the carriage is attacked, his mind racing with the desperate plea to hold on. Peering out the window, he spots a shadowy figure, wondering if these are the reinforcements he's been expecting, but a chilling doubt creeps in as he decides to take a closer look. With a surge of inner focus, he activates his physical control. A command echoes in his mind, "Enhance eyesight." His pupil contracts sharply, glowing with an intense light, as his vision snaps into hyperfocus. The enhanced vision reveals the carriage in motion, with a figure perched atop it. And then, a symbol flashes in his mind, a shield emblem he can't forget, one that stirs old memories. This symbol belongs to the Princess of the Holy Empire, a powerful figure who governs the borderlands. She is the youngest sister of the Empire's second successor, and the reason for her presence here, reinforced all the way to this point, is undeniably clear. A political purge, a concept Han Sukong now understands with chilling clarity, as a memory of a king-like figure declaring, "I am taking over the crown." Nice, just like the first round, flashes through his mind. He considers the future. Anyways, the Emperor of the Holy Empire will die about 5 years later, but who cares? A sudden realization hits him, a sharp intake of breath escaping his lips. He recalls the capital of the Holy Empire, a place Nebius once ravaged, recognizing the devastated landscape as the monster's destructive path. A conflict arises within him, torn between a promise made to Alex and the urgent need to help those in trouble. He sees two figures in his memory, one of them remarking, "That is a heroic goal," as another simply watches. Suddenly, one of them points, exclaiming, look there," as the other screams in terror, warning, "Nebius is a monster who destroys everything he touches. Run." This vivid memory solidifies his resolve. He must save the people from the prophet's grim prediction. A system message flashes, announcing the activation of a powerful new ability. Han Sukong plummets from the sky, as a torrent of viscous purple liquid streams from him, descending rapidly towards the ground where a man looks up in alarm. The noxious substance spreads quickly upon impact, expanding into a swirling, ominous cloud. It engulfs a small, helpless dog, and the man caught within its fumes begins to gurgle, as the toxic mist completely consumes them both. He lets out a sigh of relief, as Lenouvel confirms there is no zombie dragon in sight. With Alex adding his own relief, and Han Sukong admits he must have been mistaken, a weight lifting from his shoulders. The narrative shifts to a historical account of the Holy Empire, where the wise emperor had once tried to prevent his brother from ascending to the throne, sending him far away. Yet, the emperor's brother, now a formidable figure, questions his own determination, having secretly amassed power and seized the crown after the emperor's death. It was then that the hero's party intervened, temporarily helping to reinstate the imperial successor by rescuing the princess who suffered under the usurper's reign. With a fierce cry to slaughter all foes, they forcefully dismantled the usurper's power. The hero party declared that a smart and authentic young emperor would now take excellent care of the country. Without a doubt, this new era was ushered in. A stern-faced woman with glasses looks on, perhaps overseeing the new imperial rule. The historical account continues, reflecting on the ruthless nature of the princess who seized power, noting that she showed no mercy in her usurpation. A sigh escapes, as if the weight of this past is too much to bear, the memory resurfacing once more. Lenouvel, visibly distressed, muses that she has never been cursed so profoundly in her entire life. The narrative then shifts, posing a question about the exact sequence of events, wondering what truly transpired in that pivotal moment. Han Sukang's hand reaches out over a desolate, purple-tinged landscape, the air thick with decay as he questions if all these people are truly dead. He ponders the irony that the empire is now at peace, implying the princess must also be at peace, only to realize that half of the empire lies in ruins, leaving him utterly bewildered. The princess, having successfully claimed the crown, systematically stripped away everything and shrewdly gathered the opposing factions to her side. A slender hand reaches for a pair of distinctive glasses, a silent gesture hinting at the intellect behind the imperial power. However, despite her cunning and power, she became known as the Empress of Blood, feared by many, and ultimately met her end through murder. He finds himself contemplating the nature of quests, particularly those that prove to be a nuisance, wondering if the current predicament is truly his fault. A deep sigh escapes him, a silent plea as he questions the reality of the situation unfolding before his eyes. His expression shifts to one of disbelief, a small, cat-like creature beside him mirroring his shock. He then asks, his voice laced with a hint of desperation, if he is truly expected to eliminate the threat, recalling his own struggles with monsters that bear a human-like resemblance. As a shadowy, horned monster looms, its red eyes glowing menacingly, Lenouvel acknowledges the immense difficulty of their task, a wave of energy visibly emanating from the creature. His face contorted in frustration, he laments that his efforts have proven insufficient against such a formidable foe. His thoughts drift to a memory of Mr. Alex, back in the Imperial training room, a place where he once honed his skills. Alex, a stern but wise figure, reflects on his past teachings, wishing he had instilled more spirit into the young hero. His hand rests on the hilt of his sword, a silent promise that it is not too late to make a difference. He recalls the young hero's words during their training, who insisted on continuing his arduous regimen. Alex, however, had been hesitant, knowing the hero had only just recovered from the trauma of his previous trials. Yet, he also understood that the hero possessed an unyielding spirit, a strength that transcended mere technique or raw power. He remembered his own conviction that the spirit of never giving up, no matter how many times one was defeated, was paramount. And the hero's glowing eyes reflected that very resolve, a fierce determination burning within him. The memory fades, giving way to the present. Far away, the majestic royal palace of the Holy Empire stands, a grand edifice where the emperor and the princess of the Holy Empire reside. Considering the hero's relentless efforts, it seems His Majesty has received a divine blessing, a true gift for that diligent young man. Standing beside him, Lenouvel quickly adds, "You know, it's all thanks to His Majesty Malong. Never mind, forget I said anything." She thinks to herself, they were fortunate to complete it in 20 days, especially since the Imperial teleport network was practically non-existent before. Yet, they were still a day behind the 10 days they had originally promised. A voice from the shadows reminds them, "You had promised us 10 days. The imposing figure of King Malong appears, declaring, "Even though I am Malong, I would still be able to keep a promise within 10 days. Han Sukang reacts with a startled, "What?" as a shadowy monster manifests behind him, while a quiet reassurance echoes, "Don't worry, Hero Nim. The hero has to save the world." It seems the problem with the due date is now resolved. And the scene shifts to a grand archway, welcoming all to the Imperial Training Court, where the orientation with Alex, which had been anticipated, finally begins. Considering the efficiency of focused effort, where an hour of repetition could equate to 5 hours of work, he observes the young man before him, noting that it seems he hasn't been training properly. But he quickly reassures him, promising to forge him into the greatest swordsman in the entire kingdom. The young man, however, seems to have other concerns, muttering that he has no time at all, having only a little left over from the last round. Meanwhile, the healers stand ready, their important duty to mend the victims of Alex's violent displays, ensuring he can continue his relentless beating. A smirk plays on Alex's lips as he repeats, "Time, you say?" His mentor's expression turns serious as he confirms, "Yes, we don't have anyone in our world." The world remains in an unstable state, constantly under the looming threat of the next Demon King's attack, a shadowy, monstrous entity with glowing red eyes. Han Su-kang's resolve deepens, his voice firm as he continues. Even if I might have to pay a cost, I will teach you as. He intends to use the healers to increase Alex's skill, a thought that makes Alex look up in surprise, asking, what I did? Han Su-kang explains that controlling his strength will alleviate the need for healers, suggesting that Alex is trying to increase his skill, but ultimately, he has no right to refuse the training. Alex lets out a small sound of acknowledgement, understanding that humanity's fate hangs in the balance, and he truly has no right to refuse such a critical undertaking. Han Su-kang internally notes Alex's eagerness, a thought quickly followed by a display of his own formidable status. A level 292 human swordsman, boasting S-rank sword skills, stamina, durability, immunity, and indomitable will, all under the influence of Sage's advice. Alex, still processing the implications, reaffirms his internal conviction that he cannot refuse. Han Su-kang then challenges him, asking if he truly believes he doesn't need the training, prompting Alex to wonder how a mere level 292 could possibly teach him anything. With a serious expression, Han Su-kang insists he is offering sincere advice. He then reminds Alex of his past, stating that he swept the entire continent and personally defeated the Demon King. The revelation hits Alex, leaving him speechless and wide-eyed with shock. Still reeling from the revelation, Alex's mind raced, questioning if the Imperial Knights had truly witnessed such a display of power. Meanwhile, Han Su-kang's voice echoed with a confident laugh, as if to say, if one intended to deceive, they should do so with such overwhelming conviction. Alex could only think, what a hero indeed, what a path he must have walked. He then recalled the Dumpling King and wondered about his own capabilities, deciding it was time to assess his own abilities. But then, a status window appeared, revealing the true extent of the hero's power. A Chaos Human at level 999, with the job of hero and skills like SS Spirit and S Endurance. Alex realized he wouldn't be a match for even a million versions of himself against such a force. The window continued, detailing a mysterious F-rank skill gained after defeating the Ghost Dragon King, a skill called the Black Denver. Despite its low rank, the skill was simply named, Does Not Forget. Before Alex could fully process the implications of such a skill, a sudden, sharp impact sent a jolt through him, as the hero's fist blurred towards his face. He recoiled instantly, a gasp escaping him, as the hero's words cut through the air. True heroes don't waste time talking before they attack in a real fight. Alex finds himself once again on the defensive, a familiar complaint escaping him as Han Su-kang launches another sudden assault. A powerful blow connects, sending a jolt through Alex as he recalls Han Su-kang's earlier words, muttering about his childish tactics. His eyes glowing with analytical power, Alex realizes the distraction is merely a setup, and he discerns the true target of the attack. As Han Su-kang follows up with a powerful kick, Alex deftly blocks it, his mind racing. He considers unleashing a shadowy manifestation from his hand, a skill that would reveal the exact number of instances of his opponent's attacks. Schweik. The shadowy form grows larger, but Alex hesitates, deciding against using his full power out of consideration for his opponent. Quang. The two fighters clash in a blur of motion, their combined force echoing through the training grounds. Qua. Malong and the princess watch, wide-eyed, their expressions a mix of awe and shock at the intensity of the battle. He hits the ground hard, the impact rattling his bones, but a stern voice cuts through the dust, demanding he stop dragging his feet and get up. For in the battlefield, an enemy waits for no one, and Alex, gritting his teeth, curses his tormentor. Another kick sends him sprawling, and a desperate vow escapes his lips. He lies there, defeated but unbroken, promising death to the man who will one day see him become the Sword King. But for now, Han Su-kang's voice rings with disdain, reminding him of his current weakness. His gaze sharpens, questioning Alex's right to guide others. Another brutal kick lands, emphasizing the Imperial Knight's current vulnerability. Han Su-kang's words continue to sting, accusing him of lacking the power to protect himself, yet still attempting to teach. He concludes with a harsh truth. True wisdom lies not in judging by appearance, but by recognizing and acting upon genuine ability. He continues his relentless lecture, asserting that all fights offer only one chance, victory or death, and that a proud idiot like Alex, who ignores this fundamental law, will die early. But even battered and bruised, Alex's defiance flares, a memory echoing in his mind. You can't teach me. The impact of the training leaves him sprawled on the ground, his body aching under the harsh sky. A flashback takes hold, showing a younger, arrogant Alex, dressed in a suit, declaring, "Just remember, Leader Alex, you'll regret this day." Lenouvel stands beside him, her expression etched with concern, as Alex dismisses the situation, thinking, crushed. I'm not even in a real fight. Another memory surfaces, Han Su-kang's hand reaching out as he states, I have given a chance, and you're trying to run. Alex recoils, a faint ha escaping his lips. Back in the present, Han Su-kang looks down, deciding, it seems that I'll be hard to convince class, so we'll skip that and get to the most important lesson. He stands over the defeated Alex, his voice laced with challenge. How's that? I look like a good teacher who protects their students, unlike you, right? Then, with piercing intensity, he asks, do you know what's important in a real fight? Alex, bruised but resolute, stares back, a flicker of understanding and fierce determination in his eyes, ready to absorb the next lesson. With a sudden, decisive motion, Han Su-kong descends, a vibrant blue aura flaring around him as his powerful strike connects with an armored opponent, sending them reeling from the impact. A confident, almost serene smile plays on his lips, reflecting a mindset that sees such decisive action as a necessary step. For him, it is simply about getting rid of future problems. A small, red-clad figure, reminiscent of Han Su-kong, is cradled in the massive hand of a towering, dark-skinned being. Standing alone on a glowing purple platform, he acknowledges, "You understand the princess and the hero's help." A woman with long dark hair and glasses, her expression serious, explains, "I had to take off your clothes in the past and your coat in the future." She continues, "You couldn't ignore the future of the world, so you have to let go for the future." Her gaze fixed on him, she then asks, "Won't you be able to live a better future since you failed once?" The woman's hands begin to glow with a soft purple light as she reveals her deepest regret, "And the one thing that I regretted the most. There's no way to get rid of my ID with my own hands." With a determined look, he declares, "Solution." The woman smiles faintly, confirming, "It's the best way. That Alex guy will be even more useful now." He continues his profound discussion, contemplating the necessity of letting go of the past to reshape the future, believing that the greatest victory lies in overcoming one's own self. The cloaked figure then suggests giving the stubborn hero a chance, asserting that tolerance is a virtue for such a champion, eliciting a surprised reaction from Han Su-kong. The masked individual, their eyes glowing faintly behind the crimson visor, counters that such a stance would imply tolerating the Demon King, which would fundamentally betray the very reason for a hero's existence. With a thoughtful, almost annoyed expression, Han Su-kong simply states his intention to wait. A lone silhouette, sword in hand, stands bathed in an ethereal glow, a symbolic representation of a hero's resolve. His eye snaps open, wide and strained, veins visibly bulging around the iris. A bare foot presses firmly against the ground, while a hand, adorned with a golden cuff, clenches, signaling a physical or emotional shift. Meanwhile, two hooded figures observe from the shadows, one reacting with a gasp of surprise, the other letting out a soft, knowing giggle. He sits, gazing out at the vast expanse before him, a moment of quiet contemplation. Suddenly, a chilling announcement cuts through the air, declaring the Imperial Knight leader Alex dead. The words echo, reminding him of the kingdom's greatest swordsman, and a single, heavy word escapes his lips, "God." But then, a hand extends, a voice offering reassurance, telling those below not to worry. Standing tall, he declares there's no need for anxiety, because the man who protected royals and the kingdom is gone. A menacing smile spreads across his face, his eyes glowing with a dark purple light, as he reminds them they still have the hero name. A blue aura begins to emanate from his form, his resolve hardening. He reflects on his past, on being the ultimate weapon trained for 10 years as a hero, and how the bright smile that brings a sense of tranquility to the people ultimately failed. He had been quite confident in that approach. His eyes glow with an intense, electric blue light, a dark aura radiating around him as he affirms his new path. Confronting a masked figure, he observes, "It seems they aren't afraid, since they aren't the powerless ones." His voice laced with contempt. "Their insides are filled with rot and filth. Let's memorize their faces." He reflects on Alex, the armored leader of the Imperial Knights, acknowledging that while he would have killed such a bastard without hesitation, Alex was the core of the Empire's military force, and his death would shake the entire kingdom. Having killed him without regrets, he would take responsibility for the consequences. With a hand raised to the sky, a powerful command echoes, "Royal Knights, assemble." His back to the viewer, sword in hand, he declares, "If you want to die, you don't need to." Two nearby figures recoil in shock, gasping at his words. Then, with a rapid patter of footsteps, he begins to run. Han Su-kong stands before his soldiers, a silent command in his posture. Meanwhile, a shadowy entity watches, its red eyes glowing with an ominous light. He addresses his men, "Soldiers, as you've seen, Alex has died during the training." The shadowy figure, observing, thinks. Han Su-kong continues, his voice firm, "Death during training happens sometimes." He emphasizes, "The most important thing is that the real game is not violence. It is intuition." The shadowy entity's voice echoes, "Is there anyone who wants to die for not understanding?" Its red gaze intensifies, a malevolent aura radiating. The soldiers flinch, a shiver running down their spines, a silent gulp betraying their fear. The shadowy figure, now appearing smaller and more distant, concludes, "Since no one answered, it seems that they have understood everything very well. This atmosphere feels like admiration towards me." His orientation would conclude here, he declared, demanding they eliminate the issues plaguing the country. The shadowy entity remained a silent, ominous presence. Sensing their hesitation, he challenged, "You look like you don't quite understand," his tone hardening. "Then I'll ask serious questions with the back of my hand." He raised a gloved hand, a stark visual warning. "If any knights have questions, this is the hand you want severed." A beat of silence passed before he continued, "No? Everyone's quick to understand now." A satisfied nod. As I expected from the Royal Knights. We will now divide into 2 teams. Lenouvel stepped forward, confirming, half of you will follow me, and the other half will follow him. Their mission led them to the Grand Queen's villa. Inside, he provided precise instructions. If you open the 3rd room, a secret passage awaits within the purple closet. He continues to lead the way, explaining that if they follow this path, they will arrive at a court. A voice echoes back in surprise, questioning, Your Majesty? Meanwhile, the Princess of the Holy Empire stands over 2 bound figures, who hang helplessly. Surrounded by a vibrant purple aura, she commands her subordinates to get rid of all the interferers and collect the evidence. 3 cloaked figures recoil in shock, one stammering, No, how did the princess get here? Another urges, Please escape, High Priestess. The princess, eyes glowing with dark energy, snaps, You idiots, while a desperate voice whispers, The Queen, you can still be saved. Han Su-kong, resolute, declares, She will be executed by the hero. A voice, however, counters, The hero, you can still be saved. Suddenly, a cloaked figure announces with a flourish, Knock knock. The princess has a delivery. Without hesitation, Han Su-kong lashes out, kicking one of the cloaked figures back as he shouts, Back up all of them, you tards. These are the children of the dark gods. His eye glows with an intense blue light, a silent question hanging in the air. A small, cartoonish guide figure appears, remarking that such a service would normally require payment. A stern-faced man with a mustache, perhaps a memory or an example, declares that he worked for the queen for free, captivated by her beauty, and vows to cleanse the kingdom until it becomes a truly good place. Han Su-kong, with his red hair, asserts his intention to return the guide to the 2nd successor's palace, where he was working, ensuring no further problems arise, prompting the small guide to question his meaning. Meanwhile, the Princess of the Holy Empire, her eyes glowing with purple energy, addresses an unseen Professor Corrales, explaining her presence is to gather crucial evidence. She reminds the professor of her previous effectiveness, even in this barbaric place, having successfully resolved numerous issues. Though admitting her work isn't always perfect, she often performs her duties without charge. Han Su-kong concludes his thought, stating that despite any imperfections, he possesses deep knowledge of the kingdom's people, especially those hidden within. His fist clenches, a silent vow forming in his mind, as he considers the need for even more solutions. Meanwhile, a masked figure, shrouded in shadow and purple energy, questions softly, Because Alex has died? The thought hangs heavy, preceding everything. Han Su-kang's gaze hardens, reflecting on how easily things could spiral out of control, becoming a mess like the first round. With unwavering resolve, he declares, I will solve all of the problems. A commanding voice rings out, ordering everyone to freeze, as the hero and royal knights make their dramatic appearance. Without hesitation, he raises a hand and commands his forces to arrest them all. 5 days later, desperate pleas echo through a grand castle, as someone cries out for their majesty and highness to save them. From within the castle walls, a voice exclaims that the hero is utterly insane. A bald, bearded man, seated on a throne, reflects on a harsh lesson learned after volunteering for the hero's party, realizing a fundamental flaw in the very system of this world. He vehemently declares the so-called hero to be the worst kind of villain, pointing directly to the level system as the root cause. Usually, leveling up grants useful effects, like preventing aging and increasing stamina. One can even achieve the peak performance of a highly trained athlete, simply by reaching level 5 in this world. However, the inherent problem lies in the limited methods available to actually obtain experience for leveling up. One must fight earnestly, and often, question how much one has truly slaughtered to gain that experience. This is the world of the FFF class Trashero. Those who sought a long and healthy life naturally focused on leveling up. The warrior types, who venture out to battle and hunt monsters, perform their duties well, as there are endless battles with monsters in this barbaric world. However, the real challenge arises for the scholar types, who have no connections to battles. A voice cries out, addressing a figure as Your Majesty, as the image of Han Su-kong, the hero, flashes into view. From his teenage years, he relentlessly challenged the system, eventually finding himself imprisoned as a guest by year 20 of the first round, with a dark-haired woman lamenting that he sacrificed fathers and daughters to fuel his own strength. Another voice, belonging to a dark-haired man, cries out in protest, claiming this was all a political maneuver, a calculated plot by the hero himself, who was captured for the same reason in the 7th year of the first round. The unnamed bald man from before echoes the sentiment, screaming that he too was captured for the same reason in the 7th year of the first round. Han Su-kong, his face contorted in anger, a shadowy monster looming behind him, reveals his true, brutal intent, confessing he was moments away from drowning them all in the ocean. However, a better solution presented itself, as he calls out to a light-haired man, who promptly responds, acknowledging him as Hero Nim. Turning away, Han Su-kong asks if the light-haired man heard everything, especially how much he cherishes experience points. The light-haired man, his expression resolute, confirms his understanding, declaring his full awareness. A menacing purple aura flares around Han Su-kong as he states his ultimate goal, to keep the waters clean. Han Su-kong, spear in hand, stands over a fallen figure, declaring his intent to provide the kingdom with a new cleaner to replace Alex. His footsteps echoing, he moves closer to the prone form. Looking down with cold resolve, he considers the fallen man as mere experience points, bait for a larger scheme. A system notification flashes, confirming the porter, his in-game persona, has attacked and dealt a fatal blow to Nobleman A, inflicting massive damage. A glowing orb of 6 million experience points materializes, accompanied by a crunching sound, as he collects his reward. Nearby, 3 noblemen, including a bald man, recoil in horror, one of them shouting in disbelief that such a fate could be deserved. A woman gasps, realizing the brutal efficiency of this act, which could resolve tedious search and rescue missions in a single stroke. Han Su-kong internally praises the cost efficiency of his actions, yet dismisses these executions as mere appetizers. He reflects on the extensive effort he put into gathering these guests for what he considers the main course. Bound to a stone pillar, the queen desperately cries out her innocence to the monarch. Her son, a prince, kneels before the same pillar, pleading with his father to stop the proceedings, while the queen herself questions if she is truly to be abandoned. The narrative confirms her identity as the queen, captured by the demon devil, as another voice implores the hero to save the king. The princes, too, are implicated, having been captured after the first round of battle for allegedly committing crimes to fund the war effort. The queen's desperate pleas continue, her voice echoing as Han Su-kang's internal monologue dismisses their useless mouths and reminds them of their self-proclaimed royal status. A single tear rolls down the queen's cheek, her face etched with despair. A chilling smile spreads across Han Su-kang's face as he declares his order to execute all of them. The bald man, an authority figure, turns to Han Su-kong, questioning if he heard correctly, and asks for another chance for the condemned, while the queen and prince remain bound in the background. The bald man expresses his shock and disbelief, reminding Han Su-kong of the sanctity of the royal family and the gravity of executing both the queen and the princes. As the protest against his decree echoed, a thought formed in his mind, dismissing such sentiments as utterly foolish and weak. His expression hardened, and he silently condemned them as nothing more than barbarians. He knew he needed a deeper understanding, for if he was to become the king of this world, he had to grasp the fate of those who betrayed the crown and the consequences awaiting the weak. With cold resolve, he declared the queen a worshipper of Satan, and the princes, children of Satan who had sold their country to demons. Every citizen knew the truth, he asserted. They knew who had betrayed the holy bloodline and the nation, branding them all as traitors. Therefore, he commanded, they would be executed according to the kingdom's laws, his gaze piercing as he demanded understanding. A glowing blue blade descended, the silent reply confirming the grim understanding. A piercing scream erupted as the blade struck, sealing their fate. As the final cries of "Mother" and "MOM" echo through the chamber, a chilling question is posed. What? Finish off the princes too. Meanwhile, a bald man, clutching a child, looks on with reverence, uttering a fervent yes. Hero in M. The system confirms the swiftness of the judgment, announcing that the porter has defeated the queen and defeated Prince A. The grim tally continues, with Prince B also falling to the porter's hand. With each execution, the porter earns valuable experience points. Han Su-kong looks down at the scene, a thought crossing his mind. I hope the princes don't fight back and go to their mother. After the queen and her sons were publicly denounced as Satan worshippers, not a single soul dared to complain about their execution. With the royal family themselves facing such a severe judgment, who would dare complain when judging those evildoers was already a difficult task? Indeed, everyone had simply been waiting for the porter's act of justice. For the more evil the nobleman, the higher the experience points he earned in the end. A status card appears, detailing the life of a slave who began at level 1, 365 days ago, now identified as a human farmer with skills in judgment and endurance. Turning his head slightly, he hears a voice call out to him, addressing him as Hero Nim. With a confident thumbs up, he is told that he now needs a perfect wife. The man clarifies his statement, explaining that he intends to make the hero king. He continues, stating that instead of the current dumpling king, the hero would be the true ruler, bringing peace and stability to the kingdom. Meanwhile, the dumpling king sleeps soundly, unaware of his fate, as Han Su-kong recalls how that very king was executed the day after he began searching for the princess. It seemed the king had been planning to clear things up by fabricating a story of the queen and princess's demon worship. This plan also involved using the princess in a processional marriage, but the biggest obstacle was the firstborn princess herself, as that would also be a way to eliminate her. With a look of fierce determination, Han Su-kong questions why he should leave them alone when his goal is to purify the entire kingdom. The old king, Petinar, lets out a pained cry, his face contorted in agony as the shadowy monster looms over him. Now, the final stage begins, bringing a new guardian to the purified kingdom. A deep, resonant bell tolls, its sound echoing through the air, amidst a gathering of many guests. A small, cheerful figure reminds him that soon he will know the royal family, and today is his day. Hero Nim questions if he will truly be alright if he becomes the husband. But the cheerful figure dismisses his concerns, assuring him he is more than enough for a husband. Yet, his internal thoughts reveal a chilling truth. He murdered the princess' family members. He considers the idea of marrying her, finding it a bit much, but an inner voice quickly corrects him, asserting that such a union is no different from an execution. A sinister smile spreads across his face as he declares that in his eyes, this entire endeavor is an act of justice. He then muses on the fact that her mother and brothers-in-law are still alive in her heart, serving as evidence of his past actions. Meanwhile, the princess, adorned in a white gown and veil, stands with her back to the viewer, surrounded by shadowy figures with glowing red eyes, as the narrative highlights the suspicion of her being a Satan worshipper's daughter. Despite having done nothing wrong, the implication lingers, with a subtle, almost dismissive thought about her undergarments. Returning to his thoughts, he concludes that even if the suspicions were true, the existing evidence is simply not enough to stop his plans. With a confident thump of his chest, he reassures himself to trust the hero, for he has confidence. Elsewhere, a stern-faced man in ornate robes considers his own priorities, reminding himself that he should be focused on the first issue at hand.